Hey guys. Here is part 2 of What If Naruto Was a Snake Summoner. Hit like and subscribe if you like this one, and also please check the author in the description. Let's start.
We are paid, that's all. We are God.
Chapter 7. When Naruto arrived at the site of where the second test for the Chunin exams was being held, Naruto looked around and noticed that he was one of the first few waiting around. During this time that Naruto had to himself, he spent one last time reading over the book that he had picked up the previous day about wind manipulation. He read that you were able to channel the chakra through all shinobi weapons, though the general kunai and shuriken made you get much less bang for your chakra as they were not made out of the tougher metals. Using his time before the exam, Naruto gave himself a crash course in channeling his element through the kunai before the exam started. Eventually, after 10 minutes of waiting, everyone came, so it was now time for Anko Mitarashi to start the second round of the Chunin exams. Now before we start the test, there is something that I need to pass out before we start the test. As the purple-haired jonin said this, she held up in her left hand a group of papers, one enough for each genin to fill out. You must sign these agreement forms, Anko said with a cheerily false smile on her face as she tried to intimidate the genin. For some, this was working quite well. Some random Chunin hopeful from Takigakure asked what the forms were for. This brought Anko's weird sense of humor as she laughed at her own joke, one which none of the other people in the immediate area did. You see, there will be deaths in this exam, and if I don't have you sign these, it will be all my fault, the purple-haired girl said with a grin on her face. I am going to explain the second test soon. After that you can go and sign the forms and check back at the booth behind me for the final rules that you will need to know, Anko stated in a professional tone of voice, to which the genin nodded and listened intently to see what the rules of the test were. I'll now explain the second test. Simply put, you will attempt the ultimate survival test, Anko stated with a pause as she allowed the genin in front of her the chance to take in the information before continuing on from where she left off. First, I will explain the area in which the test will take place, Anko said, regaining the attention of the Chunin hopeful. Around Training Ground 44 there are 44 gates. Inside the Forest of Death there is a tower in the center, which is the place where you will be meeting up. The quickest way to the center is to take the river, in which goes directly from one end of the training ground to the other side via the center tower. Since the training ground is set up in a circle fashion, the radius from wherever you start your test is 10 kilometers. During the survival part of the test, you will be asked to complete a certain task. Using your many skills as a ninja, you will compete in a no-holds-barred scroll battle, Anko stated as she was now getting to the fun part of the pre-test warm-up. When someone from the crowd of genin asked what a scroll battle consisted of, Anko obliged to tell the kid what the answer was. You will fight over these two scrolls. One is labeled as heaven while the other is labeled as earth. There are 63 people here, so that means there are 21 teams. Half of you will be getting the heaven scroll, whilst the other half plus the additional team will be getting an earth scroll, Anko stated, to which the genin nodded, wondering what the importance of the scrolls were. To complete this test, you will need to make your way through the forest, navigating past all of the friendly wildlife, and get to the tower with a set of both scrolls, Anko said, to which the gears inside the Chunin hopefuls' minds realized that they would have to fight one another. As if the fact that no matter what, at least half of the teams were destined to fail at this point, Anko decided to make things even worse for the genin wanting to attain the rank of Chunin. There is a time limit, 120 hours, exactly 5 days. Oh, and if you think that you will be allowed to pack whatever food you have previously prepared, you are sadly mistaken, as we will be confiscating all of it, as you need to be ready for the unexpected, the purple-haired Tokubetsu jonin said as she had a rather malicious grin on her face when she looked towards the genin. This statement alone elicited a major response from the Akimichi clan heir alone, as he had packed practically his whole bag with food. What? What about dinner? The boy shouted as he looked as if he had never gone a day without gorging on food. Uncaring to what the fat boy was going through, Anko spoke up, amusing herself when she used Anko methods when it came to cheering the boy up. You're on your own. The forest is full of all kinds of food, just watch out for the man-eating beasts, the venomous insects, and the poisonous plants, Anko said in an offhand manner which only deflated the boy's spirits even more. Continuing on from where she left off before she was interrupted, Anko spoke more about the test that the genin in front of her would be taking. And it's not even likely that 10 of you will pass. As the days go on, the distance to the tower will become longer, the time will become shorter, and the forest is crawling with enemies, so you will not get much sleep. So not only will some people fail from losing the scrolls, but some will also die from the severity of the conditions you guys will be going in, Anko declared to the genin, who a few of them gulped as they were quite nervous. Starting on a semi-new subject, Anko talked to the genin about what could get them to fail. Now I'll talk about what will disqualify. First, those that don't make it to the tower by the end of the 5 days holding both of the scrolls will be disqualified automatically. Second, those who lose a teammate in the forest or have a team member killed by an enemy will be automatically disqualified. As a rule, there is no quitting in the middle of the test, as you will be stuck in the forest for the remaining however many days. And the final rule is this: you must not look in the scroll until you make it to the tower. Enko said with a tone of finality that just dared someone stupid enough to ask the question. For her happiness, there was someone that was arrogant enough to ask the lady wearing nothing at all what would happen if they opened the scroll. That person was Kiba Inuzuka. Oh yeah? What would happen if you did open the scroll? The boy with the dog on top of his head asked to the crazy snake lady. Enko giggled, creeping everyone out. That'll be a surprise for whoever does it. A Chunin will be asked to handle sensitive and important information. This is a test to test your trustworthiness, Enko stated to the canine-based ninja, who nodded and backtracked a little bit as the lady was scary in his own mind. Now, that's it for the explanations. Exchange your 3 forms for your scroll, then choose a gate to start from and wait for the signal to start, Enko said, to which all of the teams got ready for the exam. Everyone follow an instructor and go to your gates. The test will begin in 30 minutes, Enko shouted out so that the genin knew what they had to do and got down to it. 30 minutes later, and the chakra-enhanced voice of the sultry woman was loud enough so that everyone at a gate would be able to hear what she had to say. The second test of the Chunin exams begins now, Enko shouted as the gates that were operated by a seal opened and allowed the competitors to go and compete in the survival test that pitted them all against each other. Not even 2 minutes after the announcement that the test was underway, there was already a battle between genin going on, and the Konoha team had the advantage thanks to the fact that they had a member of the Aburame clan on their team who had an innate knowledge of the forest's wildlife. A ninja from the hidden sand village spotted Team 8 standing out in the open, and he chuckled to himself, thinking that it couldn't get any easier when it came to getting an opponent's scroll. He was wrong though, dead wrong, as the Aburame clan member had set up a trap and was reaping the benefits of it. What that plan was to have Shino use his ability to communicate with the wildlife that made up the Forest of Death, and use them to fight for him, and use them as a distraction for Hinata and Kiba to attack them. The ninja from the hidden sand, whilst he was chuckling to himself thinking about how easily he was going to win the battle, did not realize until it was too late that there was something stuck to his arm, sucking out his blood at an alarming rate. Surprisingly, it was not Shino who decided to comment on the outcome when all 3 of the ninjas that made up the only other team from their village to make it through, apart from Team Sabaku to make it into the Forest of Death, that decided to comment about how the 3 Suna shinobi fell to the ground from lack of blood pressure thanks to the jumping leeches. It was Kiba. The Leaf Village's jumping leeches will sense life forms and attack in a group. 5 minutes of sucking your blood and you will be sleeping in the next world, Kiba said, to which Shino was impressed and nodded at the statement as it was true to the T. With what Kiba said now done, Team 8 ransacked the team from Suna's bodies to find the scroll that would allow them to move on to the 3rd and final round of the Chunin exams. With Team 7 hearing the screams of the team that got defeated by a bunch of leeches, Sakura spoke to her team as she was having second thoughts about entering the Forest of Death a moment ago. Was that a human scream that I just heard? Yes, that was a scream coming from a human. Don't worry though, as long as we work together and keep our guards up all the time, we will be safe, Naruto stated in a softer voice than what people like Iruka would expect him to use. Thanks to the words coming from Naruto, Sakura's confidence in coming out with not only her life but also the 2 scrolls that were needed to move on to the next part of the exam went up quite high. Feeling an urge to go to the toilet, Naruto signaled his team to a halt as he spoke to them. Sorry guys, but I need to go to the toilet, Naruto said to his team, to which they nodded as they knew that Naruto went to the toilet more often than what normal people did. Going behind a tree because he didn't want to get separated too far from his team, and yet be far enough away so that he didn't invoke the unnecessary wrath of his pink-haired female teammate. With Sasuke. While Naruto was busily releasing his bodily fluid, a person in disguise as Naruto came out from where Naruto left, and started talking about how he now felt more relieved compared to before. When Sakura said for Naruto to stop it, as a lady did not deserve to hear it, Sasuke decided that it was time to step and take decisive action. As soon as Sakura suggested starting their journey again, the Uchiha clan heir lunged at Naruto and gave a vicious punch to the cheek of Naruto, to which Sakura spoke to Sasuke about it being too much. What was that for? The fake Naruto said, annoyed at what his supposed teammate had just done to him. Uncaring about what he, the Naruto, felt, Sasuke spoke up. Where is the real Naruto? Sasuke demanded with a sense of finality in his words when he looked at the fake Naruto. Nervous that he had been found out by the Uchiha heir, the person in disguise tried one last final attempt to fool them that he was the real Naruto. What are you saying all of a sudden? the boy questioned as he rubbed the blood off of his face from where Sasuke had just hit him. Annoyed at the pathetic attempt to try and save face, Sasuke spoke, giving no room for a counter-argument. You're a loser who is worse than Naruto at transforming. Your shuriken pouch is on your right side when he is left-handed, and the main difference is that you only have 2 whisker marks on your cheeks compared to the 3 that he has. Sasuke stated blandly, to which the disguised ninja cursed and let loose his hold over the transformation. Once his hold on the Academy standard jutsu was undone, the man who had an Ama headband across his forehead charged at Sasuke. Fire release, mythical fire flower jutsu! The Sharingan warrior shouted as his jutsu came to life. While this was happening, the Uchiha clan heir activated his clan's famous bloodline as he wanted to test it out more against better opponents. Another test of my strength, Sasuke excitedly thought to himself with a smile on his face. The way how he did this was via using his Sharingan's slowing down of movement to practically a standstill, and used his chakra so that his foot struck to the thrown kunai and caught it on the sole of his ninja sandal. All in the same movement, the raven-haired boy flung the kunai from his foot and made the kunai sail through the air at the rain ninja. Oboro, seeing this, was able to dodge the flying kunai barely as he was in midair. Sasuke jumped into the air with quite a lot of speed with a kunai in hand and used it to pierce through the lungs of the rain ninja, which made blood spurt all over the face of the Uchiha clan heir. With a confident smirk on his face, Uchiha Sasuke said the final words that ninja from Ame no Kuni would ever hear, and they were, "Just relax for a moment, and you will be dead," the Uchiha said with a smirk of pure confidence with a touch of arrogance on his face. With Naruto. Whilst Naruto was preparing himself to go to the toilet, the 2 other members of Team Oboro were preparing themselves for their ambush on Naruto, and to get it done quickly so that they could meet up with their teammate and take down the 2 remaining members of Team 7. This did not happen, however, as they were severely underestimating the skills of one Naruto Uzumaki. With his pants half down his legs, Naruto pulled out a couple of kunai, threw them in the air, and brought his hands to doing hand seals in front of his body and called out his jutsu. Wind release, violet wind palm jutsu. If it wasn't hard enough trying to dodge the blades of metal that were flying fast towards them before they were augmented by Naruto's wind ninjutsu, then they were surely impossible to dodge now that their speed had been boosted up immensely. The sound of the piercing flesh that was the rain means taking a body hit that went through one side of their body and out the back with little resistance as it cut through the internal organs of the genin, and they dropped to the ground like concrete. Seeing that he had managed to get the job done with so little effort, Naruto sighed as he was hoping for something a little more challenging. With a sigh marring his face, Naruto spoke in a dejected tone of voice as he wished that there was more combat involved. Well, that was an anticlimactic ending, Naruto said before he went to where his teammates were so that he could meet up with them. Seeing that Naruto was alive, Sakura started speaking. Naruto, you're alive, Sakura said with relief obvious in her voice as she did not want to lose a teammate so early on. How did you manage to beat your opponents? Sakura questioned as she wanted to know if the other people were defeated just as easily as what the person Sasuke-kun defeated was. They were overconfident. They did not know my abilities. They are now dead, Naruto stated, to which Sasuke nodded as that was practically the way how his fight went with Oboro. Only the raven-haired Uchiha wished he was in Naruto's position so that he could face a 2-on-1 situation. Once everything was sorted out and Naruto had ransacked the body of the rain ninjas, in which he picked up a heaven scroll. It was too bad for Team 7 as they had already gotten one of them from the start of the exam, which meant that they would have to go and find a new team to do battle with. Once that was done, Team 7 made their way further into the forest to find a new enemy to beat and take their scroll. An hour of careful and cautious jumping on top of the tree line at a slow pace, Team 7 came into a small clearing that they would have to pass to get back into the tree line on the other side. When they dropped down into the clearing, though, the trap that a person wearing what looked to be a Kusugakure headband on his forehead used a majorly overpowered version of the Wind Release, Great Breakthrough Jutsu. The jutsu was overpowered so much that it, instead of being classified as a C-rank jutsu, it would instead be classified as a high B, borderline A-rank jutsu. Despite knowing how to tree climb, the intensity of the jutsu pushed Naruto away from his teammates. Thud! Knocking his head on the ground when he landed caused Naruto to feel a severe case of lightheadedness. It was truly a miracle how he managed to survive the fall and still have conscious thought when he hit the ground would be a mystery for all civilian doctors. Looking up, Naruto saw a looming shadow and tried to take a good look at it, and it was then that he noticed that there was something familiar about the animal that the shadow was attached to. It was none other than the daughter of the Snake Clan King, Shikudo. Shikudo-sama? Naruto hesitantly questioned as he wondered what it meant that he was seeing her right now when he thought that he was going to get eaten by a huge animal thanks to the blast of wind that nearly knocked him out. When the person in front of her called her by her first name, though, she was absolutely shocked. How could some pathetic genin have the knowledge of who she actually was? The purple snake fumed as she thought that someone was giving out private information. Like turning her attention to her meal, she realized something. Seeing a giant blonde mop of hair on her meal made Shikudo reminisce about that Uzumaki boy that her father had told her to go and see, as he was going to be the future of the clan. Seeing that this kid had bright golden blonde hair along with a Konoha headband around his forehead made the purple rattlesnake use all of her senses this time around to see who it was that was in front of her. When she used her highly developed sense of smell on the boy, she was shocked. It was Naruto, the boy that she had come to like from their first meeting when she terrified the crap out of him. It was not as if Naruto had an easy time recognizing the snake, because the reptilian creature had recently gone through quite a large growth spurt since the last time she had met with Naruto. While previously she was about 5 times the size of one of the regular anacondas that you could find outside of empty Mayabushi, she was now double that size she was when Naruto and Shikudo first met. Now, instead of being large enough that she could eat him before with a bit of discomfort, the princess of the Snake Clan would be able to not only eat Naruto, but his other 2 teammates all in one go with not even the slightest bit of discomfort. Naruto-kun, well, I certainly was not expecting you to be the one that I was tasked to kill. When the large purple rattlesnake stated this, Naruto tensed as he did not know what to do since he wanted to so badly to get into the Snake Clan. They were the catalyst for all of the positive changes he had made in the past 5 months. You don't have to worry, Naruto-kun. I was ordered to prevent you from interfering with the only other summoner on our contract. Thankfully, he never mentioned anything of killing you, Shikudo said to Naruto, to which the blonde-haired boy smiled as relief was flooding into his system, as he didn't want to fight Shikudo-sama since he had gotten along well with her. Curious as to who the summoner who wanted him out of the way, Naruto asked the large snake in front of him who the human representative for the Snake Clan was. Excuse me, Shikudo-sama, but who exactly is the person that summoned you? Naruto questioned, as he had a sneaking suspicion on who it was. It is regrettable that my grandfather allowed the one you know as Orochimaru sign our contract when he was your age, as we had no idea how evil he would turn out back then, since he had no trace of evil in him then. When we found out just how corrupted he was, we weren't able to kill him, as not only is he very powerful, but with our clan values, we will not kill other members of the clan no matter what the circumstances, the princess of the Snake Clan said in a reserved tone, to which Naruto nodded to them, as he knew exactly what it felt like to have someone else tarnishing the way people looked at you felt. It was then that Shikudo spoke again, getting the attention of Naruto, who was reminded some slightly unpleasant thoughts. Despite this, 2 humans on our summoning contract are allowed to kill one another, as they do not fall under the same jurisdiction as snakes. They are a different kind of member of the clan, as they represent us to the outside world. If you join the clan, you will be expected to kill Orochimaru. Naruto gulped. As much as he knew he had gotten stronger, that was a big task. Shikudo-sama, do you personally know anything else that I could to ensure that I am in the best position possible to gain entrance into renowned Snake Clan? Naruto politely stated, as he wanted to know whether or not he was close to getting in, or whether there were other things that he needed to do to get into the clan. While Naruto was asking this question, he was hoping that he was not being too nosy, that he was seen as someone who was impatient. Thankfully for the female snake didn't see it that way and allowed Naruto the answer to that question. Looking at Naruto, and noting that he looked much better in his choice of clothing, and noticed that olive and black combination in clothing was a much better choice and one that her father would approve until they could get him fitted into some Snake Clan clothing to represent them. Sensing the vibe coming from Naruto, she could easily tell that he had changed tremendously in the past 4 months since their first meeting. There was no doubt in her mind that Naruto was going to become the next summoner of the Snake Clan. She could just feel his raw potential. If you put on a good showing during this round and make it to the final round, well, we will have to train extensively to make sure that you fly the Hibi banner proudly, Shikudo said, to which Naruto got a massive grin, as the only thing that was standing in the way of him getting the closest thing to a family was making it through these exams. Thank you, Shikudo Onisama, Naruto called out with obvious happiness radiating off of the boy, as the blonde-haired genin from the Hidden Leaf Village jumped forward and wrapped as much of his arms as he could around the princess of the Snake Clan. Shocked and touched that Naruto was giving her this much emotion through the hug, as she had certainly not expected, it made her reevaluate her opinion on the boy. As she remembered that her father had told her that he was an orphan who had practically no forms of love in a familial sense throughout his whole childhood, and was someone who clung to the bonds of family tightly, made her feel sympathy for the boy. Wrapping part of her body around Naruto, Shikudo gave a comforting hug, to which the boy could not feel any happier at the moment, and it was this that made him forget entirely about his 2 teammates getting attacked by one of the Densetsu no Sannin. Well, I believe that we should get going, or otherwise you will not be able to complete your test, as no doubt your teammates will need you after what Orochimaru does to them, because he seems to have a specific interest in that Uchiha boy, No doubt I guessed that it has to do with his major desire to learn all ninjutsu, and the Sharingan would help with that immensely. The princess of all snakes said to Naruto, to which the blonde-haired boy realized that he had forgotten all about his team. Knowing that he couldn't do anything until Shikuda left the place, or otherwise she would be forced to attack him with the intent to kill. Naruto hoped that whatever it was that the snake Sannin was doing to his team was something that they would be able to live through and get to the tower so that he could get into the final round of the Chunin exams, as that would allow him to be inducted into the Snake Clan, something that he really wanted to happen. After the two saying goodbye to each other, Naruto heard a loud scream enter his eardrums, and it was coming from somewhere fairly close to where he was, and with the thought that it could have been Sakura, Naruto rushed towards where sound came from so that he could help his teammate who was in some form of distress. It was then that Naruto saw someone that he hadn't seen in over 3 months, but someone that he was very glad to see, as it was truly his first friend that liked him for who he was. It was none other than the girl that gave him first proper kiss, and he was delighted to see her, as he thought that he would never get to see the great girl that was Karen-chan again. Seeing that his friend was in trouble, as she resting up against a tree where she was heavily frightened since there was a large bear that was growling at her, indicating that he thought that she would make a good meal. This meant that Naruto had to take action to save her life, and take action he did. Just as he was preparing his jutsu which would permanently make sure that Karen was safe, Naruto witnessed the bear growl so loudly that the girl got flown back and lost her glasses in the process, indicating to Naruto that she couldn't see without them. Just before the bear could deliver the final blow into the red-headed girl, Naruto launched his wind release, drilling air bullet jutsu at the large omnivore, and hit it right in neck, where the jutsu was strong enough in the cutting ability that when at the fur of the bear it went straight through the animal and managed to hit the external carotid artery, which delivered blood to the brain, and would make the bear incapacitated immediately, and death would follow shortly after. Dropping down to the ground to see if Karen-chan was alright, Naruto walked over to where she was trying to find her glasses and picked them up for her. Amused at the situation that Karen was in, Naruto spoke up to her. "Here, close your eyes, Karen-chan," Naruto said to the girl with red hair in front of him. Trying to figure out whether the voice that was speaking to her was trustworthy or not, Karen decided to trust in the person who had an oddly familiar voice that she could get her vision back. Opening her red eyes so that she could see who it was that she would have to thank for helping her out immensely, Karen locked onto the face of her rescuer, and could not do anything but blush extremely red as she realized just who it was that had put her glasses on. It was the same person that had taken her out on her very first date, who also coincidentally the same person who she gave her first kiss to. It was none other than Naruto Uzumaki, and there wasn't another person in the world that she would rather have saved her. Completely confused by the emotions that she was feeling, and knowing that she had to do some way of thanking Naruto for his heroic deed, the red-haired girl jumped up into Naruto's chest and wrapped her legs around his waist whilst she initiated a kiss that showed just how much she thanked Naruto. Caught off guard by the act, Naruto blushed bright red, as unlike the first kiss that Naruto had shared with Karen was one that was awkward and weird for him, this one was different in the fact that Naruto and Karen had some sort of idea in what they liked when they kissed each other, and that made the moment all the more memorable for the two, as for them looking back on it as a married couple, they would say that it was arguably the best kiss that they had ever shared. "Naruto!" Karen called out with excitement, seeing her friend once more. "Naruto Uzumaki, at your service!" he replied with a big grin on his face. The blonde was just as excited as Karen to see one another. That kiss had gotten the blood flowing and he had adrenaline running through his body. "Wait, Uzumaki?" the grass ninja questioned, a look of horror slowly dawning on her face, much to the surprise of Naruto. "Yeah?" Naruto questioned, unaware of the calculations Karen's mind was making. "I'm an Uzumaki too." Despite all the changes Naruto had made to his personality, this was not what he was expecting. Ever since he was a young boy, did he believe that he was going to meet a family member? The hope was too painful. It was better to just not have hope at all. "You're probably my cousin. I made out and had a crush on my cousin. EWWW!" the red-haired girl screamed, horrified at the thought of getting intimate with a family member. Slowly, Naruto came out of his reverie, still shell-shocked that Karen, the first girl he made out with, was his cousin. Feeling embarrassed that the first two people he had kissed were either male or his family, Naruto felt a rush of blood to his face and wanted to hightail it out of there. Looking at Karen once more, he could tell that she was absolutely mortified as well. "Sorry Karen, I really have to go back to my team, they are facing up against someone really strong. I am going to leave a clone here, you two can catch up, and when the clone dispels, I will get all of the memories and it will be like we talked." The red-haired girl didn't say anything as she watched Naruto create a shadow clone, leaving it behind as he headed back into the battlefield. "So how have you been? How has training to become a doctor going?" the clone of Naruto questioned, desperately hoping to forget about the new information he had just learned. Well, Naruto-kun, when we first met, I had only barely learned the mystical palm healing jutsu. I've really been practicing and getting better with the jutsu, the red-haired girl said with obvious pride in her voice as she wanted Naruto-kun to know that she took her training seriously. Before Naruto could offer some congratulations on Karen-chan's improvement, she cut him off by going on again about how she had gotten better. Oh, and I almost forgot. I also found out that I am what is called a sensor shinobi, so I am in the process of developing a jutsu based on that. At the moment I can sense where a chakra signature is within a 5 kilometers radius if I really try hard. Karen stated as she was proud of this ability, as she knew that hardly any people in the shinobi continent were blessed as born sensor shinobi. Congratulations, Karen-chan. I know you must have worked hard on the medical jutsu, as I know it not only takes a lot of knowledge but a ton of chakra control to even get the basics down. Blushing at the praise, Karen shifted the conversation over to her newfound relative. So Naruto-kun, how has your training paid off from when we went on our date, since we first met? Karen asked as she wondered just how good Naruto was now. Having a feel for his chakra, she assumed he was good enough to be a chunin. Well, I followed your diet plan and did ask Kakashi-sensei for an increase in training. I've gotten stronger, faster, and I also have gotten much better in my wind ninjutsu, Naruto stated with pride. It was moments like this that made him look back and remember how far he had come. As the duo conversed and caught up regarding their lives since their meeting, Karen opened up that she questioned whether or not if she wanted to be a ninja. She questioned whether or not she had the desire to keep up with all of the physical requirements and mental conditioning to become a genin. Ever since she had started healing people, the girl realized that she enjoyed helping, far more than killing. The fact that she had never been on a mission before she got sent in here was something infuriated Naruto. Hearing that she was basically a pawn for the village to get more missions made Naruto rage. There was a soft spot for finding out that others had no control over their circumstances. What was even worse was that both of her supposed teammates thought that they were the leader of the team and went their own way, expecting the others to follow. When the other teammate went in a different direction, it left Karen in the middle with no one. Thankfully for the red-haired girl's sake, she was a sensor-type ninja, which allowed her to evade all of the people inside the forest. Eventually the conversation died down, and Naruto knew that he had to go, but not before escorting Karen to one of the gates. The forest of death was far too dangerous for her. Karen knew this as well and hoped that she could somehow meet up with Naruto again. Walking over to the blonde, she gave him the biggest hug she could muster and wrapped her arms around him. I'll miss you, Naruto-kun. I wish that either you were a Kusugakure ninja or that I was a ninja from Konoha. Opening her heart, still coming to terms with finding out she had another family member. Whereas the conversation between two Uzumakis were taking place, the real Naruto rushed back to his two teammates. Spotting his two teammates, he was horrified to see the sight of Sakura holding Sasuke over her shoulder, struggling to stand. Immediately, he made a clone to take the Uchiha off her hands. Noticing Naruto, all of the emotions that she had just experienced at the hands of Orochimaru came to the surface. Where the hell were you, Naruto? When we needed you the most, you didn't show up. The main thing that Kakashi-sensei taught us was that those who abandon the mission are scum, but those that abandon their comrades are worse than scum. Sakura hissed to her blonde-haired teammate, who visibly flinched. She's right. I took my time to learn about Karen and her being family over my team. I'm incredibly sorry, Sakura. I was blown away by that huge gust of wind, and when I woke up from being knocked unconscious, I was eaten by this huge snake. So then I had to try and not being dissolved by the acid in the snake's stomach. I got to you guys as fast as I could. He felt bad for lying, he truly did. Naruto was also surprised at how fast was able to come up with the lie. Too fatigued to really care at this point, Sakura was merely grateful that Naruto had arrived and she could have someone else to rely on. With the sky getting darker and darker, Naruto set out to create clones, laying down traps, find food and then cooking it for Sakura and himself. The second Sakura ate the food and lied down, all the adrenaline left her body, quickly falling asleep. I'm sorry, I'll do better next time. Naruto thought to himself, guilty that he let his selfish desires take priority over Team 7. With a little plan sorted out, Kin, the only female on the sound team, placed an exploding tag on a squirrel and sent it over to where the blonde-haired boy was, guessing he was the only one left remaining. This was not the case, however, since Naruto saw that there was an explosive seal stuck onto the back of the squirrel and threw a kunai at the animal to get it frightened enough to run away. Lifting his head from where the small animal was, Naruto spotted 3 ninjas sitting on a combination of rocks and a tree branch looking at him with the intent to kill. With guilt in his mind regarding his actions the day before, Naruto took it upon himself to fight this alone. He would put the weight on his shoulders. Ken spoke up. "Wake up, Sasuke-kun, we want to kill him!" Kin stated as forcefully as she could to Naruto, who just looked disinterested, as a part of his ploy to get them to be overconfident in the fact that they would come closer to him in which he could activate his traps. A cold, menacing look appeared on the blonde's face. "What is the weird mark that Orochimaru placed on Sasuke's neck?" As much as it was a question, it was a demand. Sakura had filled him in on all of the details yesterday, and Naruto was not here to play niceties. Said three-sound ninja looked shocked that the kid in front of them knew who their master was and was not afraid to say his name. Regaining their composure, it was the trigger-happy Zaku that spoke up next. "Hearing that, it means that we can't let you go and we'll have to kill not only Sasuke but you and the chick over there next to him." The boy spoke with a confident air surrounding him. "Wait, Saku, stop right there," Dosa said before any serious damage could be done to the black-eyed boy, as he noticed that there was something wrong with the area in front of them. It looked as if it was specifically made for a trap. "How, why?" The now curious genin from the Hidden Sound village questioned, wondering what was so important that he wasn't able to battle the blonde-haired boy. "You're not very good," Dosu commented as he picked up a rock from the ground and tossed it up and down in his hand as he spoke to Naruto. "A recently overturned stone that's colored different. Grass doesn't grow here. A booby trap is pointless unless it goes unnoticed." Dosa lectured to Naruto, who pretended to look shocked although they did not know something that he did. "So that kunai was to not allow the squirrel to trigger the trap." The boy mused to himself, although everyone could hear him. The next person to speak up was Dosu, as he wanted to get the battle over and done with so that he could get to the tower. "Since we have no need for them all, let's kill the three of them," Dosu commanded, to which both Saku and Kin nodded dutifully, and the three ninjas from the Hidden Sound village jumped from their positions and attacked Naruto with the intent to kill. Naruto cut the cord to his trap, watching the log fall down towards the enemy ninja. He assumed that they would use the tree climbing technique to dodge it. Instead, Dosa placed his hand and used his melody gauntlet device on his arm to generate sound waves, blowing it up with ease, leaving Kin and Zaku to freely attack. Surprised that they had managed to get through so easily, Naruto quickly thought of a new tactic. Seeing the look on Naruto's face, Dosa commented as he hated how kids from the Leaf Village got everything for free. "Frankly speaking, you have no talent. People like you have to work harder. A weakling like you shouldn't mess with guys like us," Dosa stated to Naruto, who just had a smirk on his face as he noticed something that they didn't. Let it be known that Dosu had an inferiority complex with those from pampered villages such as the village hidden in the leaves. "Wind release, drilling air bullet jutsu," Naruto called out with emphasis, fired the air bullet at Kin. She was in mid-air and had less leverage to dodge. "Shadow clone jutsu," Naruto called out as multiple versions of himself came out and filled the open path. "Ah!" Kin screamed, having tried her best to avoid the attack Naruto sent at her. Her arm hung loosely by her side, barely holding on. Blood rushed out, and you could see the threads of the muscles where Naruto cut her bicep, almost completely off the bone. It was a wake-up call for Team 10, who were watching from afar, hoping to pick up the scraps. Whilst it was a shady tactic, everything was fair game. Ino Yamanaka, who watched on holding her breath, widened her eyes at the sheer damage Naruto was capable of. Seeing him be so ruthless was a shock. He really has changed. He looks kinda cool right now. Watching the follow-up wind ninjutsu Naruto used, Team 10 barely dodged out of the way, with Choji copping a tree branch to the abdomen. The movement alerted Naruto that there was another group of ninjas nearby, heightening his defensive and protective instincts that much higher. As Zaki used the holes in his arms to clear the clones of Naruto, they attacked as a sphere, coming from all sides. Zaki got smashed in the back of his head, causing him to stumble slightly. The stumble was all that the remaining clones of Naruto needed to pounce, yanking on his arms at angles that the human body didn't bend to. "Ah!" Zaku screamed. Choji, who watched on, winced hearing the multiple cracking sounds. "Wow, is this really Naruto?" Spotting his chance, Naruto used yet another drilling air bullet jutsu, his best, most damaging jutsu so far, and aimed it at Zaku. Given that Naruto needed to protect his teammates, he knew he needed to keep as much distance as possible. Staggering to his feet, Zaku released an air wave, killing the clones, only to realize that another wind ninjutsu was coming his way. Attempting to dodge as best as he could, he moved to the side and fell in a lifeless heap. The blades from the air bullet cut cleanly on his exposed neck. Watching this with wide eyes, Ino couldn't believe how calm Naruto was under pressure. He was causing serious and significant injuries and wasn't threatened at all. Naruto threw 5 kunai in quick succession, channeling wind-natured chakra into each one's as best as he could. The 5th blade pierced the flesh of Kin, hitting her right in the chest. The girl was too busy focusing on the injury she had already sustained rather than focusing on Naruto. TCH, they were useless anyway, Dosu said in an attempt to perk himself up. As much as he viewed himself as better than his former teammates, he didn't expect this blonde exception to take them out so easily. Nerves were starting to form. Right as Naruto was about to engage Dosu, something blindsided him and took him by surprise. Upon closer inspection, it was Sasuke, with all of these weird marks all over his body. Sasuke, with speed that Dosu couldn't follow, raced forward, dodging the incoming attack and smashed the gauntlets. Chakra was overflowing, coming out of his hands, giving him an adrenaline rush. It was a drug. With his main weapons gone, Dosu was helpless when Sasuke grabbed a hold of his neck and twisted it with no care in the world. Despite having killed 2 people in quick succession, Naruto was confronted at what he was witnessing. I feel great, I feel alive. I have so much power, Sasuke loudly said to himself, looking down at his hands. For Ino Yamanaka, who was watching the whole, it was painting a polar opposite of the 2 boys she thought she knew. Here Naruto was the cool, calm and collected type, whereas Sasuke was acting like a full-blown psychopath. It scared her honestly. Being in control of your emotions and state was the one thing her father had drilled into her as paramount importance. Seeing Sasuke so unhinged was eye-opening. Having woken up to the destruction, Sakura raced forward as quickly as she could and hugged Sasuke tightly. Stop, Sasuke! Please! She screamed with tears coming down her face. It was also at this moment that Ino Yamanaka realized that she had lost the battle for Sasuke's affection, because she knew that if she had done something similar to what Sakura had done, he would have just chucked her off. Even then, for the pink-haired girl, it was a hard task for her to get Sasuke to concede, as that he had a counterargument prepared. What about Naruto? Didn't you see him just kill a girl in cold blood along with the other sound ninja? The Sharingan-using boy called out, feeling for the first time in his life the wrong side of double standards. The reply that Sakura gave to her beloved crush was one that spelt the final conclusion of Team 7. I don't care about Naruto at all I care about is you, Sasuke-kun. That statement alone coming from Sakura was enough for Sasuke to concede and make the curse mark recede back into where it came from. She was still feeling the affects of Naruto's perceived betrayal, where he didn't help out against Orochimaru. His heart started beating faster and faster. I really am on my own, aren't I? A single tear ran down his face before he wiped it away. All the Yamanaka princess could do was gape in shock. To think that she would say that in hearing distance from her teammate. Her heart went out to Naruto. Even as a beginner psychologist, she could see how much Naruto wanted attention, validation, and a family. She knew he was an orphan and must have attachment issues. Silence filled the clearing as all members of all teams, including Team Guy, who were silently watching on. Getting the scroll he needed from Dosu's body, Naruto looked up at Neji and the rest of Team Guy. Let this be a lesson of who Team 7 is, Naruto said, full of confidence as he stared the boy down. The Hyuga prodigy, being slightly apprehensive with fighting Team 7 thanks to that display of corrupt chakra from Sasuke, merely turned around and left without saying anything. Lee and Tenten quickly followed. It was then that Naruto turned his attention to the next generation of the Ino Shikacho trio, who had come out from their hiding spot a little while ago to witness Sasuke's awakening. You 3 don't even have the guts to fight. What makes cowards like you even have the chance to take our scroll from us? Naruto questioned to Team 10. Putting on a face of confidence, she strolled over to Naruto, swaying her hips, watching as his eyes followed her body. Fuck those hips, Naruto thought, mesmerized at the sight of her pulling her hair out of its ponytail. Wait, she sent me that message during the first exam. She's probably messaging me to stare at her. Shaking himself out of his reverie, Naruto got even more defensive and on alert. Shame for Naruto that Ino wasn't using any jutsu at all. Stop your attempt at seducing the scroll out of my hand, Ino. You're anorexic, why would any guy want to be with you? Naruto stated to the blonde-haired girl, who was stunned speechless. All of the magazines she had read said that guys liked girls who were as skinny as possible. Was her diet really that bad that she would be classified as anorexic? Well, that was something that she would fix up on when she got out of this damnable forest. It was then that the girl's attention was directed back at Naruto when he spoke. Who do you think you are, talking to me like that? I wasn't trying to seduce you, I was coming to see if you were okay, given your team doesn't care about you, loser. Highly offended at Naruto commenting on her body due to her own insecurities, Ino retaliated back. Plus she was lying, given that she was indeed trying to seduce Naruto to get his scroll. Being reminded of that wasn't pleasant. With Sakura in her own world fussing over Sasuke, she didn't see the hurt look on Naruto's face. Turning around with her head held high, she didn't want to show she was deeply hurt by what Naruto said. She also didn't want to show she respected that he said no to her, albeit in a rude way. No one ever told her no. That just makes him that much more interesting, and I am going to get to the bottom of how and why he changed. I can probably fix him too. Out of the smoke that was in front of them, out popped the Chunin instructor that had been tasked to teach them all how to be a shinobi came out from the two scrolls. Iruka-sensei? Naruto questioned as he wondered why it was he that was standing in front of them. Smiling because it seemed that Naruto had started taking his shinobi lifestyle much more seriously, going by the new look of clothing that he had on. Dismissing his internal thoughts, Iruka spoke up. At the end of the second test, it's up to the Chunins to meet up with the exam takers, and I was allowed to be the one that got to meet up with you guys. I was impressed that the three of you managed to pass in just over 2 days. I thought that it would take longer for you, but I am nonetheless impressed. All three of you have passed the second test of the Chunin exams. The former sensei of Team 7 stated, to which all three of the genin ninjas in front of him smiled and in Sasuke's case smirked, as the Forest of Death certainly lived up to its name when they were in there. Seeing that they all wanted to go to bed, Iruka got on with what he was supposed to do so Team 7 could get some much better sleeping conditions compared to the ones that they had the previous night. This is the motto that I was supposed to tell you about when you summoned me. The heaven in this paragraph refers to the human mind, and the earth refers to the human body. If you lack heaven, seek wisdom and be prepared. If you lack earth, run in the fields, seek advantages. If you have both heaven and earth, then you can succeed in dangerous situations. The 5 days that the second test goes for test the abilities of the genin, and whether or not they are worthy of becoming Chunin, and you guys successfully passed that. Chunin ninjas are at the rank of squad captains. That means that you have the responsibility to guide your team in missions. The knowledge, the stamina, and inner wisdom are all things that Chunins need to have for your duties. The Chunin instructor lectured to his former students, who all nodded, showing that they comprehended what he was saying. Just before Iruka used a jutsu to go back to the Hokage and report that his mission was completed, he had one final thing to say. Now, is there one last thing that either of you three want to say before I go and allow you three to sleep? The scar-faced man stated. Fueled by the anger of Sakura saying she didn't care about him along with Ino driving it home, Naruto spitefully spoke up. Sasuke got bitten by Orochimaru and had some sort of jutsu used on him that made him unconscious for a long time, and also made it that when he woke up, he used some form of chakra that was as evil as what the Kyuubi's chakra was like. Naruto stated unemotionally, to which both Sakura and Sasuke looked at him with wide eyes, as the plan before they entered the tower was to not tell anyone about the seal on his collarbone. This statement that came from Naruto was quickly met by Sakura speaking. What are you talking about, Naruto? We all agreed that we wouldn't tell anyone about what happened. The pink-haired girl hissed at Naruto as she wanted to do this to impress Sasuke even if it made her concerned. That statement that Sakura made was quickly and swiftly replied back to by the blonde-haired boy. In the forest, you made it abundantly clear when you wanted to stop Sasuke from going psycho that I wasn't a part of the team and that you only cared about Sasuke, Naruto said with a touch of venom lacing his words. This reply was one that the pink-haired girl was certainly not expecting, because Naruto had never replied back at her with so much anger before. What she didn't know was that Naruto was holding a lot of it, and which meant that Sakura wasn't getting the full force of his anger. Iruka, for his part, was shocked that Naruto was showing signs of anger directed to Sakura. The Naruto that he knew was always happy and someone that would do anything and everything for Sakura. Seeing this new version of Naruto, who was much colder compared to his previous self, made Iruka wish that was more like his previous personality compared to this new one. Dismissing that, Iruka knew that he had to take this new piece of information to Hokage-sama straight away. Very well then, all three of you are dismissed so you can get back to sleep, but Sasuke, we will be talking to you tomorrow morning about the seal on your neck. The scar-faced Chunin stated, to which Naruto sighed in relief, as he wanted some sleep since he had stayed up for the better part of 19 hours in a row. Talking with his former sensei for Naruto was a weird experience, as he realized that the man, if he wanted to, could have trained him much better as a ninja, considering all the amount of progress that he made by himself, and with the slight bit of help from Kakashi compared to the 5 years that he spent in the academy. That left a bad taste in his mouth, because Iruka said that he thought of Naruto, not as a demon but as an actual person, but considering his training in his early years at the academy, he doubted that he saw him as a human being then. If only Naruto knew that Iruka had no obligation and did the bare minimum as a teacher. Who knew what he would think if he found out that his sensei was his father's student? Chapter 8. Having just watched the clinic Sasuke Uchiha put on, Ino was broken out of her reverie, thinking about how she had managed to get this far. I am not Sasuke, or Naruto. They are so much further than me. How far have I really come since becoming a ninja? Sakura Haruno vs. Ino Yamanaka, the announcer called out. Her head shot up and she immediately found her former best friend, and locked eyes. They could both read one another. They both knew how important this was. With resolute determination, she knew she couldn't lose. She had the reputation of her clan behind her as the clan heir. Ino knew that her father would be disappointed if she lost to Sakura. Most importantly, she would be disappointed if she lost to Sakura. She was the one that came from the clan, she was the one that had access to resources that Sakura didn't have access to. If she lost, it would say that Sakura had outworked her. That she was the better ninja. Guilty because in that moment she knew how little she had trained since joining the academy. Focusing on boys, Ino wondered in how much further along she could have been. I need to be better. Seeing Sakura stare back at her with those green eyes, she knew she couldn't lose. Begin! That was a surprising ending, Naruto thought to himself. Initially he expected it to be a draw based on how the two kunoichi fought. I'm surprised that they were that slow. They must not train at all. His eyes were on Ino as she placed her hair back into place as much as she could. He noticed her legs were a little bit wobbly, but she made it up the stairs to her team. Meanwhile, for the Yamanaka princess, adrenaline rushed through her body. It was on fire. Despite how fatigued she was, she felt amazing. I did that. I won. I beat Forehead. She shifted her eyes, wondering if her Prince of Darkness Sasuke Uchiha was looking at her with pride. Instead, she was greeted to him absent-mindedly staring at a wall. Disappointed, she started turning back around and saw Naruto glancing at her. At least he noticed the beautiful Ino Yamanaka. With a smile on her face thanks to viewing Naruto looking at her as validation, she turned to her team, all whom were smiling and greeting her for victory. This feels nice. I want more of this feeling. The feeling of having those around you proud of your accomplishments. The next match will be between Neji Hyuga and Choji Akimichi. Cough. Will the two competitors come down to the ring, please? Cough. Let the match between Akimichi Choji and Neji Hyuga begin. Hate called out before he jumped back to allow the two genin ninjas to duke it out, although pretty much everyone, including Asuma, knew that it was going to be a fairly one-sided affair with the Hyuga boy coming out on top easily. But this was something that Choji did not know, and as the saying goes, ignorance is bliss, and this was something that was affecting Choji to the highest degree, as he had a large smile on his face as he started thinking about the food that Asuma-sensei was going to give him. Well, the Akimichi clan heir was all happy fun until the moment that the member of the Hyuga branch clan opened his mouth and used it to good effect. It is fate that you are going to lose, just like it was fate that you were going to be ridiculed all of your life for being fat. Neji stated with a blank look on his face. I'm not fat. I'm pleasantly plump. Choji angrily called out as he placed his hands in a hand seal familiar to all members of the Akimichi clan and used one of the two jutsus that he knew. Akimichi clan secret jutsu, human bullet tank jutsu. Choji called out before he shot out at Neji, intending to make him eat the words he had just said. Activating his Byakugan dojutsu, Neji realized that it would be hard to attack the Tenketsu whilst the Akimichi was rolling. Fueled by anger, Choji accidentally ran into a wall when trying to hurt his enemy. Neji used this time to strike. Striking the Tenketsu points, Neji prevented Choji from channeling chakra throughout his body. Given his enlarged size, it caused problems. From the outside it looked like nothing was wrong, yet Choji screamed out in pain, crying at the top of his lungs. Quickly, the fight was over and the Akimichi was being rushed to hospital. Having just watched Hinata defeat her opponent Misumi, Guy was animated due to the fights. Yash Kakashi, my eternal rival, it has been chosen that one of our students will do battle with each other, and I propose a bet. The man that spoke about the springtime of youth shouted as he was a highly competitive man and wanted to beat Kakashi. Now, whilst Kakashi was a normally calm man who didn't have anything get underneath his nerve, his rivalry with Guy was one thing that always did get Kakashi's blood flowing, as he wanted to discreetly prove that he was better than the wacko beside of him. Not even bothering to turn his head away from the book in which a woman named Asuko was getting it on with a man called Seishi. What are the stakes, Guy? Kakashi questioned to his friend, although he wouldn't call him that in public. Since this was the first time that the second-generation rivalry between Guy and Kakashi, the man in green thought that this bet needed stakes that were truly worthy for the special occasion, since it was a battle with a lot at stake, no less. Proudly speaking, Guy boasted so that everyone could hear what the bet was going to be about. Kakashi, my eternal rival, if I win, you must stop reading Ika as well as not wearing a mask around your face for a whole entire year. Guy proudly proclaimed to the man he was confident he was going to beat thanks to the skill that Tenten had. Dead silence hung in the air, as this was something that all of the people from Konoha and even the elder members of allied villages dropped their mouths open in shock. Only did they realize the severity about what was going to happen soon and the severity of what Guy had just said. Both male members of the Sarutobi clan, they just guffawed as they couldn't believe what Guy had just said, because from what they knew, right now, This was as serious as when Minato sealed the Kyuubi inside of Naruto and when the Uchiha clan tried to revolt and start a coup d'etat. Even Anko and Kurenai, this was something that they couldn't be happier about, as both of them being women. They wanted for Kakashi to get rid of that damned book. The mystery of what was behind the mask every woman wanted to know. Kakashi, on the other hand, was doing the mental math. Well, I am sure that Guy got the mirroring version of my team, so that means that Tenten is the kunoichi of the year for her class, so Guy must be confident with her, as well as the fact that he has been able to train her for over a year. On the flip side of things, Guy must think that Naruto is the dead last of the class and that this will be a fairly easy win since I have only had 5 months to get Naruto into a decent genin. What he doesn't know is that Naruto is already at Chunin level. Fine, I will go along with this because I know that Naruto will win, even if it does come down to it. He has the Kyuubi to back him up. Very well, then I'll agree to it, as long as if you lose, you have to stop saying anything related to Youth of Youth itself and stop wearing the green spandex for a whole year. Kakashi replied in a nonchalant tone of voice that betrayed the seriousness of the situation. Now, if anyone thought that the stakes on Kakashi's side were bad enough, well, they were beyond speechless as they heard what Kakashi had just said. Both the Sarutobi men had their respective cigarette and pipe fall out of their mouth. If what was happening to Asuma and Hiruzen was bad, well then spare a thought for the boy who practically looked up to Guy as if he was his own father, and the only role model he had in life had just made a bet with him not wearing green spandex and shouting youth. It was sacrilegious. It was blasphemy. For Anko and Kurenai, the only 2 women in the room that were above the rank of Chunin and knew just how bad Guy was when it came to his fashion sense and what his personality like, they were beyond happy, as it was definitely a good thing if Guy stopped wearing green spandex and stopped shouted about youth. Using chakra to enhance his vocal cords, Kakashi spoke to Naruto, who was just about to start his match with Tenten. Naruto, if you win this fight, I will use all of my influence as former Anbu captain and as possible candidate for the position of Hokage. I can make it so that you have a lot more missions to Kusugakure so that you can see someone special. If you lose, however, I can assure you, you will never get a mission to the land of grass again. Kakashi said with a bit of killer intent thrown the way of Naruto, who only nodded and had a determined look on his face. Kakashi-sensei, how badly do you want to beat her? Do you want me to utterly humiliate her or just do enough to win? Naruto questioned to his sensei, who smiled as he liked the confidence that Naruto had. Tenten, for her part, was furious that she was just immediately cast aside in the conversation that Naruto was having with his sensei. That little runt thinks he will beat me. He's a dead last. He doesn't have a chance in hell. Just do enough so that it's clear that I'm a better sensei than what Guy is, okay? Kakashi questioned, to which Naruto nodded and turned his attention back to his opponent Tenten. Right, let the match between Naruto Uzumaki and Tenten Higurashi begin. Cade called out, not because he wanted to see the match and who it would be who won, but because of the fact that who would subsequently lose the bet. Still annoyed at Naruto thinking that he had a chance of winning, despite being younger, Tenten threw some shuriken his way. Progressively, she started throwing more and more instruments of death. Yet Naruto would merely dodge with the smallest of margins. He was doing push-ups, jumping jacks, all with an impassive look on his face. He's not taking me seriously. Holding on to the summoning scrolls in her hands, Tenten launched herself into the air so that she could use her best move against Naruto, one which wouldn't allow him to dodge. Opening the scrolls, Tenten shouted out the name of her technique. Twin Rising Dragons! As she picked out every weapon that she could get her hand on as soon as possible and threw it as fast as possible towards the blonde-haired boy. With Guy being the type of man that he was, it was paramount for Guy to start trash-talking in the polite yet smug tone. Despite Naruto-kun's impressive speed, there is no way that he can dodge the youthful attack of Tenten-chan. Her youthfulness will beat the hip and cool attitude of Naruto. Guy proclaimed, as like everyone else, including Orochimaru and Hiruzen, thought that Naruto was going to lose, as there was no way that he would be able to dodge all of the incoming weapons. But for Kakashi Hatake, who knew what element Naruto had, he knew that Naruto didn't have to dodge the weapons coming at him. Deciding to be quiet now, as it would make Guy more confident, which would, in the end, make the victory all the more sweeter, Kakashi for once took his eyes out of his book as he wanted to use his Sharingan and remember for life the look of slow realization and horror on Guy's face as he watched Naruto beat his student. With Naruto seeing that his opponent was in just as much of a predicament as he was because of the fact that she couldn't move and was a sitting duck up in the air, Naruto quickly decided on how he was going to finish this and made the appropriate actions to do that. Going through some hand seals, Naruto thrusted his hands together whilst calling out the name of his jutsu. Futon de Tapa, wind release, great breakthrough. Sending a powerful gust of wind right at Tenten, one so powerful that it sent all of the weapons that she had thrown at Naruto right back at her. with Kakashi. Right now at the moment, the infamous Mirror Ninja was having the time of his life as his Sharingan was recording the slowly changing facial expressions on the face of his eternal rival, as the man realized that Naruto knew a jutsu that was the perfect countermeasure for all of the techniques that his student knew. The look of pure horror and realization that he was going to have to give up his pride and joy green spandex training suit as well as stop shouting about how youthful everything was something that, to Kakashi, nobody could have paid enough money to make this happen, and he was thankful for Naruto's change in personality. With Tenten, seeing that all of the weapons that she had thrown at the boy were coming right back at her with an even faster pace than what she threw them at, the pink blouse wearing Kunoichi had little time to react as she protected the vital parts to her body and hoped for the best. Sadly for her, that was not going to end well for her, as she received multiple cuts along her legs, with one being enough to rip her left leg's pants from the knee down completely off. The other weapons hit her in the arms and her thighs as she did her best to protect herself against her own attack. If she thought things couldn't get any worse, well then she was wrong, because Naruto had seen the predicament that she was in and decided that right now was the moment that he was going to go in for the kill. The way how the Uzumaki boy did that was to jump up into the air thanks to some chakra sent to his legs and go through the hand seals of his most powerful and trump card jutsu. When Naruto was only a meter or so away from Tenten, the boy called out the name of the jutsu, inhaled the appropriate amount of air and let loose the jutsu. Futon Rankuden, wind release, drilling air bullet jutsu. Everyone in the room watched with mixed emotions at how the ball of compressed bladed air was sent directly at Tenten, who took the full brunt of the attack, getting a nasty scrape along her ankle, to which she promptly screamed out in pain and got carried away into the wall, where she hit her head and went into the land of unconsciousness. Even Hate smirked, knowing what this meant for Guy. The winner of this match is Naruto Uzumaki. Hate called out to the crowd, which received a round of applause as all the Jonin barring Orochimaru in disguise and Mato Guy were impressed with what Naruto had just displayed. Despite having watched his student lose, Guy was more concerned with the fact that he had lost the bet, so much so that he was ramrod still, and the only way how he made a movement of his body was when Kakashi called out to him. "So Guy, that was the springtime of youth, wasn't it? It was just so youthful it makes you want to wear green spandex constantly, doesn't it?" The only response that Guy gave to his eternal rival was to drop to the ground in a faint, but not before saying one last thing. "Damn you Kakashi with your hip and cool attitude, it makes me so mad." Everyone from this group was incredibly shocked, as they had definitely not expected the performance that Naruto had just given, as in comparison from where he was less than 6 months ago, he couldn't even make a henge jutsu, and yet now he could pull off B-ranked elemental ninjutsu? How had Naruto improved so much in this short turnaround? The one that was racking their brain the most was Shikamaru, the boy from the clan that more often than not produced intellectual geniuses that could solve anything and everything, was having trouble trying to put the pieces of the puzzle, which was Naruto's shinobi skills, and he just couldn't do it. Is Kakashi-sensei that good of a teacher that he can turn someone like Naruto, who was the dead last of the class, and turn him into someone that could rival Kiba and Sasuke? I mean, sure, Asuma-sensei was mentioning about how good of a shinobi Kakashi was, but to think that Naruto could improve this much in such a short time, oh well, this is troublesome. Kiba was also thinking along these lines, as he just couldn't believe that the dead last had gotten so strong in a short amount of time. How did the dobe get so good so quickly? He was crap in the academy, and it took him over 3 years to learn the Henjin replacement, and yet now he can pull off all of those cool jutsus like it was nothing. Is Kakashi-sensei, the guy who Mom was talking about as who she wanted to be my sensei, is he really that good? In the end though, what Kiba had just seen was something that he couldn't readily believe, and put it down to just being a fluke and nothing worth racking his brain over. Not only was it that all of the rookie 9 were taking an incredible interest in all of the skills that Naruto had just shown, but this was also a sentiment that was shared by both of the Jonin sensei who took on a team from Naruto's year. Asuma for his part was beyond impressed with how well Naruto could control his apparent wind element. The more pragmatic sensei, Kurenai, was concerned. How could Naruto change so much as a person in such a short space of time? What had caused it, and how much further was Naruto going to change? Within minutes, the fight between Kankuro Sabaku and Kiba Inuzuka took place. Throwing a smoke bomb on the ground right in front of Kankuro, Kiba, the heir of the Inuzuka clan, and his trusty partner by his side as the duo double-teamed the ninja with the weird wrappings on his back. He jumped out of the smoke, with it obscuring his vision. The one thing that Kankuro noticed when he came out of the smoke was that there was a white dog that was latched hard onto his arm. Thinking that it was the puppet and not his actual flesh, which would be quite painful, Kankuro used his chakra threads which were attached to his puppet to rapidly change their hands, which caught Akamaru in a trap hold, with the other hand of the puppet had a hole in his hand in which a blade pooped out and dripped poison, making Akamaru whimper since he didn't want to die. "You might want to give up, kid, or otherwise your friend here will die," Kankuro stated to the canine-based ninja, who could only growl as he tried to think of a way to get out of this dicey situation, and it was then that the member of the Inuzuka clan realized that he did have a way to get Akamaru out of the situation he was in, and what that involved was a soldier pill. Pulling one out of his pocket, Kiba flicked the soldier pill in the direction of Akamaru, to which the puppy obliged his master with a thankful yelp, and swallowed the pill, which made the fur on the dog turn from white to vibrant red in a matter of seconds. The thing was, though, had this been some kind of clone which weren't as tough, the dog would have been able to break through all of restraints holding Akamaru back, but because it was a puppet which was made of much stronger materials meant that the dog couldn't break out of his hold. What he did do, though, was force Kankuro out of the bandages that he wrapped himself in, which made everyone realize that the real Kankuro was a ninja who was a puppet jutsu user, and that the thing holding Akamaru was actually a puppet. This was proven true as the puppet's paint and design, which made the thing look like Kankuro himself, started to chip away and revealed the wooden doll underneath. Seeing that he had just dodged a bullet there, from there on Kankuro made the split-second decision in that he wouldn't take any more chances with this match and decided to go in for the kill on the puppy, which would make the match much easier since it would then be one-on-one. Panic set in, all possible scenarios filtering through his mind in that moment. "Akamaru!" Kiba quickly called out, as he didn't want his best friend to die. "Wait, I'll forfeit as long as you promise to let Akamaru go." Kiba called out to his enemy, who stopped the poison blade that was aimed directly at the red dog, and turned his head to Kiba to see whether or not he would actually go through with it and forfeit. Giving a nod of the head, Kiba sighed in relief, as he didn't know what he would have done without Akamaru right by his side. Kiba spoke up to Hate. "All right then, Proctor, I give up," Kiba said with a reluctant sigh as he spoke to Hate before then changing to Kankuro so that he could get Akamaru back. "Now, hand over Akamaru," Kiba said in a not-so-nice tone, as he hated having to forfeit, but in the end decided that it was for the best and that if he had this chance another time, he would do exactly what he had just done time and time again. Having had his sister humiliated by that Konoha genin, Kankuro decided that he wanted to get back some pride for Sunagakure, and replied in a fashion that broadcasted his thoughts. "Nah, I don't think I will. Little boy, didn't they ever teach you that lying is a core part of being a shinobi?" The middle child of the current Kazekage questioned in a rhetorical tone of voice before turning his head back down to the dog in his puppet's arms that was struggling trying to get free. With a flick of the wrists and a little bit of added chakra, the blade that was in the puppet came out at a rather slow speed as Kankuro wanted to toy with the emotions of Kiba, but before the blade could connect with the fur of the dog, there was a sword of some kind that was blocking the blade, and then realized that the proctor of the match was holding his blade so that the sword couldn't make contact with Akamaru. "The winner of this match is Kankuro Sabaka by his opponent forfeiting. There is no need to cause unnecessary death," Hate quietly stated before using some chakra in combination with his sword to push the puppet away and break the hold that the Sand Nin had on the canine. "I suggest you go back to your sensei, Sand Ninja, as your match is now over," Hate stated, to which Kankuro obliged and walked up the stairs to his sensei, older sister, and younger brother. Not wanting to cause any more trouble as the incident that he had just created with the attempted killing of one the Inuzuka clan heir's ninja dog partner, Kankuro just walked up to where his team was and waited for the Sandaime Hokage to speak up, as there was only one competitor left. Before that could happen, though, both Baki and Temari congratulated the middle child of the current Kazekage on his good performance in the match, although Baki was saying that it would have been great if he had not given away that he was a puppeteer. Naruto Uzumaki vs Shikamaru Nara. Shino Aburame vs Kankuro Sabaku. Neji Hyuga vs Hinata Hyuga. Ino Yamanaka vs Temari Sabaku. Sasuke Uchiha vs Gaara Sabaku. These were the matches that had been decided. They were also going to take place in a month. "Well then, you're free to start strategizing or resting depending on what you like. With this, I will dismiss you all unless some of you have any questions?" Hiruzen asked to the Chunin hopefuls in front of him who were tired from their matches. There was indeed one kid who had a question for the Sandaime Hokage, and it was ironic as that person was the smartest person inside the room was asking for an answer. "Since this is a tournament, it would mean that there is only one winner, right? That would mean that only one person can become a Chunin, right?" Shikamaru questioned, as what he had deduced made it seem awfully hard to get the rank of Chunin, and just made him think that it wasn't worth the effort. Realizing that Shikamaru was right in his assumptions, the Hokage of Konoha decided to correct him. "No, that's not quite right. There will be numerous judges, including but not limited to me, the Kazekage, and other various lords of minor towns and lands, who will be deciding whether or not you have the necessary qualifications to obtain the rank of Chunin. Everyone has the possibility of becoming a Chunin even if they lose their first match. As long as they show the skills needed of becoming a Chunin, they will obtain the rank. The only point of winning matches is to have more chances of showing off that you're Chunin ninja material, as well as the prize money that comes with winning." Hiruzen lectured to the genin in front of him. It was at that time in the conversation that Naruto Uzumaki popped up. That means that there is a possibility of everyone becoming a chunin, right? The sun-kissed blonde-haired boy questioned. Impressed at the logical reasoning coming from his favorite genin, Hiruzen nodded. Yes, but there is also the possibility that none of you will become a chunin, Hiruzen stated in a serious tone which made all of the genin in front of him take notice. Well then, thanks for all of the inspiring performances. The effort you exerted will make your village proud to have you among their forces. You are all dismissed until a month from now, Hiruzen said before he disappeared. For Naruto, he might have stayed back with his teammates if the only person in the team that he liked who was his sensei was there, but because of the fact that Orochimaru did something to Sasuke during the forest, Naruto knew that Sasuke was going to get a checkup at the hospital and needed to have Kakashi there to guard him in case Orochimaru would try something again. Spurred by the adrenaline rush, having defeated her rival, Ino was on a high. I loved the feeling of winning, but now I have to fight Temari. Had she had time to question why that was, she would come to the conclusion that she was used to people telling her how great she was. This was mostly due to being a clan heir of a prestigious clan, and having a lot of boys interested in her. Having people validate her skills though, she could see the future, having a legion of fans and people worshipping the ground she walked on. Temari, though, was a massive step up. She had seen the damage the kunoichi was capable of creating. Those wind gusts were devastatingly powerful. If Ino Yamanaka was going to be able to continue these feelings, she was going to have to step up her game hard. The worst part out of all of this though was that no one believed in her or her abilities. Shikamaru had outright called for her to forfeit, and Asuma-sensei had a look on her face that basically said I agree. Sure, she knew that she had laxed in her previous training as a ninja, but that was going to change. She was Ino motherfucking Yamanaka. She was the clan heir to the prestigious Yamanaka clan, famed for being able to control the mind like no other. On that stage, in front of thousands of people, there was no chance she was going to embarrass her family and be a laughingstock. Naruto! Wake up! Ino Yamanaka called out, rushing over to her fellow blonde. What better way to improve than to ask the person who she had witnessed grow leaps and bounds how they did it? Turning around, Naruto was greeted with the sight of Ino Yamanaka chasing after him. They were on the roof of a random, nondescript village. What does Ino want with me? It was kind of cool watching you in the forest. You've grown a lot in the past 5 months, she mentioned, freely giving him a compliment that she didn't think too much on. As much as he tried to hide the blush, he couldn't. He wasn't used to getting compliments. For years he had tried to get any sort of affection from Sakura and he got physically abused instead. Why is it that one compliment makes me blush? Probably because I am not used to them. Thanks, what did you want? Naruto questioned, avoiding talking about her performance. She won, but it wasn't all that impressive. Still, he didn't think at all she would cut her hair, and the chakra control to balance multiple jutsu at the same time was impressive. On second thought, she put in an okay performance. I wanted to ask you how you got so much better recently. I want to take my training seriously. I want to become a strong ninja like you. Once more, standing there was a blushing Naruto Uzumaki. He had never received compliments on his abilities as a ninja. Getting two in such a short space of time was overwhelming. Train hard. Train until you think you can't anymore and then train some more. Train lots of different things to reduce your weaknesses, but also have a specialty that can take you to Chunin. Ino closed the distance between the two. They were standing a meter apart. Naruto wasn't used to being this close to a girl that wasn't Sakura. We should train together sometime. I scratch your back, you rub mine. Ino smirked as she suggested this. Unlike her former crush Sasuke Uchiha, she would get no response out of him when she offered herself to him on a silver platter. Naruto, though, she got the blushing, the stammering with his words, and the overall speechless look. Damn right I'm hot. I was going crazy for a while there. Sure. The Uzumaki Genin responded, a bit baffled by what was going on. Getting attention was all he ever dreamed of, and now he was getting it. He had no idea how to receive it. Thank you, Naruto. This is going to help me a lot. She giggled as she came up to kiss him on the cheek, leaving him speechless. She had seen just how much Naruto trained and knew that she wanted to get to the bottom of Blondie. A new sensation ran through his body fueled by hormones. He wouldn't be able to get the image of Ino Yamanaka for the rest of the night. After what seemed like forever, Naruto got back to his apartment and lay on his bed. I get to join the Snake Clan. I get to join the fucking Snake Clan. Naruto thought to himself excitedly. Here he had spent the past 5 months giving it his all, making himself into the perfect representative for their clan. Good afternoon, Naruto-kun, the female snake hissed. From the first time since meeting Shikudo, Naruto was not afraid. Instead, he was giddy. She was the chance he finally had to get a family. They weren't human, but that didn't matter. They were his and he was going to make them proud. Good afternoon, Shikudo. Slithering her way over to Naruto's body, Shikudo wrapped her form around Naruto and told him to close his eyes as she was doing something that would allow him to train in complete privacy for the month. The last thing that was said in the room of Naruto was, Sealing Arts, Reverse Summoning Jutsu. Chapter 9. Opening his eyes right after he got the all clear from Shikudo, Naruto looked around in awe. He didn't exactly know what to expect, but this place was cool. Naruto, this place is called Empty Mayobushi, which is the place that all members of the Snake Clan live. This place will be your new home for the next month. Shikudo lectured as she knew that Naruto was new to this place and would not know a thing about it. As they made their way around the place, Shikudo started speaking. As they went through the mountainous region, Shikudo listed off various different areas of the Snake Kingdom what their specialties were. For now though, what we will be doing is going to see the leader of the clan, my father, who wants to meet the newest member of the Snake Clan. The princess of the Snake Clan stated, to which Naruto could only nod as he didn't know what to expect. The only thing he was sure about was that he was highly nervous. Daddy, I need you to train me, and I don't want the same old bullshit training to be an interrogator. I'm a boss lady and I want to be a frontline fighter. She called out from her room, putting the final touches to her outfit. She was wearing a matching pair of dark purple yoga pants and a yoga crop top. It was two-tone with lilac accents. Look good, feel good, perform good. It was the motto she had lived by, and it had gotten her this far already. The real reason was that she didn't have a choice. She was going up against the eldest of the Kazekage's children, and if she managed to win that, she would be going up against the youngest. The odds were definitely not in her favor. She was not going to be able to cut her hair again for the element of surprise, and she doubted Temari would stand still and cop her jutsu to the face. She was going to have to drastically increase her fighting capabilities if she was going to have a chance of surviving, let alone winning any of her fights. Okay, princess, I'll be in the backyard in a second. Making her way down the stairs from her room, she tidied up the last remaining things on the table from breakfast. Right, let's get started. We don't have much time, so we're going to have to take some shortcuts. Ino didn't mind hearing the word shortcuts, as long as they worked. First thing first, we're going to be fighting on top of the water, Inoichi stated, pulling out 2 kunai and loosely chucking it towards his daughter. She grimaced whilst catching it, having only just heard about water walking, yet having not done it yet. Guess I'd better learn quick. After having been taken to a bed which was of higher class than anything else that he had slept in before, Naruto relished the fact that the Snake Clan was a civil and high society clan. He got to experience the finer things in life, such as an already made bed with a duvet and a comfortable mattress. He almost didn't want to get up. The excitement of his first day of training though was enough to get him out of bed. Before he could officially start the training though, Naruto needed to sign the contract in blood. Whilst looking over the contract, he noticed that he was going to be only the 8th person to sign the contract. Damn, they don't let just anyone sign the contract. It filled him with yet another burst of pride, that they chose him. Now before you can begin your training, you are going to have to visit Nagini, deep in the inner sanctum of the Hibi clan, and get a medical done. As much as Naruto wanted to protest against the words of Manda, he knew that he had no right to come in here disobeying orders. Trudging along, he kicked off the process, which would take 4 hours. In front of Manda, the trio listed over all the benefits, which basically amounted to having a stronger immune system due to having the Kyuubi's chakra running through him, having a more efficient body. The part that Naruto was most concerned about though, was when Nagini started going into how to augment his skills as a ninja and get the most out of him. For Naruto Uzumaki, he was quite nervous having all of his shinobi skills laid out there in the open, as he wasn't sure whether he was good enough to be a member of the clan. He could obviously become a great swordsman with the combination of his wind affinity with a single-bladed shikudo, considering his size and flexibility, with a cylindrical grip which would promote major flexibility in the attacks that he would be able to pull off without a guard, which would decrease the weight of the sword so that it would decrease weight, allowing him to move faster during combat. I can see Naruto here becoming a shinobi who favors speed rather than power, as he can use his elemental affinity to create a great attacking base for him to launch his future kenjutsu and our other snake arts. Nagini stated, as not only was she the head of the White Snake branch, but she was also Manda's advisor on decisions and was telling him how to prepare the things that Naruto needed for his training. Judging by the amount of information in his nervous system about muscle memory, it shows me that the only taijutsu style that Naruto has is the Academy taijutsu style. At this point, Nagini saw the nervous look on the face of Naruto and decided that it would be good to ease his worries. Don't worry, Naruto-kun, The academy style is a taijutsu style which is a necessary evil for students without an alternative style, and it is a style that is meant for branching out and learning better styles later on, which means that you should learn our kenjutsu fairly quickly. The elder snake stated in a kind tone which she hoped eased Naruto's conscience. Despite his recent improvements, Naruto still needs to bulk up a bit more, being a bit underweight for his age. It's no doubt that having the fox inside of him requires much higher amounts of food to fuel his body. It was a little while later as Manda was busily writing down the finer points of Naruto's training. When he was done, he asked for Nagini to take Naruto down to the Rattlesnake branch as to get him started on the initiation process of becoming a member of the Snake Clan. Obliging to her boss, Nagini took the blonde-haired boy with her as she went down to where the daughter of the clan king lived so that they could get Naruto officially a part of the Snake Clan. The way that they were going to do this was by getting Naruto to get the customary tattoo on the inside of his right arm embedded with his blood, chakra and chakra from the princess of all snakes to make a truly binding contract. She has phenomenal chakra control. I had to work so hard for the control that she just naturally has, Inoichi said in a mental link to his wife. She could hear the pride evident in his voice. In the space of a 10-minute fight, she had managed to pick up walking on water. All it took was 5 steps to get the hang of balancing on the water without any distractions. Then she fell. Inoichi was right on her with speed which was slightly above what the average Chunin had, and he punched her right in the stomach. There was no chance of avoiding it. Face down in the water, Ino coughed up some water before getting up with her hands on the surface of the lake in their backyard. Wet hair fell over her face. With frustration, she flicked it back up in the air and behind her. Inoichi lowered the speed and attacked her at the top speed in which Ino could move. This time she managed to take 2 steps back to dodge the attack, although she stumbled and fell into the water again. Ugh! She screamed. Normally I get everything I want without having to work. Is this what the others are doing day in and day out? She questioned to herself. If this is what the Gaaras, the Neijis and the Narutos of the world were doing, then she was going to do it too. Each time her father went to punch or kick Ino, she leapt out of the way to avoid the attack. 4 times. That's all it took before she managed to keep standing. She stumbled but remained upright. She unleashed a smirk at her father, showing him that she wasn't going to take this lightly. Keep up the great work, honey. You're doing a fantastic job, Inoichi called out with pride. Maybe my daughter is going well in the exams? The first day had passed. Once they got down to training, Naruto fondly remembered that he completed his first training session to the best of his abilities. He was sure that the familiarity of holding a wooden sword would come shortly. At the moment, it was the main thing he was practicing. They had told him how dangerous he was going to be with the blade when he eventually combined it with his wind element. Plus, who doesn't like a cool-ass sword? With the second day almost coming to a close as well, Naruto headed where Shikudo happened to be. For the final part left required to be officially recognized as a member of the Snake Clan, Naruto needed a tattoo. In that, he had 2 options. On one end of the spectrum he could get the bare-bones basic tattoo, the same one Orochimaru got. It was about palm size and would go on the inside of the forearm. On the other side, Naruto was able to get any tattoo that he wanted, and the seal which allowed him to summon snakes would be woven into the piece. Being a kid and a kid that had never been around adults, there was no one to tell Naruto it was a bad idea to get a tattoo. Unlike in some of the other more progressive places in the elemental nations, Konoha and the Greater Fire Country did not look favorably on body modification outside of piercings. Tattoos were the unofficial signature of being in a gang. Naruto did not know that. He did not know that the older generation would judge him for having tattoos. Not that it was any different from what he had previously experienced. Instead, all that was running through his mind was, "This is fucking cool." Now Naruto, have you thought about what design you would like to get? A tattoo is a permanent decision. Shikudo warned the newest summoner, who nodded. He was happy to show off that he was a member of the Snake Clan. Eventually, the Uzumaki decided on getting what the blonde-haired boy had decided was that he was going to have a coiling cobra that covered every inch of his arm. Overlapping the cobra was vines, as if it was slithering through the grassy plains. When the tattoo got to the lower shoulder, it was here that the design changed. As the tattoo reached the shoulder, its snake head formed over his shoulder and over his pec. You could see dripping poison coming from the exposed fangs. All in all, Naruto was fairly proud of the design he had chosen. Shikudo would be using black, silver, white, purple, red and green for the colors in the tattoo. Seeing the creativity that Naruto had, she spoke up. Naruto, they always say that ninjas should always have hobbies outside of fighting to keep them mentally healthy. Have you thought of doing this? She questioned, which gave the blonde a lot to think about as he sat down in one place for 8 hours. Having made it out of the Chunin exam's preliminary round, winning her match without the borrowed confidence of her crush did a world of good for increasing the self-worth inside of the Hyuga heiress. For the first time in her life, the shy young girl from the most powerful clan in all of Konoha realized that she didn't actually need to rely on anyone else. She was capable on her own. She could achieve the same goals that she thought were reserved for the people like Naruto. Am I in love with Naruto though? This was the dilemma facing Hinata ever since she had finished her second round Chunin exam fight. Once all of the stress was over from the fight, she was now allowed to sit in her room and think through every detail she learned during the space of a week. The biggest one being that Naruto had changed. He's no longer the same Naruto. He's not as vibrant and full of energy as he was before. Naruto has lost the energy that made him Naruto. He didn't have to challenge himself during his fight. It was getting harder and harder for her to relate the old Naruto that she fell in love with to the new one she was forced to recognize as the new one. Or is that the Naruto I want him to be? The Naruto that wears his heart on his sleeve and proclaims to the world that he will be the Hokage. That no matter what challenge he faces, he has full confidence in himself. The confidence I want in myself. Do I want to be with Naruto, or do I want to have the confidence he has? She didn't know the answer, but it was something in the back of her mind as she went through each training drill. It was made ever more so present by the lack of her father's presence during her training. When she came back home, proud of how she managed to challenge herself and achieve making it to the second round without the help of Naruto, she thought her father would be happy. Instead, he thought of it as a fluke and was surprised to hear she made it through. She was absolutely crushed for a couple of days. All she wanted to do was gain her father's approval in the absence of her mother, having passed away years ago. I'm never going to be good enough for him, or for the clan. They want me to be their docile punching bag. When she thought of Neji, that was definitely what she knew he wanted her to be. I don't have to take on board his issues out of guilt. I don't have to accept my father. Why is it that the only people felt love from have been my mother and Kurenai-sensei? Breaking herself out of her musings, Hinata finished her meal before getting back into her training with Kurenai. She had a jutsu in mind that would be on the same level as the Kaiten. Confidence was at an all-time high for Ino. A week had passed since the first training session she had been having with her father. Out of everything the week had taught her it was achievement-based confidence. In the past, she was all talk. There was little confidence to back up what her mouth was capable of checking. Within the first day of training, she had trained on top of the water, getting the hang of water walking. The second day, she didn't fall in the water once despite her father increasing the speed of his attacks. With an intensity that had never been seen before, Inoichi watched on as Ino went through textbook after textbook on psychology, learning about any and every study done on the brain. From autism, to attachment theories and behavioral therapy. She was reading all of it. Sure, he knew that she was smart, but similarly to Shikamaru, she never really had the desire or application to showcase it. Until now, that is. Her speed had increased a lot. Only so much of it can be from building muscle, but the main increase came from her chakra control. Ino had tremendous control, similar to Sakura. She was able to increase the speed in which she moved, thanks to chakra. Out of everything though, what Ino was the most proud of was that she was on the way to completely changing the way she viewed and thought about both her body and food. Now she was no longer trying to achieve the perfect physique, which in her eyes meant eating as little as possible. Now instead, she was fueling her body for the training sessions and recovery. She had so much more energy, which meant she could train for multiple more hours than what she could before. The training sessions of hell that Asuma put her through, she knew she could easily handle them now. It meant she could train more frequently throughout the day and have more intensity when she trained. It also allowed her to think more clearly when reading academic textbook after academic textbook. It all resulted in Ino feeling more confident in herself. Not that she needed it. She already had it in spades. Heading over to Training Ground 7, she saw that Naruto was there already. The Kunai would spot a couple of leaves in his hands. Hey Blondie, Ino mentioned as she walked over to Naruto. Said blonde-haired boy looked up at her dryly. You're blonde too. Yeah, but I am a platinum blonde, you're a more vibrant blonde. It didn't really make sense to Naruto, but it didn't have to. Girls. So how's your training been going, Ino? Naruto questioned if he really wanted to be here. She was loud, she was bossy, but she wasn't. Sakura and Karen had left back to her village. It was nice for a girl to ask him out, even if it wasn't a date after all the times he asked Sakura and got nothing. That, and more importantly, he didn't have any idea about how to have a conversation regarding anything other than ramen or jutsus. It's going good. I've been training really hard, she said with a smirk on her face. No one is going to know what hit them. I've really been training my chakra control and reserves. That doesn't really give me anything. Isn't everyone training their chakra control and reserves? Naruto questioned. Ino giggled, then she walked over to Naruto and planted a kiss on his lips. His face went red in seconds and he immediately relished her taste. She tastes different from Karen and I don't have to worry about her being my cousin. Just as Naruto felt the blood rushing south, the connection was cut and the genjutsu died. Ino did not in fact kiss him. She was still standing about a meter away from him. That was a genjutsu. Naruto thought to himself, alarmed for a multitude of reasons. In one small motion, with a single one-handed seal, Ino had managed to cast a genjutsu on the unsuspecting male and planted a desire in his head. Damn, she is going to become scary. You right there, Naruto? Ino questioned with a Cheshire cat grin. She was grinning internally. She had learned so much about kissing, and here Naruto proved that he would be down to explore with her. It also showed how limited Naruto was when it came to recognizing and dispelling genjutsu, something both of them realized. When he looked at her this time round, there was something different about how he was looking at her. Respect, they both knew what it was. Ino was over the moon about getting respect over her ninja abilities. She never got compliments on her skills as a ninja. Naruto didn't even compliment her. He didn't have to. In that one moment, the Yamanaka princess showed how she could have easily killed Naruto, and yet, chose not to. So now that we have that out of the way, how has your training been going, Naruto? XXX. Why does she do that? Naruto questioned to himself. Ever since that kiss, it was running rampant through his mind. Anytime he wasn't training, he was thinking about that genjutsu felt. It was the perfect distraction to focus on. It beat all the usual ones like why did he get the QB sealed inside of him, who were his parents and his personal favorite, what was going to happen to Team 7 after these exams. With his blade in hand, Naruto tried channeling chakra through it. He marveled at the sheen that came off. The nature training is paying off. He thought to himself, proud that he managed to cut the leaf. Now he was on to cutting more and more varied objects with the chakra. Placing the blade back down on the ground, Naruto went back to the main training he was doing for the day. Hand seals. It sounded boring, but he knew it was crucial. Every time he tried fighting Manda or Shakudo, even whenever he tried to do the seals of his jutsu, they interrupted him, forcing him on the defensive. Quickly he realized the importance of the speed in which he could do hand seals. What was the point of knowing jutsu if he couldn't fire them off quickly? He had even heard the rumblings of one-handed jutsus, which would mean he could hold his sword and fire off ninjutsu at the same time. The first jutsu that Naruto learned was the Hidden Shadow Snake Hands, which was a jutsu that sent a few snakes from the sleeve which attacked the enemy in a straight and singular motion. The jutsu that Naruto had found to learn was the Summoning Jutsu. Fang Pursuit Jutsu. This was a jutsu that was similar to the stock standard summoning technique in that the only difference was the summon animal, but this used the snake's natural methods of detection to find their prey and appear from the ground in a surprise attack, and use their poisonous fangs to either kill or paralyze their enemy. Once he had the basics down of the Snake Clan jutsus, Naruto had a feeling he was going to need a bit more firepower, rather than just precision. In Cane Wind Release, Pressure was a jutsu that compressed the Futon chakra to the highest degree and launched it towards the enemy and unleashed the jutsu. Tanto in hand, Ano swiped forward, intent with causing her father damage. They were fighting on top of the water's surface, developing her chakra reserves, katas, and even trying to increase Ino's speed when attacking. When she wasn't doing this, she was training her body, building the muscles to carry her in her ninja career. And when she was done with all the physical, there she was, sitting on the edge of the water, deep in focus, practicing her jutsu, ever intent on mastering the famed skill of one-handed ninjutsu. Watching on, Inoichi couldn't be prouder of his girl. She has come a tremendous amount in such a small space of time. It was 2 weeks into the training, and admittedly, he had reservations about his daughter competing in the final round of the Chunin exams. Whilst she was very intelligent, she didn't really have the drive or abilities to compete on the grandest stage. Yet, right there in front of him, it was as if he was looking at a changed girl. She was spending 6 hours a day training. He really hoped that she got to showcase all of the hard work that she had been putting in. "Daddy, I'm off!" Ino called out, breaking Inoichi out of his reverie. She had packed up everything around her and placed it on the table under the awning. Within seconds, she was running off towards where Naruto was. Making her way from the clan compound towards the training ground, she found herself excited. All it had taken to make her excited was seeing one training session that Naruto put on. There she was, watching the effort he put into his wind ninjutsu and katas with the sword for her to realize just how much she herself was capable of putting into her training. The first time they sparred with swords, Ino was thrown at just how much of a difference there was in the skill they both started learning at the same time. He was faster, stronger, and more elegant with his strikes than she was. Just how much time is he putting into his training? Even when she arrived at the training ground, she found Naruto working through his katas yet again. Oh boy, Naruto's gotten hot. I could run my hands through that shaggy blonde hair. What's that? Ino questioned to herself as her gaze quickly narrowed when she saw the color seeping out of the shirt. Does Naruto have a tattoo? Rushing forward on impulse, Ino yelled out. Naruto, since when did you have a tattoo? Aren't you afraid people are going to judge you? Unlike the Uzumaki, Ino was very much aware of how a tattoo can change someone's standing in society. They were viewed negatively for a reason. How's that different from normal? He replied back, throwing Ino for a moment. Nah, this is a tattoo to symbolize the new clan I signed with. As much as Naruto wanted to keep it under wraps for the final, he was very excited to talk about it. Plus, it's been nice to hang out with Ino. Hopefully, she accepts this. If she didn't, well, it told him that he shouldn't tell her anything else. What do you mean your new clan? I thought you were already a part of the Uzumaki clan, she questioned with a frown, wondering what Naruto was talking about. What do you mean about the Uzumaki clan? Naruto asked with barely restrained urgency. Admittedly, when he spoke to Karen, she had mentioned that she was also had the same last name, but then he got sidetracked with everything regarding the Chunin exams to look into it. Long repressed feelings were threatening to bubble over the surface. Whenever he had asked the Sandaime Hokage about his family, all the man had said was that they had passed away the night of the attack and there were no more family members left. He would have given everything to find out something about his family. Yeah, there's a clan called the Uzumaki clan. They were kind of related to the Senju clan, I think, she mentioned, unaware of the turmoil Naruto was going through. Didn't he pay attention in school when they taught this? In addition to it being taught in the academy, Ino also had a responsibility to know, due to her status as a clan heir. Immediately, Naruto created 3 clones and informed them to go to the library, under the orders of picking up every bit of information he could on his potential family. No, I didn't know anything. The anger was seeping out, although it was not directed at Ino. It was directed at himself. Not liking the thoughts running through his mind regarding the old man and feeling betrayed, even if he technically didn't lie, Naruto diverted the conversation. The reason why I got the tattoo is because I signed the contract with the Snake Summoning Clan. They are the people that have been helping me train whilst Kakashi has been off training Sasuke. Apprehensive, Ino knew all too well that the last person affiliated with the Snake Clan was none other than Orochimaru. There's no way Naruto would end up like him though, right? As her initial thoughts of hesitation came over her face, Naruto noticed it and frowned. What made you sign the contract? A small smile started to appear on the face of Naruto. I expected her to run away when I told her. I wasn't happy with my training. It felt like I was going nowhere, and then the snakes came to me, offering to help me train, as long as in the end, I killed Orochimaru because he has ruined their reputation. Naruto replied, trying to justify why he signed with the Snake Clan, not that he had to. As much as he was proud for having joined the clan, there was still a major part of him that wanted to be accepted and acknowledged. They expect you to kill Orochimaru, Ino replied with a horrified expression on her face. To think they expect Naruto of all people be able to kill one of the Sannin. Had it been 6 months ago, she would have said it was crazy. However, she had seen the development her blonde counterpart had gone through. Yeah, he grimaced. Naruto had heard of the horror stories Sakura was telling him about Orochimaru, and he had heard a lot from the Snake Clan. It was going to be a monumental task. The other reason why I joined them is that they offered me a family, and since I am an orphan, it feels really nice. Immediately, her heart went out to Naruto. He must have been through so much. That's probably why he did all those pranks when we were younger. Why he always was so loud during class. A look of understanding filtered across her face. Whilst she hadn't walked through his shoes, she could only imagine how difficult that must be. Right, and how happy does it make you feel to be a part of the clan? She questioned with a small smile on her face. You should have seen the smile that Naruto gave her. It truly warmed her heart and melted her insides. It's been great, Databeo! Naruto exclaimed, then proceeded to get red in the face due to the resurgence of his verbal tic. He was trying to cut it out but got so excited. That's the Naruto I remember. I don't remember his smile being so infectious. They said I can either get a regular tattoo that had the seal inscribed on it, or you could get one which you designed, Naruto said excitedly, taking off his shirt to show Ino the full piece. Shocked at having a boy take their clothes off in front of her, a small blush littered over her face. Her hand quickly went up to mouth to cover the smile forming. Awe filled the Yamanaka girl's eyes as she looked with focus at the detail in the tattoo. I've never seen anything like this. With no words spoken, Ino reached out to Naruto's tattooed arm and lightly traced over the design of the purple cobra tail wrapped around his arm. It sent shivers down his body, forcing a minor gasp from Naruto. As her hand absent-mindedly traced over the design, she had no idea the effect this had on Naruto, especially as she ran her fingers over the pec. It was her first time touching a boy like this, and she was entranced. Hold on a second. What am I doing, groping Naruto of all people's pec? Ino internally screamed, horrified at the thought. Ahem. Ino called out to herself. Blushing as it felt nice, she took a step back. You mentioned that you were an orphan before. Do you think that is why you pulled all those pranks when you were younger? To get people to look at you? Ino questioned, getting the conversation back to things other than how she was tracing Naruto's body with her hands. Still feeling the effects of Ino's incredibly soft fingers on his body, he was in a bit of a daze when he spoke. Yeah, that, and with the QB sealed inside of me, everyone hated me for when all I wanted was to be loved like the other kids at the academy. Right as the moment the words came out of the Uzumaki's mouth, his eyes widened comically. Fuck, I didn't mean to say that. What do you mean the QB's sealed inside of you? Ino questioned with shock, not really knowing how to process the new information. Oh what, I didn't say anything. Naruto, embarrassed, brought his hand back to his head and rubbed it nervously. Frowning, Ino could see the nerves and anxiety running all through his body. No, you said something about the QB. You can tell me anything, promise. She stated, feeling like she was on the verge of finding out something juicy. The sheer panic that was radiating off of Naruto was concerning. She had never seen him frightened like this before. It didn't fit the image she had of him. He was confident, regardless of the situation. Well, she didn't judge me for the Snake Clan. The 13-year-old Naruto, devoid of affection and socialization, justified to himself. The past 2 weeks with Ino here giving me compliments has been nice. If she leaves after finding this out, it's not like I lost anything. That was what Naruto was telling himself, trying to rationalize it in his mind. The truth was that he was incredibly scared. Never when interacting with Sasuke or Sakura did Naruto feel like it was a safe space to share this sensitive information. So you can't actually kill a tailed beast, despite what they said during the academy. The only way you can defeat one is to seal it away. He paused to see her reaction. Seeing it slowly dawn on her, it felt prudent to keep talking. I don't know why, but for whatever reason, the 4th Hokage chose to seal the QB inside of me. With clenched fists and looking at the ground, Naruto didn't want to show his newfound friend his innermost secrets. Anguish marred his face, and in that moment, before Ino spoke up, he felt completely naked. So you're like a giant storage scroll for the QB? Ino responded after thinking about it for a moment. Just by looking at him, she saw a completely different Naruto, one she was confident that neither Sasuke or Sakura had seen. Her intuition was that Naruto hadn't told anyone this yet. So that's why all the adults told us to stay away from him. Daddy never told me to stay away from Naruto, he was just annoying. But that was just because he was a kid who wanted to be a part of the group, he wanted to have friends and family, and he didn't have any role models to tell him right from wrong. Naruto nodded. And all of the older people know, but none of the other people we went to the academy with know, right? She questioned, piecing the puzzle together. Seeing Naruto nod again, she only had question. Why? When I spoke to Gramps, he said it was because he wanted for me to have a normal life. Naruto replied, although he was unconvinced with the answer. That's fucking bullshit. Ino swore loudly, not caring about the profanities coming out of her mouth. As if you had a fucking normal childhood. Getting another opinion to validate his thoughts reassured Naruto that his feelings were valid. That's the Sandaime Hokage Ino. Naruto dryly replied with a small smirk on his face. Oops. She blushed for a moment before the confidence came back. So what? I stand by what I said. Nothing I said was wrong. He wanted you to have a normal life, but everyone found ways to go around it. Naruto smiled, seeing she was willing to stand up for what she believed in to be right. Remembering where she was, Ino asked Naruto a question. And how do you feel about it all? Naruto was stumped on how to answer that. He didn't know how he felt about it. Whenever he tried thinking about his childhood, the memories were vague at best, as if he was trying to subconsciously forget about it. I don't like it at all, Naruto said with spite lacing his voice. I didn't ask for this. Why did they force me to be the host? I didn't have parents anyway. Why didn't they give it to someone who had a mom and dad to help them? It was a multi-layered comment from Naruto. There were many comments to unpack there. She had to think about her answer for a moment. I don't know why they picked you, but it really sucks and is unfair. Feelings of guilt filled Ino for how she treated her blonde friend when she was younger. She never knew how hard he had it. Even though we have really only been friends for the past 2 weeks, I want to say that we're going to be friends forever. It wasn't exactly what she said that spoke to Naruto, it was how she said it. Looking up, he saw her green eyes full of the utmost confidence. Whatever you're going through, I want you to know that you can come to me and talk about it. I'm not going to tell anyone your secrets. Promise. You mean that? Naruto questioned. There was hesitation in his voice, lower lip almost quivering. Yep. From now on, you're not going to go through this alone. You're going to have the sexy Ino by your side whether you like it or not. The smirk filtered through from her eyes to the lips and Naruto couldn't help but return her positivity. You're not afraid? Naruto questioned with a bit of hesitation. She scoffed whilst flicking her hair. Not at all. She lied, having a bit of nerves but not wanting Naruto to hate himself. It wasn't that she was shit scared of it, she just wanted to learn more about the situation first. Thank you, Ino. I promise I'll always have your back. That's my ninja way. Seeing the look of sheer determination in her friend's eyes made Ino grin. Then when he came over, wrapped his arms around her and held her tightly, she swooned. A girl could get used to this. After breaking the hug, Ino softly spoke, still flushed from the hug. Let's go get Ichiraku's. Chapter 10. Getting out of the shower, having just had breakfast, Naruto looked at himself in the mirror, liking what he saw. His muscles had grown bigger, he was overall bigger, and his hair was longer. I might grow it out a bit more. Clothes-wise, he was decked out in tapered joggers that came in at the ankle, flaring slightly at the legs to provide more comfort. Up top, he was wearing a simple white t-shirt with a black and orange kimono, flower designs covering the arms. The top was untied, letting the dual-layered clothes speak for the fashion growth Naruto had gone under. During the final week of the training before the exams, Ino had suggested, more like demanded, that Naruto go with her shopping for new clothes. She wanted new clothes. She wanted someone to carry her new clothes. She wanted Naruto to get a new outfit. The only reason why he allowed it, and went along without a fuss, was that in the back of his mind, on the grandest stage of them all, he was going to be representing the Snake Clan. I need to make this memorable. Having gotten past the guards at the front gate to the stadium, Naruto made his way to where the other genin were located. There he saw a new proctor for the final exam. 5 minutes later and all of the genin that were going to be competing were there. That is, apart from Sasuke. Come on, Sasuke, what the hell are you doing? You're not going to make Chunin if you follow in the footsteps of Kakashi-sensei. You forgot to mention Sasuke, where is he? Naruto questioned, wondering where his teammate was, as he wanted to fight him and prove once and for all that he was the better of the two and that he no longer looked up to him, and that they were equals. Annoyed at the boy in front of him, Genma spoke up to Naruto in a fairly grouchy tone, indicating to Naruto that he didn't want the conversation to last any longer. He hasn't shown up yet, I don't know any more than what you do. After receiving a message from the Hokage, Genma looked at the genin. Alright guys, this is the final test. The arena is different but the rules are the same as the preliminary rounds. You fight until either one of you dies or admits defeat, but if I determine that the match has gone far enough, I'll step in and stop it, got that? Gemma questioned to the Chunin hopefuls in front of him, who all nodded in confirmation as they got the message he was delivering. With the fight having started, Naruto wondered how this fight was going to play out. He had seen on occasion how Shikamaru's brain worked. It was scary. Then again, on the other hand, he was a lazy ass and hardly ever trained. Despite being mildly irritated about Naruto not giving him the decency to even look like he paying attention, Shikamaru made the most of the situation by wordlessly using the famed jutsu of his family. It was not long after Shikamaru used his jutsu, it latched onto Naruto Uzumaki. Boos started ringing in from the stadium at the lackluster fight. They were expecting a show and all they got was one where Naruto didn't even bother trying. None more so shocked, annoyed and beyond angry was the Sandaime Hokage Hiruzen Sarutobi, as what Naruto was doing now went against all of his ideals and wanting to become the future Hokage of Konoha. Even the normally highly lazy heir to the Nara clan was disappointed. To him, it felt like that Naruto didn't even want to try. That was normally his role. This all changed though when his head was forcibly dragged down facing the ground, and there was only one person who was able to do it since he didn't choose to do it himself. Broken out of his musings on the time they spent together at the academy when the shadow connected, Naruto started channeling his chakra. Flexing his control over the Kyuubi's chakra, Naruto merely pulsed the Nine Tails chakra, causing it to run through his body, dispelling the hold that Shikamaru had on him. Shock filled the visage of the Nara clan heir. Whatever that was, it wasn't human chakra. Shikamaru thought to himself with a frown on his face. If Naruto can push back my hold over his body, then I have no chance of winning. Sigh, this is troublesome. Just what was that, Naruto? Only to the most adept censors would they have seen what just happened. Proctor, I forfeit, Shikamaru said, already with his hands in his pockets and walking back to the stadium entrance, feeling shame for the first time in a long time. I need to get better. Shocked was an understatement for the third Hokage, seeing what had just happened. Where did Naruto get the ability to control the Kyuubi's chakra? I don't believe that Kakashi was going to teach him that. I am going to need to have a talk with Naruto after these exams are over. He has been distancing himself and now he knows how to use the fox's chakra? I need to get to the bottom of this. Sitting right beside him, Orochimaru had glee in his eyes, seeing the fact that Naruto Uzumaki could use the Kyuubi. I didn't get to test you before, Naruto. Show me your power. With Jiraiya watching Naruto, his godson produce enough chakra to dispel the Nara clan family jutsu with the Kyuubi's chakra spelled warning signs for the Toad Sage, who had trained Naruto how to use the chakra. Admittedly, he meant to train his godson the past month, but due to a combination of Naruto being hard to find and the allure of the bathhouses, Jiraiya didn't get around to it. I should have trained him. Ino couldn't believe her eyes. While she had full confidence that her teammate could hold his own, she didn't expect he would get humiliated that bad. She had seen the shadow connect, seen it get pushed back, and seen the shock on the face of Shikamaru. Is that really all you're going to do, Shika? Not even try something else? It filled her with hesitation regarding future missions. Would he give up just as easily? Stunned, she didn't the fight between Shino and Kankuro start to take place with the two of them walking down to the ring. Naruto walked up the stairs to the competitor's box. When he got there, he saw Ino and walked over to her. There were no other people from his team there yet. What happened? She whispered. Flexed the Kyuubi's chakra, causing his shadow to go back down. Naruto responded back, also whispering. What are you two talking about over there? Shikamaru questioned. Nothing, haha. Naruto nervously scratched the back of his head. Then he walked back towards the middle of the room, noticing that Kankuro had forfeited his match. Unlike the Nara, I heard exactly what you said, Uzumaki. Mother says your blood is going to taste the best. We are the same. The deranged look that Gaara gave Naruto creeped even the ever-confident blonde, whose eyes widened. There's another one of me out there. So that's how Gaara fought Lee. He calls his mother? So many thoughts were running through his mind that he didn't notice the fight between Neji Hyuga and Hinata Hyuga. Said Hyuga Eris was dealing with her own thoughts as the match was called. He really has changed, she thought to herself as she watched him go over to Ino after his fight and whisper in her ear. That and the display of the red chakra he used in his fight with Shikamaru combined with his new clothes, he really looked like a person she didn't recognize. If he can change, then so can I, she told herself, giving a pep talk before she went down the stairs. She was going to need it. She was going up against her cousin. Now that he had time to think, privately, Naruto had to admit he was disappointed. He wanted to fight. He wanted to showcase his skills. He wanted to do the Snake Clan proud. Then came the boos. First they came for him being inattentive, and realizing the match had already started. Then they came for the fight being overall boring due to Shikamaru forfeiting. I get that it's not for me, but it still feels like shit to have people boo at you. Guess I have to prove it with my next fight. Haha, they're quite restless, aren't they? The crowd, I mean. They paid good money and all they got to see was a gen in the Kyuubi's chakra and the rest have been forfeits. I assume that they are feeling hard done by. The Kazekage in disguise mused as he wanted to get a reaction out of his sensei. Unfortunately that did not happen though, as Hiruzen was too busy with pressing matters that were of more importance. That was the fact that the star attraction for the exams, one Sasuke Uchiha, was not here. He was the person that a lot of the paying customers had come to see, and they would be very disappointed if they did not get to see the kid in action. That's just it. Rado whispered into his dictator's ear as he thought that what they were going through was something embarrassing and that it should not be heard by the other villages. We are still unable to find him, Hokage-sama, and we also have Orochimaru to deal with, so before everyone starts to make a big fuss, how about we disqualify the boy for not having arrived on time? Rado questioned as he wanted to know what was going on and prevent an incident from occurring. It was then that the smooth, negotiating voice of his former student reared its ugly head and forced itself into the conversation. Hokage Dano, please wait a little longer before making this decision. It was Rado's turn to speak up. Well, it wasn't really his turn, but he chose that moment to speak up anyway. I beg your pardon, but anyone who takes punctuality lightly is someone who does not deserve to become a chunin, no matter how skilled they are. Unless there is a good enough reason to convince the high society people, then we should go on without him. The moment that Orochimaru found the gap so that he could retort, he did just that. I seem to recall one of your elite jonin named Kakashi Hatake being someone who was always late. If he is allowed that leeway, then surely someone who is a descendant from one of the founding fathers of Konohagakure should be allowed the same right? Orochimaru stated, to which the special jonin just started spluttering, trying to dig himself out of the mess he had put himself into. Unconcerned about what was happening to Reito Namishi, the snake Sannin continued on speaking. Even so, I still see a reason which would be satisfactory for the daimyos and the other various lords in attendance. The majority of the shinobi leaders and every other high-ranking person here are mainly here so that we can see the match between the Uchiha heir and my youngest son Gaara. The Kazekage in disguise stated, to which the special jonin didn't know what to say in response. In the end he didn't need to think of what to say though, as it was Hiruzen Sarutobi who spoke up. Very well then, let's postpone his match and allow the other matches to go on ahead. If he is still not here by the time his match comes up, then we will have to disqualify him. The Sandaime Hokage stated, to which the snake Sannin smirked behind his veil as he knew that his sensei was still as easily manipulable as always. Without needing to be told what his next task was, Reito Namishi went to where his friend Ginma was standing and told him what he was going to have to recite to the crowd, which was getting slowly agitated more and more as time went on. Unconcerned with what was happening with his two special jonin, Hiruzen turned his attention back to the fourth Kazekage. It seems though that you are pushing for this match to go ahead, Kazekage Dano. With the smirk not having waned off of his face, Orochimaru turned his attention back to his sensei and started talking to him. Not at all, there's no better opponent for Gaara than the Uchiha so that he can show off the skill of Sunigakure to all of these possible clients. It's a great opportunity for us to show just how strong we are. Watching the fight between Hinata and Neji told him a lot of things. First was that Neji was good. Very good. Second was that Hinata was also good. From what he could see, she would have been the best kunoichi out of the trio that graduated. Ino has probably caught up in her own way, but Hinata was not bad. Next up is Ino Yamanaka versus Temari Sabaku, Ginma called out. With a look of determination on her face, Ino pulled down the sleeves of her purple yoga crop top. Hey, this is going to be so easy, Temari called out, full of confidence. She had seen the fight that Ino was in 1 month ago. There is no way that she could improve enough to be a challenge. Annoyed at the comment, no doubt directed at her, Ino adjusted the holster over her back for her sword. Then she followed Temari down the stairs. Good luck, Ino! Naruto called out in the background, putting a smile on her face. Temari, being as confident as she was in her fight against the Yamanaka, didn't even look over her shoulder, fully assured that her opponent was going to be no threat at all. She didn't notice the hand signs taking shape. Using her immaculate chakra control, Ino Yamanaka fired off her new favorite jutsu. It was the first ever one that she had created himself. Entering the arena, she found herself looking up and noticing that everyone was watching. Her whole family would be watching. I can't let Daddy and the rest of the clan down. In addition to seeing her family, she also saw Temari's family. I can use that. Begin, Ginma called out. With the match taking place, Ino sprinted, at a speed which had not been seen from the Yamanaka before. The use of chakra allowing her to develop her quickness far greater than what she would have been able to without chakra. Damn, she's moving as fast as Lee with his weights on. Temari thought to herself. The green kid was no doubt a prominent memory over the past month with how far he had managed to push Gaara. Jumping backwards, Temari pulled out her fan, right as Ino pulled out her tanto. Racing close, Ino prepared to swing her sword with her right hand. Temari, as she was about to swing her fan, unleashing a powerful wind ninjutsu, she saw the free hand of Ino going through hand seals. You can do one-handed ninjutsu! She screamed, alarmed. Just who is this girl? She was nothing a month ago. Nothing. Something like that. Still think this is going to be easy? Ino questioned with a smirk on her face. This bitch needs to be taken down a peg or two. No one says I'm easy. If you embarrass me, I'll kill you. The voice of Gaara rang through his older sister's head. Not ninjutsu but genjutsu. Quickly, Temari swiped her fan against her leg, corking it in the process but breaking the genjutsu. You bitch! You have no right to use Gaara against me! You don't know what we've been through! As she said this, a violent gust of wind shot out from the fan, terrorizing the arena. It caught Ino, who was so close, yet unable to deliver a blow with the blade. At the last minute, she tried to dodge but got hit in the stomach, pushing her back into a tree. There was a solid thud as smashed into the tree. Ouch. That hurt. I just need to wait a bit longer for my jutsu to take effect. Avoiding a direct confrontation, the pale blonde slipped into the trees, put her tanto back in its sheath and quickly went through some hand seals. Still reeling from being surprised so much with Ino having grown so much in the past month, and her leg reeling in pain from having to break from the genjutsu, she didn't notice the follow-up genjutsu. Demonic illusion, hell viewing technique. That's my girl! And Noichi proudly called out to both Shikaku and Choza in the audience, proud to have seen just how far his little girl had come in the space of a month. She's really come far. If she keeps showing more, she might even get promoted to Chunin. Choza replied whilst eating some popcorn. She's going to have to show more though if she wants to win this fight. Shikaku muttered, still bitter about the previous fight, watching his son give up so easily. He couldn't be too mad though as Shikamaru got the worst possible matchup. There's no other genin in Konoha that would be able to break out of the hold except for Naruto and the Kyuubi's chakra. Don't be so pessimistic, Shikaku, Inoichi said with pride still evident in his voice. There in front of her was a young Gaara, screaming out for support and assistance. No one was around him. Not even herself. She saw the raw pain and unbridled emotion in the eyes of her younger brother. She saw the desperate look for reassurance, and there was no one to support him. Not their mother, not their father, not even their uncle Yashimaru. Worst of all, either herself or Kankuro, those that loved him the most, were there. Instead, Gaara was left alone on the streets of the Sand Village, all by himself, lonely, lost and afraid. Get out of my fucking head, you bitch! Temari screamed, this time balancing her fan on the ground vertically and channeling chakra to break the genjutsu. Fueled with rage, Temari recovered her fan and let out her strongest jutsu. Wind release, sickle weasel jutsu. Ino jumped out of the way, yet remained hidden in the tree canopy foliage. She rushed around to the side closer to Temari and channeled some chakra, activating the jutsu she used on Temari before the match started. Mind-body memory feedback jutsu! Ino called out, and Temari waited with bated breath. Barely concealed anger came to the surface as she didn't feel anything happen. It's too quiet. What the hell did you do to me, you tree-hugging bitch? Temari shouted, firing off yet another one of her jutsu, destroying more of the arena. Smirking with pride, Ino sifted through the memories that came back to her. She was now finally being recognized as a serious ninja. It was her pride and joy, the mind-body memory feedback jutsu. She had spent weeks studying as much as she could about the human mind for an idea that came to her. What if she didn't need to control the enemy's body? What if she could merely get the memories of said person to make her genjutsu that much more effective? Glad I explored that thought. Going through yet more hand signs, although she was feeling the strain as a bead of sweat dripped down from her forehead, Ino channeled her strongest genjutsu. Genjutsu, memories of the mind. In front of Temari, she saw a scared Gaara, being stared down by Yashimaru, kunai in hand. No, this is what Gaara told me about. She's recreating information that she got from my brain. Temari saw red. Stabbing herself quickly with a kunai, she channeled even more chakra into her jutsu, and swung it at the remaining trees. Come out now, you fucking slut! Don't you dare show me my uncle trying to kill my younger brother! Ugh! Having barely dodged the attack, Ino shot forward with her chakra-enhanced speed. Drawing on her tanto, she raced forward and got inside the guard of Temari and slashed her sword. Doing her best to avoid the incoming attack, Temari swore internally as she realized that she was not as fast as Ino. Maneuvering her arm as best as she could, she avoided her vital organs being hit, but her arm copped the brunt of it, getting sliced swiftly, causing blood to come out immediately. Not stopping there, Ino sliced through the fabric of Temari's short leg dress just above the knee. Blood gushed out as Temari grunted in clear pain. Just one more. Ino mentally told herself, going for the hip. It got blocked with Temari put her fan into the ground, went to kick Ino in the face using her boot. By the skin of her teeth, the Yamanaka heiress ducked under the kick and cut the knee, going from the back of her leg, all the way up to her glute. Ah! Temari screamed out in pain, dropping down to the ground as blood started pouring out of the wound. This match is over! Genma shouted out, much to the enjoyment of the crowd who immediately started cheering. Medics! He immediately followed up with, as this girl needed help, fast. See that, Shikaku? And Noichi turned around to his best friend with a smug expression on his face. Does that count as doing more? All Shikaku could do was sigh at Inoichi's antics, however he was nonetheless proud of her hard work. If only Shikamaru would try. Meanwhile in another booth, Asuma couldn't be more shocked and proud. When Inoichi came to him and stated that he was going to be training Ino, he agreed, thinking that it was mostly going to be furthering their clan jutsu. Whilst that was true to an extent, this was nothing like what he had imagined. He had rebuilt Ino into a completely different ninja. She was now able to be a frontline fighter rather than a support ninja. As much as he knew it was necessary for this fight, he couldn't help but feel aggrieved that it would alter the dynamics of Team 10. She has really improved. Her genjutsu usage has been exemplary for her age, and how quickly she has had to learn them. Kurenai commented, and getting genjutsu praise from one as famed as Kurenai was no joke. Yeah, she has always had high potential. She has had very good chakra control. It's just that she has never had the desire to improve, rather chasing Sasuke all around the village. Asuma replied, thinking multiple things at once. Until now, Kurenai murmured, wondering what this meant going forward. I wonder how far she can take it. All Sakura could do beside the two Jonin ninjas was gape in silence at how far Ino had come. Has she really been this strong? No, that can't be it. Rising feelings of inadequacy crept up to the surface, confronted with yet another rival completely surpassing her, and leaving her in the dust. First Sasuke, then Naruto, and now Ino of all people. Wow, that was really impressive. You should be proud. Naruto called out as he watched Ino come up the stairs with pride evident on her face. It was one thing to hear about it in training, but it was another to see the fruits of her training in real life. She's so much stronger than before. I need to be wary of all that genjutsu. Thanks, Naruto, and damn straight I am, she mentioned, coming over to greet her fellow blonde with a hug. Seeing the interaction between Naruto and Ino, it lit a spark in the eyes of Gaara. More people to kill. With Sasuke Uchiha having not arrived, we will proceed with the matches in the top half of the second round first. Only when we have no more matches left remaining will we disqualify Sasuke Uchiha. The announcement broke the hug. Ino wasn't sure what to feel until she saw the look of disgust on the face of Naruto. Why does he always get the special treatment? Now that she was further removed from the Sasuke bubble and was also competing in the exams, Ino could empathize easily with the frustration coming from her fellow blonde. Before Naruto could start to complain even further, the next match was called. Naruto Uzumaki vs. Neji Hyuga. With frustration evident, Naruto jumped down and started walking down the sides of the arena wall. There was a tense silence in the stadium, as right now the crowd didn't know what to think about the new Uzumaki Naruto. This was an Uzumaki Naruto that defied all preconceived conceptions on how the blonde-haired boy used to behave. Originally they thought that the boy would struggle through trying to find a way to break through the defenses of the shadow-wielding ninja with the use of maybe one or two traps that he had gained unconventional experience using them through the pranks that he did on the village. In the end they thought that he would get caught in the shadow of the Nara clan heir, where he would force the demon container to give up. They certainly did not expect for Naruto to manage to beat the son of the Jonin commander of Konoha through the simple use of the Kyuubi's chakra. For those who had reservations about Naruto and were traumatized with what happened 12+ years ago, it made all those feelings of inadequacy and fear resurface with a vengeance. What was even more surprising was the fact that the boy didn't even have to show a single jutsu to suggest what he was capable of. It was clear to the shinobi in the audience that the boy that left the academy as the dead last had changed. The question was just by how much? Would it allow him to fight the Hyuga prodigy? It was even confronting to no longer see him wearing that infamous orange jumpsuit. It was the bane of many Chunin's existence when they had to chase him around the village and after one of his many pranks. Now they couldn't identify with the happy-go-lucky blonde, and it concerned them. What had caused him to change, and what was he changing into? These were the thoughts notably of Hiruzen Sarutobi, trying to piece together critical information. The worst part about all of this though for Jiraiya and Hiruzen was that with keen eyesight, they noticed emblazoned on the kimono top was the Snake Clan emblem. Just how far had they let this slip that Naruto was now affiliated with the Snake Clan? That surely meant he was getting this from Orochimaru, right? You are a failure. You are in the same team as the Rookie of the Year and the Kunoichi of the Year. That means that you were and still are the dead last of your class. It was only fate that you ended up battling Tenten, where your wind affinity completely outclassed her long-range weapons. Since I don't rely on the weapons as heavily as Tenten does, it will be me who will just prove the fact that whilst you got dealt a good hand by fate, your luck has run out, as you will lose against me. The prodigy of the Hyuga clan stated in an overconfident fashion that just oozed out of him. Is that it? Naruto questioned with a bored look on his face. Is that really it? The whole "you're going to lose to me and there's nothing you can do about it" spiel. If that's the best you can do, then we might as well get this match started. Affronted that Naruto gave him the same amount of attention that he normally gave to others, Neji was raring to go. Proctor, please start the match. Neji stated to Genma, who could only nod as if he was honest with himself. He thought that this fight that was going to take place right now was going to be the best fight of the tournament. Analyzing Neji as he tried to find any weaknesses in his ninja abilities, Naruto noticed that Neji was nowhere as calm and collected when people spoke to him about. There was an underlying stream of bitterness and anger to him. In preparation for what was about to come, Naruto did what any sane shinobi who didn't have great taijutsu that was going against a member of the Hyuga clan. He pulled his sword out. Neji stumbled for a second, surprised to see Naruto with a sword, but regained confidence, and then raced forward, confident in the ability of the gentle fist. Not to be outdone, Naruto started running at Neji as well. Naruto had his sword in his right hand behind his back as he tried to conceal which move he was going to make. With his free hand, Naruto slipped his fingers into the shuriken part of his weapon's pouch and pulled out a shuriken that was made from high-quality metal which allowed elemental chakra to be channeled into it. Despite the fact that Neji did not have his Byakugan activated right at the moment, he still had impeccable eyesight. Noting the intended trajectory path for the shuriken, he moved the smallest distance required to miss the incoming attack and still kept up the pace towards Naruto. What Neji did not expect, however, was for his opponent to be able to channel chakra into his weapons. It was something that only Chunin were supposed to do, and the initial estimation of Naruto the dead last was that he was worthless. This underestimation proved to be costly as Naruto's futon-enhanced shuriken landed a substantial cut on the left bicep of Neji. It was enough to make blood freely visible to people in the crowd as it dripped down the boy's arm. Realizing that he had underestimated the rookie genin who was running at him, Neji activated his Byakugan and quickly slipped into a taijutsu stance. This fight is going to take my full attention. To the trained eye of anyone ranked Jonin and above in the stadium, they noticed that Naruto was channeling wind-natured chakra into his weapon, surprising the lot of them as they thought that this was a skill which was far too advanced for someone like Naruto Uzumaki. They wondered just how many other skills that Naruto had that he hadn't yet shown and was saving for a later date. There's no way I can't dodge them. I can't even channel chakra into my arms to block like Gai-sensei said. Neji thought to himself, watching the thin white streams of chakra coming off of the blade. I need to end this sooner rather than later. Neji thought to himself as looked back down at bleeding from his arm. As much as he wanted to use straight taijutsu, Neji pulled out a kunai. He couldn't take the same luxuries that he did last time. Not wanting Neji the time to come up with any plan, Naruto continued on his assault using his sword and swung a horizontal strike aimed directly at the hips of Neji. Quickly calculating that he wouldn't be able to dodge it, the Hyuga prodigy used the kunai in his hand and blocked the swipe from Naruto. It did not last for long though, as Neji quickly realized that his weapon was not going to last long up against cutting power of Naruto's sword. He used the slowed momentum of the sword to jump back and try and find a way to disarm Naruto of his sword as it was becoming increasingly frustrating. Sprinting at Naruto at a pace that only Lee could keep up with, Neji threw the half of the kunai in his hand at the right thigh of Naruto as a distraction. It worked a charm for the Hyuga prodigy, who noticed that Naruto shifted to his left to dodge the attack. This was exactly what he was desired, and it allowed Neji a free shot on the exposed arm of Naruto which held his sword. Striking the arm with ease, collateral damage occurred when the falling blade still had remnants of chakra running through it. It clipped Neji's forearm on the way down to the ground. Fuck. Neji rarely ever swore, but the match was getting to him. How is this dead last winning? Desperation started creeping in Neji as he wished to win the whole tournament. He was going to need to conserve as much energy and chakra as possible. 2 strikes, 4 strikes, 8 strikes, 16 strikes. Just before Neji could hit the 32 strikes, Naruto managed to get off an instant replacement jutsu. This did not come without a price though, as Naruto was down on his haunches coughing up blood from the hit to his upper torso. His body felt like he had just been hit by a truck. Not wanting to use his trump card, Naruto sighed as he pulled deep into his chakra reserves and found the familiar red chakra and pulled enough of it out of his system to forcibly open up his tenketsus, as he had gotten some advice from the Snake Clan on battling a member of the Hyuga variety. To the sensor shinobi in the crowd, they were worried as there was yet another usage of the Kyuubi's chakra running through their Jinchuriki. Because Naruto was not using enough of the damn stuff to make it visible to the others, the lower-ranked shinobi and civilians in the crowd were unaffected by this change of events and went back to happily watching the fight between two highly talented genin. Deciding to take a different approach to trying to defeat his opponent, Naruto yelled out the name of a familiar jutsu to those that knew him. Shadow Clone Jutsu. With that, Naruto created 4 clones which set up a diamond formation around Neji whilst the original Naruto was busy trying to regain his breath from the assault that he had suffered from Neji. When these clones were in position, they each pulled out multiple shuriken from their pockets and imbued them with some wind element chakra, and once that was done, the doppelgangers of Naruto threw the kunai at Neji, forcing the boy into a tight position. That was not to say though that Neji didn't have an effective way of combating against the incoming attacks. Hyuga Clan Secret Jutsu, 8 trigrams revolving heaven. Neji yelled out, which surprised every ninja in the stadium that knew of how the branches inside the Hyuga clan worked. They never once suspected that someone from the lower half of the family would be able to use a move solely taught to the main branch. None more were surprised at this revelation though were main branch Hyugas in attendance, which included Hinata Hyuga, her younger sister Hanabi, but more importantly the head of the clan and Neiji's uncle, Hayashi Hyuga. He did not frown or anything when he found out this though. Instead he grinned as he realized that this fight was getting even more exciting. It meant that he was going to have to use even more of his skills to win the match. He managed to block the incoming kunai from Naruto, however it was enough time for the blonde to swivel over and grab his sword once more. Feeling the effects of fatigue slowly creeping up on him, Neji realized that he would have to pull out his other trump card if he wanted to end the match quickly. Once more, the crowd bore witness to both Naruto and Neji ran straight towards each other. A meter behind Naruto and to his right, there was a large tree branch that was out of place thanks to the wind element enhanced shuriken that he had thrown, which cut up part of the tree. All in all, the mind of Neji Hyuga raced through a plan, and just as he got within striking distance of Naruto's sword, Neji pulled off an incredibly quick hand seal sequence, and used one of the Academy's standard ninjutsus. Naruto didn't see Neji replacing himself with a tree. Thought he would consider himself above that. Using his impressive speed, which was able to rival Lee without his weights tied, Neji got in position with a direct line of sight to Naruto's kidneys and stated what would be the final jutsu. Hyuga Clan Secret Jutsu, 8 trigrams 64 palms. Neji shouted out with a hint of fatigue. Naruto's body position was compromised. He wasn't in a position to dodge or block the attacks. All 64 strikes connected. It hurt. It hurt a lot. This time when the sword dropped to the ground, Neji made sure to stay out of the way. The final strike to this impressive combination of blows to Naruto ended with a double-handed open palm thrust into the lower torso of Naruto, hitting where the pancreas and kidneys were. As usual, Neji was one to channel chakra into his strikes as he caused Naruto some serious pain. Because of the precise hitting on display from Neji, this was an action that caused the blonde-haired boy to start coughing up blood as he lied motionless on the ground. These were signs that Naruto was suffering from some internal bleeding right now and meant that he was essentially defeated. It was times like these that Neji truly believed that there was such a thing called fate, as it allowed him to become the best genin that Konoha had on its roster. I have hit 64 chakra points along your body. You can no longer stand. It's painful, isn't it? Stay on your knees, because before you is a power that you cannot change, and realize that a dead last loser like you is worthless. Having your dreams achieved through hard work and determination is an illusion. Fate is the only constant in life apart from death, and it has decided that you will lose your match right here. Quit continuing right here. I have nothing personal against you. It is just that I was fated to win the Chunin exams and you were in my path. Neji stated in his composed yet slightly arrogant tone of voice, which made Naruto angry, although that anger was not entirely centered on Neji. It was mostly self-inflicted anger, as he wished that he hadn't dropped his guard down to allow Neji that free shot which he surely took. If he hadn't have allowed Neji to take that hit, then he would have been able to continue on with this match, which he would have eventually won thanks to the fact that Neji was tiring whilst he was not, thanks to the QB sealed inside of him. If he was healthy, then he wouldn't have to listen to the ramblings, this fate-spouting nonsense. Despite the situation that he was in at the moment, Naruto was hoping that by possibly stalling for time during his fight with Neji, he might be able to find a way for him to regain some of his motor function which had been stripped away thanks to the strikes on his tenketsus. Why, if you're this strong, with eyes that can see everything, do you mentally attack everyone who tries hard to make their life better than their situation? Why do you put down people who have hope that their future can change into something better just because you yourself have lost hope that things can change? All it sounds like is that you have given up on life and are taking it out on others. What a sad life. Naruto questioned, and by the visible tick that was in the eye of the Hyuga prodigy, it seemed that the blonde-haired boy had definitely struck a nerve with that remark. With the closing of his eyes and the deactivation of his Byakugan, Neji held a smirk on his face as he felt kind of good that he got to badmouth the main branch of the Hyuga clan directly in front of Hayashi whilst there were tens of thousands of people in the stadium able to hear what he had to say. Alright, fine, if you're going to go that far, then I will tell you. The moment that this finished, Naruto slowly managed to get to his haunches, still trying to catch his breath. The Hyuga's destiny of hatred. Thus it was the start of the tale as to why Neji Hyuga believed in fate. Gasps were heard around the arena. Whilst a lot of shinobi may have known about the dirty laundry of the Hyuga clan, the civilians rarely did. Large-scale murmurs took place in the stands. Reputation was everything for the Hyuga clan, like most other clans. It was so hard to build and capable of being destroyed in seconds. It was right here in this moment that Hayashi, who was initially thinking about telling Neji the truth about the unfortunate events which led to his father's demise, chose to instead not tell Neji, and instead give him a rather stern talking to once this tournament was over. Unperturbed by these recent developments that were happening in the crowd, Neji continued on speaking. I don't know how much it hurt when your father was killed because I am an orphan, But thinking that destiny is all decided because of that is a huge mistake. As the words were coming out of his mouth, Naruto grew more and more confident. There was no way he was letting the day of his birth determine the rest of his life. He had put in too much effort and struggled through too much to come just this far. Angered by the fact that he felt that his opponent didn't know anything about pain and suffering, Neji charged at Naruto with the intent to end this match whilst in the process, severely injuring Naruto as well. As he was charging in, the black-haired boy had one thing to say to Naruto. You can never understand the pain of being branded with a symbol that you can never get rid of yourself. This was all going according to plan for the young prodigy of the Hyuga clan except for one thing. During the time of the speech, Naruto had stalled long enough for him to recover enough so that he could tap into. Unfortunately, Neji, I can. Naruto said with a sad expression on his face as the moment that he heard those words come from Neji, he had visions of his harsh childhood that he wouldn't want to wish on his worst enemy. Before Neji could land a strike on the boy who was still crouched down on one knee, Naruto's hands quickly placed themselves into the tiger hand seal as he started channeling the chakra of the fabled giant fox demon throughout his body, opening up all of the tenketsus that Neji had blocked off with his previous attack. The resulting explosion of the Kyuubi's chakra around Naruto was enough to send the Hyuga prodigy, who was only about 1.5 meters away from Naruto, back in the direction in which he came from without his consent. It even managed to give the boy a rather harsh burn on his leg from where the chakra of the Kyuubi directly touched his skin. Thanks to the chakra running through his body, Naruto was able to move at a speed which rivaled that of Neji and Lee when he had his weights taken off. The first thing that he did was that he ran over to where his sword was laying on the ground, and the moment that he grasped a hold of the weapon, it seemed to come to life as Naruto unconsciously channeled the Kyuubi's chakra into the weapon whilst also converting it into wind chakra. As Naruto's left hand picked up the sword, the boy known as Naruto Uzumaki used this time to pick out multiple shuriken with his right hand from his pocket and threw them at Neji. The moment that they were just about to leave Naruto's hand, the blonde-haired boy channeled the combined wind chakra from the Kyuubi inside them, which made them even more deadly. Thanks to the large amounts of chakra running through them, they were now able to easily slice through trees, and they even managed to cut through the stone, keeping the stand up. Well, a quarter of the way before the acidic chakra of the Kyuubi melted the shuriken, and they fizzled out into the nothing. Closing out the distance, Naruto targeted the right hamstring of the Hyuga. Since Naruto did not have a good control over the futon element, let alone when adding into the equation that he was using the Kyuubi's chakra to power this attack, the cut into the thigh muscle of Neji was jagged and rough, which definitely made the pain that the boy was going through all the more excruciating. Oh! Neji screamed out in pain, as what he was going through right now was easily the worst injury that he had sustained throughout his entire life as a ninja. The burning sensation which was coming from the wound was so painful. It was as if it was burning his leg from the inside out. That was not even counting in the fact that he had a bloody hole in his leg. Jumping back when he felt the familiar feeling of sword going through skin and muscle, Naruto knew that this match was over. Even if Neji was able to move, the boy wouldn't be able to move to standard, which would allow him to fight on even terms with a rejuvenated Naruto thanks to the Kyuubi's chakra. Proctor, I believe that this match is over. Once that was said, Naruto turned his attention to Neji, who was lying on the ground. I failed the graduation process a total of 3 times on my way to becoming a ninja, but you know what, the one thing that stuck with me through this whole time? It was my determination to make a change for the better. No matter what situation you are in, despite how impossible the task seems, you can always be 1% better tomorrow than you are today. That's what I tell myself, and I have gained more control over my life than I ever had before. Naruto firmly stated. As these words were coming out of the mouth of Naruto, the Hyuga prodigy had an epiphany in what he was supposed to do with his life. This was to do with right at the time this happened, there was a bird that flew over the head of Naruto, and it allowed Neji to see the error in his views. Still, there was a tournament going on, and there was a badly hurt competitor on the field, who, if not treated soon, could lose his limb. That was why Genma Shirani called an end to the match. Winner of this match is Uzumaki Naruto! The Senbon-sucking special jonin announced in a loud voice to the crowd, which was met with a dead silence. Of course they would never cheer me. I use too much of the Kyuubi's chakra. When will I get thanked for what I do? The moment that this happened, there was a member of the Anbu Black Ops wearing a cream cloak signifying that he was a captain, and came into the center of the arena and picked up Neji before anything else could happen. Chapter 11. As she was sitting with her teammates Shino Aburame and Kiba Inuzuka, Hinata admitted to herself that the Naruto she once knew and loved had definitely changed and did not look as if he was ever going to go back to the happy-go-lucky idiot that she loved and admired. This new Naruto was one that she didn't like that well, since he had caused serious harm to her cousin. He had stabbed Neji straight through the leg with his sword. This was definitely not the Naruto that she knew, The Naruto she knew would give Neji a few punches and then win through some unpredictable strategy. The raw brutality that was on show was not something that Hinata Hyuga was used to, as apart from the kidnapping incident. She had practically lived her whole life wrapped in bubble wrap to prevent any kind of damage to her, whether it be mentally or physically. Sure, Hayashi Hyuga could be very emotionless and cruel, but when it came to his daughters, there was not a more protective man who did what he felt best to prepare his girls for the future. This was the first time that the heiress to the Hyuga clan had seen blood on such a large scale, and it nearly made her physically ill. It was also shocking to Hinata that Naruto didn't seem anywhere near as concerned about this fact as she did. If Naruto wasn't horrified by this, then it meant that he had seen stuff like this before, and there was a high possibility that her beloved Naruto-kun had actually killed someone. Immediately, Hinata dismissed the thought of that because that was just something that the spiky-haired knucklehead ninja would not do, as he would always try and find a way to end things with a peaceful outcome. It was one of the things that she loved about him. The moment that this tournament was over, she was going to go to her sensei Kurenai and ask for some advice on what she should do about her crush on Naruto. The boy was changing too much far too quickly for her liking, and it was not the Naruto that she fell in love with. For Hiruzen Sarutobi, who was sitting in arguably one of the best vantage points in the whole stadium to watch Naruto versus Neji, things weren't looking good for the professor of Konoha, as he was almost about to have a heart attack, as it was if he was watching a younger Orochimaru fight in the body of Naruto. Naruto was carrying himself in the exact same way that Orochimaru did. He used the same sword movements, the same clothing that he wore as a teenager, and the scary part was that Orochimaru and both Naruto had the same elemental affinity. How had he failed to not notice all of the similarities between Orochimaru and Naruto? He had been blinded by the fact that Naruto was such an overly happy person in life that he forgot about trauma Naruto could be carrying based on his childhood. It looked as if that Naruto had already been converted into a believer of his former student, and that was just not acceptable. This was because there was no chance in hell that Anko would ever bother to teach somebody what she learned under her sensei through the apprenticeship. The only other logical explanation was that Orochimaru had someone inside of the village that befriended Naruto and offered to give him shinobi training when no one else would, as that was one thing that the boy desperately wanted more than anything else. No doubt during these training sessions this person taught Naruto how to use the Hibi Kenjutsu style. To Hiruzen this was just unacceptable, as Naruto was Konoha's greatest asset if the village ever went to war, as he had the potential to be the strongest shinobi in the world thanks to the Kyuubi. If Naruto could control it to the same level in which the younger brother of the current Raikage, then he would instantly become the strongest shinobi that Konoha had at its disposal. Though the worst thing about this situation was not the fact that Orochimaru had gotten his fangs into Naruto, it was the fact that Hiruzen had allowed for Naruto to become that easily manipulable. Konoha had failed Naruto. There were many people who could have put more effort in, and yet, using a multitude of excuses, they didn't. It filled the aging man with a deep sense of regret and self-loathing, as he knew that there was a whole lot more that he could have done to prevent this situation. I did the bare minimum under the guise of being the Hokage. As these thoughts were running through the mind of Hiruzen Sarutobi, the person who was sitting right beside of him, who was impersonating the Kazekage, had a completely different set of thoughts running through his mind. How does that Kyubigaki know my Kenjutsu style? I made sure not to teach it to Anko. This is something that I certainly have not taught anyone, not even Kabuto, so that must mean that there is only one available conclusion. That is that the Hibi clan must have taught him. This was something that Orochimaru was highly concerned about, as it meant that they had found a successor to him. He knew that he had always been treading on this ice ever since he started conducting his experiments on humans. They had told him that they wouldn't support him if anyone found out about it. From there on, the relationship between himself and the clan that had trained him in how to use Kenjutsu was slowly drifting apart, as he was becoming more and more determined to unlock the secrets of immortality. To anyone else looking on, this was descent of Orochimaru into madness. Then it came to the point where Orochimaru decided that what he needed was to have the same powers of the Sharingan, so that he could copy every single jutsu to help him in his quest for immortality, and knowing every single jutsu. All in all, what this boiled down to was that the snake Sannin had come to the conclusion that they had chosen the boy who had the nine-tailed fox sealed inside of him as the one who would succeed him. It came without a shadow of a doubt in the mind of Orochimaru that there would come a time where they would order dear little Naruto to come and kill him so that they could get their hands back in the possession of the legendary Kusanagi blade. With that in mind, Orochimaru had to go over and revise the plans of the invasion inside of his mind, because he knew that to kill the Gaki, he would have to deal a lot of damage thanks to the Kyuubi sealed inside of him, as he knew a lot about the regenerative powers after having discreetly studied the previous Jinchuriki. New plan: make sure the Uzumaki dies. Orochimaru signaled to his team. Having just arrived for the tail end of the fight, Sasuke was blessed with the privilege of seeing Naruto use the red chakra. He knew it had a name, he just didn't know what it was. What he was able to see though was the fact that Naruto himself had some hidden power that made him special. Not as special as himself now that he had the power which Orochimaru gave him. To think that the kid who graduated with the lowest marks in recent history was able to improve this much in such a short amount of time, well, it both scared and motivated Sasuke to train that much harder so that the gap at least stayed the same. If it kept closing, how was he ever going to be able to go up against his brother? This was a question that put a lot of doubts inside the mind of Sasuke, as Naruto was his testing block, and if it was taking him longer and longer to defeat Naruto, then he wasn't improving as fast as he could be. If that was the case, then there had to be something for the Uchiha boy that he could in which he would get much stronger quicker. It was times like these that offer from Orochimaru to get proper training from one of the Densetsu no Sannin didn't sound that bad at all. He was an S-ranked shinobi on the same level of his brother. If there was someone who could train him better, then he did not know that they even existed. The walk up the stairs to the competitor's arena was one that allowed the blonde Uzumaki time to reflect back on all of the changes that he had made to himself in the past 6 months from his graduation of the Konoha Academy into a fully fledged shinobi. Paramount to his thoughts was that he could see the fear in their eyes. Regardless of if he was using the chakra to fight for them, all they associated was the fox's chakra. Had he been his old self, he was sure he would have either gotten boos or cheers. The fact that he got silence was even worse. Taking a look up into the competitor's box, Naruto saw a slightly insane look on the face of the only other Jinchuriki in the nearby vicinity. It was at that instant that Naruto knew that what happened to Rock Lee was only a small taste of what was to come for Sasuke. Oh well, that's not my problem. Sasuke's attitude needs a serious kick in the nuts. On his way up the stairs he noticed that there was 2 people in front of him with their backs turned against him, wondering what the hell this was all about, as there was a rule that only shinobi competing were allowed in the halls. Naruto waited by to see what their motive was. "Stop!" they shouted in unison, although Naruto knew that they did not know he was there, as their attention was on someone else, just the way Naruto liked it, as he liked it when people underestimated him just so that he could prove them wrong. These low-level tournament fights such as this, the Chunin exams, are great for the rich people to bet on, and that is why many of the ministers are here, to win some money. That is why you have to lose this fight you're just about to enter. At the end of their speech, Naruto instantly deduced that whoever they were talking to was either Gaara or Sasuke, although he assumed it was Gaara, as Sasuke would rather go for the flashy entrance rather than the sedated one which the Jinchuriki of the Ichibi no Shikaku chose. Not even bothering to reply to their question, the cork on top of Gaara's gourd burst open and hit the face of the unsuspecting Chunin, who was overconfident that he and his friend would be able to stop Gaara from entering the fight. This didn't even bother the son of the current Kazekage at all, as sand started flowing outside of his gourd at a fast rate, rushing towards the 2 Kyuzugaku ninjas. They could not do anything because Gaara was getting more and more irritable. The amount of demonic chakra running through his pathways was getting larger and larger as time went by, allowing the boy to have greater control over the sand surrounding him. Horrific screams was what Naruto heard next as the sand encased the 2 Chunin ninjas, who had no time to escape given where they were situated. What this meant was that Naruto had front row seats to watch Sasuke's opponent murder the 2 ninjas in cold blood, as blood went flying around as if it was water underneath a ninja with a water affinity testing out jutsus. Admittedly, after that brutal display in front of him, Naruto was a bit unnerved, even though his beginner lessons in controlling his facial expressions from the Snake Clan allowed for him to mask this emotion. Gaining reassurance that whatever happened, the demon sealed inside of his stomach would be able to help him out, Naruto walked forward towards Gaara. This was done with his body tensed as he prepared himself for a possible confrontation with Gaara. As he was walking closer to Gaara, Naruto could feel the effects of the Kyuubi's chakra trying to make its way to the surface and forcibly enter itself into the boy's chakra pathways, as it wanted to fight the Shikaku right there and then. The moment that they met each other side by side, Gaara uttered some whispered words that only Naruto could have heard, even if there were other people around to listen in to their conversation. "After I have killed your teammate, I will kill you next, as mother is calling out for your blood, Uzumaki Naruto." Not being one to be intimidated, as he clearly remembered from Manda that the mental side of being a shinobi was just as important as the physical side or the chakra side of it. "Go ahead and try. You won't like what happens." Not even bothering to stop and confront Gaara, Naruto continued on walking as he went to the stands where he could meet his sensei and tell him about the impending annihilation which was about to come. As Naruto was taking his time walking up the stairs to where his sensei and teammate were, the blonde-haired boy heard the crowd go wild, which Naruto deduced as them not wasting any time at all when it came to getting the match between 2 genin who had a lot of potential. From what he could hear, it was fairly clear to Naruto that Sasuke was the shinobi who had the upper hand right at that moment. What did surprise Naruto though was that his sensei was not the only sensei standing with some of his genin comrades. There was the sensei of his most recent enemy, Might Guy. The thing that made Naruto smirk and let out a small chuckle though was the fact that Guy was not wearing his trademark green shinobi spandex suit. This filled Naruto with pride as he remembered the bet that his sensei had with the guy where Kakashi had a lot of pride in his skills as a shinobi. This was what reminded Naruto of the fact that since he won the bet, his sensei promised him that he could allow Naruto more chances to see Karen once again. Instead of the green spandex which constantly made women make judgments concerning the sexuality of the elite jonin, Guy was now wearing only his chunin flak jacket which was not zipped up. All those girls are looking at him. I want muscles like that. There was a spot inside of Naruto that didn't want to see Sasuke get so seriously damaged, mainly because of the fact that the boy had lived an incredibly hard life already through the death of his parents at the hands of his brother. If something like what happened to Lee happened to Sasuke, the last Uchiha would probably just become a walking husk of a person. If you want Sasuke to have to live, then you are going to have to end this match right now, Kakashi-sensei, the blonde-haired boy stated as he made his presence known. To say the least, Rock Lee did not know what to think, as he knew the person who he had been striving so hard to beat for as long as he had been in the academy had been beaten by someone else. It was a severe blow to the boy's pride. As far as Lee was concerned, Neji was the measuring stick. Was it now Naruto? Kakashi-sensei, if you want Sasuke to reach his 14th birthday, then you will want to end this match right now, Naruto stated to his sensei, who was surprised that Naruto was here. Admittedly, he thought that Naruto would be recovering from his fight with the Hyuga prodigy. Naruto-kun, it seems that whatever it was that you did during the 1 month certainly paid off, as you have definitely improved as a shinobi. I am sure that since you improved so much in such a short space of time, then you must be easily able to realize that other people could improve just as much, just as quickly. Just keep watching and you will find out why we were so late, Kakashi stated with a lot of confidence and pride in his teaching ability, as the amount of improvement that Sasuke had done was outstanding for a genin. This was a statement that made the blonde-haired boy scoff, because he knew that no matter how much his former teammate had improved, Naruto knew that Sasuke would not be able to defeat Gaara. That was why Naruto let out a small scoff. The memories of Kakashi telling him that he had to train Sasuke and that he would leave a teacher behind for Naruto was fresh in his mind. If there was one thing that Naruto Uzumaki did well, it was hold a grudge. Unfortunately for Naruto, he did not know that Kakashi had near impeccable hearing what his blonde-haired student. What was that, Naruto? Kakashi stated with a questioning eyebrow directed at Naruto, as he was now not staring at his Aika book in his hand. Gaara's different from every other person here, he stated with full confidence. Taking offense and full of confidence in Sasuke, Sakura spoke up. While Gaara is strong, so is Sasuke. There is no way he is going to lose to that sand freak, so sit down and watch, dumbass. The moment that Kakashi had heard the statement from Sakura, he immediately came to the conclusion that Team 7 was never meant to be a cohesive unit for the village of Konoha. Despite first glances at Team 7, which heavily linked them with the team that the Yondaime Hokage taught along with the team that turned into the Densetsu no Sannin, there was a difference between the two. That was the fact that the dead last was actually catching up to the kid who had been hailed as a prodigy so fast that it drove the team dynamics apart. This was in conjunction with the fact that the knucklehead was not afraid to voice his opinion, and since he was getting stronger really fast, they had to value his opinion. Not really knowing how exactly the blonde-haired son of his sensei would handle that comment, as it was one that affected Naruto much more than what it would had it been directed at someone else, Kakashi hoped nothing bad happened. He was wrong though. Why should Sasuke forfeit, Naruto? Kakashi questioned, indulging his student. Because Gaara has had a really tough childhood. Similar to mine, Naruto mentioned, hoping that Kakashi would get the message without having to disclose just how similar he and Gaara were. Flashing images from textbooks came through his mind regarding the Sand Village. That was that the Ichibi no Shikaku had implanted the ability to control sand bestowed upon his Jinchuriki so that it could protect itself from any danger. The comparison to these abilities was uncanny with what the boy fighting Sasuke had to offer, and it made Kakashi realize that Gaara was a Jinchuriki. This startling realization was one that the silver-haired man did not like at all. He certainly did not want Sasuke to suffer the same fate as Rock Lee, as he knew that the end result would be even more disastrous. At least Mini Guy had his naive optimism and exuberance to keep him going through this tough ordeal. If Sasuke was in the same situation, after having suffered everything at the hands of his elder brother, well, here was a very high chance that Sasuke might kill himself. It was at this point where Ino Yamanaka came up to the group. What's going on? She questioned. A frown was evident on her face due to her previous match against Kankuro ending prematurely. He forfeited. Ino looked over at Sakura, noting that she still seemed as invested in Sasuke as ever without paying any attention to Naruto. What's that move that Sasuke-kun is using? You can even see the raw chakra coming off of his hand. Hearing Guy explain how the Chidori was the only ever technique Kakashi had made himself, despite having over 1,000 jutsus in his arsenal, annoyed Naruto. I guess Sasuke really is his favorite. Inside the sphere of sand, Gaara felt a warm sensation running down his left shoulder. This was a feeling that he did not like at all. That was why he asked the only source of information that did not lie to him about what it was. What's this warm stuff? Oh. Blood! My blood! Gaara shouted out as he had never had felt the feeling of being in pain before. The sight of his own blood only compounded onto the emotional stress that he was going through right at that very moment. For Sasuke, who still had his hand in the sphere, he felt something pulling on his arm and he had no idea what it was. Knowing that it was better to be safe rather than sorry, he pulled his arm out. What he did not expect though was for there to be something on the inside that gave a resistance in trying to rip his arm clean off his shoulder. Recharging the jutsu that had inflicted so much pain onto Gaara, Sasuke dealt even more damage as the hand was still lodged into the pectoral muscle of Gaara as he channeled the lightning chakra through it. As he was pulling his arm out, he did not expect to drag something else along with it. That was one of the arms of the Ichibi no Shikaku, although Sasuke had no idea what the hell it was. As this was happening, Guy and Kakashi had their hearts in their mouths as they wished that it was not the transformation into the Ichibi right in the middle of the stadium, although they did not have high hopes. Thankfully though, the injury that Gaara had sustained at the hands of the Sharingan user was enough to make it so that the incomplete transformation was cancelled. It was right at this time though that there were feathers falling in front of everyone who was in the arena. This was targeted at all the civilians so that they did not interfere with the intricate plan that Kabuto and Orochimaru had set out to complete. Guy and Kakashi were easily able to detect the presence of the genjutsu, and subsequently released it from their personage. What was surprising though to Kakashi though was that Naruto was just as ready and was already in the process of removing the genjutsu from himself. Thanks Ino, I owe you. The moment that this happened, there was a massive explosion on the outskirts of the village wall. It was the signal to the fact that the invasion of Konoha by Tsunagekure and Otogekure had just begun. It was a place where heroes would be made and where heroes would die. The sounds of explosions that were going off in the background were ones that Naruto was not used to hearing, although going by the looks on the faces of Kakashi-sensei and Guy-senpai, it was clear to him that they knew exactly what was going on at the moment. As this was happening, Kakashi and Guy were fixated on the fact that it seemed that Orochimaru was the linchpin of this coordinated assault on their village, as they could see him holding the third Hokage hostage. Unfortunately for them, they did forget that there were enemy shinobi right in front of him who wanted to take out as many people who lived inside the walls of Konohagakure. The first two Otogekure shinobi who lunged at Lee, after having decided that he was a target, had the same metal gauntlets which Dosu from the preliminary finals. Because Otogekure had nowhere near the same depth in their military force as to what Konoha had, the men sent out to destroy the civilian population at the Chunin exams weren't high-class shinobi. If they were in a village like Kirigakure or Iwagakure, then they would have received the rank of Chunin. Rushing forward, Naruto had the full intent of saving Lee. His outstretched hand holding the Chikudo sliced right through the ribcage of the sound ninja. It was then that a gut feeling entered Naruto. His instincts told him to move to the side, not taking anything for granted now that Konoha was in a state of war with Otogekure as well as Tsunagekure. Naruto also brought his blade up to block the incoming attack. Lee, using his free leg and without weights, used his impressive speed to slam his heel into the kneecap of the incoming sound ninja. With the noises it was making, it was clear that knees weren't meant to bend that way. Taking advantage of the situation put in front of him, Naruto continued swinging his sword in the direction of his enemy. Thanks to his sword being incredibly lightweight though, it meant that Naruto could change the angle in which the blade would hit the man with just a few finger movements. With a reverse slice enhanced by the wind chakra running through the blade, the blonde-haired boy made full use of the Chikudo's slicing design as his blade went through the stomach of the man. When it hit the spinal column though, the blade stopped as there was not enough force behind the blade to propel it through the other side of the man's stomach. This did not concern the Kyuubi's Jinchuriki though, as he knew that the damage had been done and that the sound shinobi would not be waking up ever again. Pulling the blade out of the enemy, it was to no surprise that the normally silver blade had now essentially turned to a crimson-red color. As this was happening, both Kakashi and Guy were fighting off their own opponents with ease as they watched the tag team duo of Naruto and Rock Lee with pride. To see their two students display the will to work with one another was a nice moment. The only thing that they wished for was for their other respective male students to be willing to work with other shinobi. Had Naruto and Lee been in true danger, both Kakashi and Guy would have gone to help their students. When they saw that they both managed to handle the problem aptly, they turned their attention back to the sound ninja in front of them. Whilst they did not particularly like the way that Naruto had finished the fights, they could not deny that it was an efficient way of handling the situation. Now, Naruto, you are going to have to listen up carefully. This is the first time in your career as a ninja that you are going to have an A-ranked mission, the silver-haired man stated as he helped the boy up, whilst watching out for anyone else trying to attack him. Thanks to Guy who was covering for the three of them, they needn't worry. The immediate response for Naruto was to go wide-eyed as he struggled to process the information inside of his brain. Genin were never sent on A-ranked missions. So why was it that he was being assigned one? It just didn't make any sense. The other thing running through his mind was what consisted of an A-ranked mission? How big was the chance that he was going to get seriously injured doing so? The probable thought was that he was definitely going to get injured in some manner. In the end, though, this did not matter as the village was in a pinch and he had an able body. As long as the people that he cared about were safe, then he would go to the ends of the earth to make sure that they did not have to see violence. The last part was primarily directed at a certain red-haired girl for some reason, even though he had no idea why. The first thing that I need you to do, Naruto, is to make a clone and have that clone take Lee here over to the hospital as he is injured. This certainly did not seem like an A-ranked mission in the mind of Naruto. The blonde-haired boy, though, had the common sense not to state the obvious in a situation like this. It was obvious that there was at least another part to the mission. There was even a possibility that there was a third or fourth part to the mission. Whatever it was, he was going to try and complete it to his utmost best. The real part of the mission is this: Sasuke has just gone in pursuit of Gaara and the two other Tsunagakure genin. Naruto, you are to track down where Sasuke is. From there you are to provide support, and if need be retreat to a safer position. Knowing Sasuke's personality, this will be hard, but I have faith in you. At this point, Kakashi brought the kunai in his hand to his finger so that he could get enough blood, which was required when using a summoning contract. I am concerned that Sasuke has bitten off more than he can chew. I am sure you know what I am talking about, don't you, Naruto? Kakashi continued on from where he left off. This was indeed something that Naruto was aware of because out of his age group, Naruto believed that he was the only one capable of defeating in a no-holds-barred match between the two. The blonde-haired boy was about to ask whether or not he should wake the others up. It was then that Naruto realized that Kakashi had asked for him to do this solely for a reason. Nodding at what his sensei had just said, Naruto went through the hand seals and made 5 clones of himself in the shadow variety. As Naruto was going through hand seals, Kakashi himself was going through his own, and at the end of it, he planted his blood-smeared hand on the ground. Summoning arts, summoning jutsu. Despite knowing what said jutsu did, Naruto did not have a wide-eyed expression on his face for nothing. The thing that he was wondering about was which clan did his sensei have a summoning contract with. In the end, though, Naruto did not have to wait long as he found out that Kakashi-sensei had a summoning contract with the Dog clan. This guy, Pakin here, will be able to track down Sasuke via the scent that he produces, Kakashi stated. As he was doing this, the silver-haired Jonin was indirectly giving the brown-haired dog the mission. This subsequently achieved a nod from Pakin. Just before anything could happen, though, in terms of getting on with the mission, there was a man in racing up behind Kakashi with the intent to kill the Sharingan warrior. Before he could warn his sensei about the impending danger, there was an insanely fast green blur that not even Naruto could track as he watched it decimate the Hokage ninja attacking Kakashi from behind. Only was it a second later that Naruto discovered that said green blur was his sensei's eternal rival Might Guy. With the force that only Guy could create without the use of chakra, the elite Jonin punched hard enough so that the sound ninja went directly through the stadium's outer wall, giving Naruto, Lee and Pakin a path out. The first to go were the 5 Narutos and the injured Lee. The moment that had happened, the real Naruto sent a look to the dog beside him. Nodding at the questioning look that the blonde-haired boy had sent him, Pakin jumped out the hole. This was an action which was quickly followed by Naruto. Come on, Ino! Naruto called out right as he was leaving. The blonde-haired girl didn't waste any time in joining Naruto on this mission. Kakashi didn't have the time to reply, and all it left was Sakura standing around holding a kunai, wishing it was her that went with Naruto. Running on to the scene where Gaara was fighting his teammate Sasuke, Naruto noticed that he was on a tree branch face first into the ground. The same could not be said about Gaara, though, as he was in the process of getting up from whatever attack that Sasuke had used on him. Seeing the impending danger that Sasuke was in as Gaara was launching himself at the Uchiha clan heir, Naruto sprinted as fast as he could so that he could deflect the incoming blow. Using a makeshift shoulder charge as his weapon, Naruto hit the Tsunagakure ninja with enough force to make him have to take an unintentional detour. Using the time that this maneuver had provided, Naruto checked on Sasuke and realized that he had severe chakra exhaustion. The blonde-haired boy guessed that this was from using the lightning move that Kakashi had taught him recently too much. From the looks of it, Sasuke would only be a hindrance from now on, as he could not provide any help. This coincided perfectly with his mission to retrieve Sasuke Uchiha and retreat to a safer distance. As he did with Lee, Naruto created clones to take the struggling to stay conscious Sasuke back to the Konohagakure hospital. The moment that he turned around, Naruto was greeted with a snarling Sabaka no Gaara. Not liking the fact that his prey had been taken away from him just before he was about to finish him off, it was safe to say that the red-haired boy was not a happy camper. Not wanting for this prey to escape him like the last one did during the preliminaries, Gaara made a dash to the Naruto clones. Going through hand seals as quick as he could, Naruto let off a powerful wind ninjutsu in the hopes of preventing Gaara to get his hands on Sasuke Uchiha. It would definitely be a shame if Konoha lost its most precious bloodline today. Wind release, great breakthrough. Excessive winds came into contact with Gaara and there was damage. Snapping a tree trunk as he careened into it with a lot of force was just the beginning of the fight between Naruto and Gaara. I need to fight this alone. This a fight between two Jinchurikis, make sure that no one else gets near us. As much as she hated the idea of Naruto fighting alone, she chose to respect his decision. This is more than just a fight. I am sure Naruto is trying to prove something to himself. In his haze-clouded mind, the Sand Ninja eventually realized that for him to be able to kill Sasuke, he was going to have to go through Naruto first. It was obvious that there was no other way. That was just fine in the mind of the red-headed boy. On his list of people to kill, right behind Sasuke Uchiha was Naruto Uzumaki because of that all-too-familiar chakra. Thanks to the time that he had created for himself, Naruto pulled out his sword and prepared for what was about to come. If he could weather the initial onslaught of Gaara in his Jinchuriki form, then Naruto was confident in that he could slowly start to turn the favor with him coming out on top. With the thrill of an upcoming fight with Naruto Uzumaki, Gaara was psyching himself up. Not that he really needed it though, as he was someone who was always looking forward to fighting quality opponents. "Show me that chakra from the exams!" Gaara manically shouted from across the forest. Because of his unstable mind and the type of personality that the Shikaku had, Gaara increased the amount of Shikaku's chakra running through his body. This caused the redhead to go mini Ichibi mode, tail and all. Not even using any hand seals, the red-headed boy initiated the start to the fight by launching a jutsu at Naruto. Sand release, sand shuriken. Concentrating the sand on his arm heavily, Gaara flung his arm, resulting in the sand shuriken to fly off. And he did just that as he flung about 10 to 15 hardened clumps of sand at the enemy. Doing the best as he could, Naruto jumped down to the ground but not before copping one of the shuriken in his left shoulder. Whilst he could still use his sword, being right-handed, pain didn't care where you got hit. It was at this point that Naruto cursed, having not put as much effort into learning defensive jutsus, rather than offensive. Normally, when he fought, Gaara had the shield of Shikaku to rely on for assistance. This time round though, he had to rely on just himself. When a clone of Naruto came up in front of him, then he thought it was the real Naruto. Hence, when he phased right through the clone, Gaara realized that it was just a normal clone, not even a shadow clone. It was a testament to his training over the past 6 months that he was able to create a normal clone. Feels like I finally graduated since learning the clone. Another clone, this time shadow clone, popped out of the bushes and jammed a kunai, tag hanging off of it, right into the chest of Gaara. It did no damage due to the sand armor, and that was okay. The resulting explosion, however, did a lot of damage. It dispelled the clone of Naruto and in the process, softened up the underbelly of Gaara's armor. Knowing that he had a weakness exposed, Gaara made a move to cover his sensitive stomach. Only hearing the noise slightly too late, Naruto jumped up in the air, alongside one of his clones, both of them channeling the same jutsu. Wind release, drilling air bullet jutsu. Gaara did not hear the call out until it was far too late for him to get moving and dodge the incoming attack. Smoke and dust littered the area from the previous explosion, and the blonde was using it to his full advantage. Howling ensued as the pressurized bullet of air took away all sand around the neck of Gaara, although did no damage to his skin. The combination of the whisperings from the Ichibi and the attack from Naruto made Gaara's head hurt really badly. This was just what the blonde-haired boy was counting on as the real Naruto finally made his move. Having come to the conclusion of where the only weak spot on Gaara's new form was thanks to the lack of sand, the snake summoner made the most of the opportunity in front of him. Jumping up from the shrub from which he had situated himself in, Naruto lunged at the back of Gaara whilst taking his sword out of its sheath. Using the sword for the specific reason it was made, which was to slice rather than jab, Naruto prepared the blade for what he was about to do next. That was to cut the Achilles heels of his Sunigekure opponent. What this would do was that it would severely decrease the amount of mobility that Gaara had. He did just that as he sliced through the tendons of Gaara, effectively reducing him to that of a cripple in terms of movement. What the opportunistic genin had spotted was that the weakest point in Gaara's newest form was that there was little to no sand covering the lower half of his body. Oh! The red-headed boy screamed out in pain as he had never felt this before. Blood was one thing, but having your Achilles sliced clean with wind chakra, that was another thing altogether. Collapsing onto his knees, Gaara clutched at his ankles as he didn't know what else to do in terms of defeating this Naruto Uzumaki. Mother! Never before had the red-haired boy needed to fight, to give it his all. This can't be good, Naruto murmured to himself. Whilst he may not have been a censor, he could see the literal yellow chakra coming from Gaara. That has to be his demon's chakra. Wind release, infinite sand cloud great breakthrough. After inhaling a considerable amount of air, Gaara unleashed the jutsu to its full potential. The coarse sand was sprayed all over the nearby vicinity. Nearby trees were dealt the full brunt of it, getting upended and practically disintegrated due to the sand. Even if he saw it coming, there was little that the Konoha genin could do to prevent any damage from this attack. As much as he could, Naruto brought up his arms in a cross shape to block the incoming damage from affecting his vitals. The stinging sensation of having your skin grated down a couple of layers was new to one Uzumaki Naruto. Ugh! Naruto grunted, clearly in pain. Adrenaline was through the roof and pain was at an all-time high. Ah! Naruto heard the familiar cry of his friend Ino. She must have gotten caught up in that jutsu as well. I need to end this before her and anyone else suffers more damage. Once the dust storm had subsided a substantial amount, Naruto removed his forearms to see if anything had changed. Something certainly had changed for the blonde-haired boy. For instance, last time, he distinctively remembered there not being a 25-meter-tall sand monster in front of him. Reacting quickly to the situation in front of him, Naruto jumped back in succession so that he could have a chance to think things through before going up against that behemoth in front of him. I guess this means that I will have to use my trump card if I want to get out of this situation alive. Initially, this was something that Naruto did not want to have to resort to, but beggars couldn't be choosers. The fact that if people saw what he was about to do, all of the recent hard work that he had placed in trying to gain their positive attention would be for naught. With an audible sigh permeating the air, Naruto closed his eyes and felt for a familiar chakra source deep inside of his veins. Bringing the orange/red/crimson chakra to the surface, the blonde-haired boy felt an influx of power that only the Kyuubi could provide. Luckily Naruto did this, or otherwise he would not have had the speed to dodge the incoming attack of Gaara, who was in full Shikaku mode at that moment. The change was evident to Temari, who was the only person in the nearby area, as she noticed that the hair of Naruto seemed to get a bit wilder, the whisker marks that were situated on top of his cheeks were more pronounced, and his teeth seemed to have grown. The biggest change in her eyes, though, was that Naruto's eyes had taken a drastic turn. Instead of the blue, which had tiny black circular pupils, they had now changed into those of a crimson-red color. His irises had changed from their circular form into a slit running vertically. Ino and Temari had stopped their fight, and Temari was hobbling on her good leg, resting up against the tree. He must be a Jinchuriki too. There is no way that's a normal genin. So this is the Kyuubi that Naruto was telling me about. She could see the skin on his arms healing itself awfully quickly, however she could also see the grimacing on his face. That healing can't come free. A clear and evident worried expression filtered across her face. Whilst he knew that it was very easy for him to dodge the incoming attacks at the moment, the Ichibi-infused Gaara would eventually start upping the ante. What this would do was that it would put Konoha, which was behind him, into danger. I need to be in control of this fight. I can't have Gaara dictating the tempo of the match. Naruto had to go on the offensive, tapping even more into the large chakra source situated in his stomach. Despite not having full control over the form, Naruto didn't really have many other options. A tail of raw chakra started to form at the base of Naruto's spine. Watching on, with the Hokage monument in the background from where they were standing, the Yamanaka heiress bore witness to her blonde counterpart staring down a tailed demon. It reminded her of all those stories where the fourth stood between the nine-tailed fox and Konoha. You know, now that I think about it, Naruto looks like the spitting image of the Yondaime Hokage. Nah. Surely. Hang on. Hold the fuck up. Looking back once more between the two, she remembered how Naruto mentioned that he was told his parents died on his birthday. That he had no idea why he had the fox sealed inside him. There's so much more to this. I'm going to need to do some research when all this is over. Wanting to prevent the Ichibi-infused Gaara from going on a rampage, Naruto knew that he had to go on the offensive and deal some damage to Gaara. Jumping onto the highest tree around, Naruto shouted out the name of his next attack. This coincided with him going through the hand seals required to make the attack work. Wind release, pressure damage! Creating a large gust of wind was not an easy feat. In fact, Naruto would not have been able to make it potent enough to face Shikaku without having the Kyuubi's chakra behind it. Since Naruto had not yet refined the jutsu properly concerning his wind chakra, the jutsu was, by a technicality, ranked as a B-ranked jutsu. That was not to say though that with the help of the Kyuubi backing the attack, Naruto easily increased it to that of an A-ranked wind ninjutsu. When the attack collided with the giant structure made out of sand, shit went down. Taking the hit because there was no way in hell that he was going to be able to move the whole body quick enough to dodge the attack, Gaara prepared himself as best as he could. This was via sinking back into the sand so that his upper torso was not in the air. Rough cuts went along the sand trying to make a passage and they halfway succeeded. Naruto's jutsu had even managed to destroy one of the arms of the Ichibi. Shattering a whole entire arm of a Bijuu was definitely not an easy feat that anyone could brag about. Surprised at how much damage his jutsu could do, holy fuck. Didn't expect it to be so good. Similar yet different thoughts were going through the mind of Gaara Sabaka as he wondered what the fuck would he have to do so that he could defeat Naruto. Anything that he threw at the blonde-haired boy was thrown back with double the force. Granted yet that he had not used any of his jutsus whilst in full Shikaku mode, but never had he faced such an annoying opponent like Naruto before. As these thoughts were running through the mind of the red-haired ninja of Sunagakure, he was channeling his chakra into where the amputation of the arm had occurred. Thanks to all of the sand that was around him, it did not take much chakra at all for Gaara to recreate an entire limb that was solely made out of sand. Watching this occur, Naruto had one thought running through his mind. Oh, for fuck's sake! He can grow limbs back in that form. These were the raging thoughts inside the mind of the son of the fourth Hokage. What this brought about to Naruto's mind was what was he going to have to do to win against Gaara. He had even used his trump card jutsu which had no effect at all. The blonde-haired boy was starting to lose hope on what he was supposed to next when he noticed that Gaara was returning to the surface and had a very angry look on his face. That certainly meant that things were not going to get easier from here on out. It was then that Gaara decided on using a jutsu that he had already used on Naruto before. This time though he would be using it with much more of the Ichibi's chakra running through his veins. What this had just done was that he made the attack just that much more powerful. Inhaling a large gust of wine through the mouth of the tanuki, Gaara then combined all of that air with the sand that surrounded it. With this combined mixture of sand and air, Gaara, for the final touch, added chakra which would make the attack work properly. This was all done in less than 5 seconds. Not bothering to call out the name of the jutsu, Gaara released a genuinely massive sandstorm which would rain down hell on Naruto Uzumaki. The power behind this one compared to the previous one that he had only used moments ago was the sheer widespread destruction. Completely destroying a forest in a matter of seconds was no easy feat for the Ichibi-powered Gaara though, it seemed as if it was child's play. Naruto was not someone who was able to find some sort of cover and not get hit by the jutsu for a second time. The tree that he had been behind had snapped and one of the larger branches. Even with the Kyuubi cloak protecting him, the force of the impact was enough to cause a slight dislocation in his shoulder. The great thing about having the ever-present chakra of the nine-tailed fox inside of him was that, within 2 seconds of the damage been done, it was already fixed once more. It was a battle of Gaara's sand and Naruto's cloak. The sand could have made mincemeat out of his skin and bones, it stripped Naruto of his cloak, bringing him back down to his tailless state. Watching on in gaping awe/horror, Ino could only look on with wide-eyed amazement. She had never seen anything on this level before, and she doubted that Naruto had either. I hope you're okay out there, Naruto, she thought to herself. This did not fully stop the attack as it was also powered by the chakra from Gaara's own reserves. Much like the last time, Naruto faced a barrage of sand which destroyed most of his clothes, leaving his kimono top and undershirt in tatters. His upper half was bare. Bad Ino stopped staring. Since he still had the Kyuubi's chakra running through him, the cloak came back near instantly after the attack of Gaara had ended. Grabbing his sword which he had left in its sheath, Naruto rushed at a speed that only Lee, Sasuke and Neji from the Chunin exams would be able to follow and react to. It was the age-old battle between speed and strength. Gaara fighting for strength and Naruto for speed, both were confident of obtaining victory. Coming into close contact with the leg of Shikaku, Naruto dodged the previously unmentioned stomping that the Gaara tried to harm Naruto with. The blonde-haired boy knew that if he was hit by one of those giant legs, he would be dead, no matter how he tried to defend the attack. The same could be said if he was hit by the tail of Gaara's full-form Shikaku. Seeing an opening in the way of the tail of Shikaku being relatively close to the ground, Naruto leaped thanks to the increased performance offered by the Kyuubi, and onto the tail. Realizing where Naruto was and what threat this could pose if Naruto got any closer, Gaara redirected his attempts to kill Naruto via the sand release, imploding sand funeral. Thanks to the Kyuubi chakra cloak that Naruto had surrounding him though, The ability to hold Naruto in one place with his sand was increasingly difficult due to acidity of the chakra shroud. Whatever method he tried to get Naruto to slow down, allowing him a better chance, was in vain. Whether it was allowing the sand to become very loose, resulting in Naruto sinking into the belly of the beast. That itself would be certain death for the nearly clothes-less Naruto Uzumaki. Or it was making an impassable sand wall which Naruto would have to slow down for and move around. It was solely a coincidence that the time that Gaara managed to get a hold of some part of Naruto's body, he had managed to get from the whole waist down. As this was happening, Naruto had managed to get within striking distance of Gaara. He had even managed to slip underneath his guard and had a direct shot on his ribs. What this all boiled down to was that right at the same time, Naruto and Gaara unleashed what they thought was going to be the final attack on the match. It was only a matter of seeing who would be able to pull off their attack first. Swinging his sword in an arching motion, Naruto managed to get all the way to the second line of defense of Gaara before he felt immense pain in lower body. Despite this pain, Naruto was someone who was determined to continue on with what he had initially set out to do. That was to severely damage his fellow Jinchuriki with his sword. Cutting through the sand armor was not fun. It was doable though, thanks to the wind chakra channeling through the blade. Once that was done, it was down to the easy part. That was cutting through the skin of Gaara's upper chest. When Naruto hit a bone, he realized that he wouldn't be able to do much damage because he was just about to collapse in pain from Gaara's attack. Sliding his blade up and down, all the while it was still inside Gaara, Naruto managed to get the Chikuto between the third and fourth ribs from the neck down. From there Naruto slid it across the bone's outer edge as Naruto came into contact, which, if breached, would lead to certain death if not attended to instantly. Naruto punctured the right lung of Gaara. It came to no surprise of anyone watching this unfold that both of the boys in action screamed out in agony. Gaara had never felt anything like this before, as he was struggling to get air into his lungs as whatever went down seemed to come out through the hole that Naruto had made. The blonde-haired boy was feeling a similar feeling to that of when he broke his ankle in Kusugakure, although in a much, much more severe way. It was as if his boy had been amputated from the waist down. In case anything happened from here on, Naruto put his blade back into its sheath so that he could use his hands for jutsus. What he did not expect was for when he pulled the blade out, was for it to be helped on its way out by something from inside of Gaara. It was as if there was a gold substance covering Naruto's Chikuto. If all that was bad, well, what happened next was even worse. The entire Shikaka gave way as it started going back to its original form of regular sand without any chakra infused into. Unfortunately for Naruto, who was standing on the edge, near the mouth region, meant that he started to slip through the sand and onto the ground. This was coming from a 25-meter-high drop, so this meant that the moment that he hit the ground, he would be dead. ARGH! The son of the fourth Hokage shouted as he panicked, not knowing what to do until an idea came to him. Thanking himself for putting his sword away, which allowed Naruto to use jutsu, the boy ran through several hand signs. This was happening 10 meters from Naruto's instant death. Since the boy did not have good control over his chakra in his shroud form, Naruto could only summon one snake even if he tried to summon another one. That snake was Manda, who was notorious for not wanting to help out in a situation unless it was against a very strong opponent. Naruto hoped that fighting one of the freaking Bijou would be enough. Fuinjutsu, Kuchios no Jutsu! Sealing arts, summoning jutsu! The blonde-haired boy shouted out at the top of his lungs, alerting the only one in the immediate area that he still had something up his sleeves. That person was Temari Sabaka, as she could only watch in horror and fascination as to what was happening right in front of her very own eyes. In the eyes of this genin, it was not a battle between shinobi, as it was more so a battle between monsters. While she deeply cared for her younger brother, she had to admit to herself that even when he wasn't acting like he was before the final started, she was beyond petrified of him. What scared her the most, though, was that there was someone from Konoha who was able to battle against her precious little brother toe-to-toe. That was even before they started releasing their special powers. In her brother's case, the Ichibi no Shikaku. In the case of Naruto, she had no fucking clue as to what that red chakra cloak was, but she knew it drastically increased his strength, speed, and chakra reserves. Temari at least thought that when Gaara went into full Shikaku mode that he would be able to kill his opponent. It was a weird way to feel safe about her brother's life. What in that she was putting her faith in a demon, but such are the lengths someone's loved ones would go for them. Why have you summoned me, Naruto? The king of the Snake Clan questioned, as he was curious. This was all stated with a hiss added onto each and every word. That was because Orochimaru had summoned two members of his clan in a similar location only moments earlier who died thanks to those blasted toads. It was events like these that really made Manda want to kill Orochimaru but could not because of how powerful the shinobi was. It was then that Manda realized that Naruto was producing the corrosive chakra of the Kyuubi. If it was not for his hardened skin, then the snake would have demanded Naruto get off of him. Weakly, Naruto responded to the demand of his summoned boss. "Look in front of you! Airgrug!" Naruto shouted as he was feeling the full effects of the last jutsu that was used against him. Hearing the distress that his summoner was in, the giant purple snake looked around to see what it was that could cause of the pain he was in. When he noticed the rapidly crumbling sand, the smart and deceitful snake could instantly guess that Naruto had gone the distance with one of the tailed beasts. From what it seemed to Manda, Naruto had fought the whole fight by himself, and just summoned him at the end to pick up the scraps. Little did the giant snake know that that was definitely not true. Thanks to the great healing powers of the Kyuubi, Naruto was recovering from the damage that he had suffered from the Ichibi moments ago. It would be at least 5 minutes though before he would be able to walk at a civilian's pace. Shattered and crushed legs would do that to you. Whilst Naruto was healing his lower body, he was not the only one who was healing at a rapid rate. This was also happening to Gaara Sabaku. Not to the same extent as Naruto though, as his demon was renowned for prevention rather than a cure. This did not mean that it did not know how to prevent any injuries from getting worse. Essentially, what the Shikaku was doing was keeping Gaara alive. As Gaara had fainted because of the severe amount of pain that he was in combined with the large amounts of his own blood, it was up to the Ichibi no Shikaku to save the day for the red-haired genin. Using the immense amounts of sand that was around him from the previous exploits, the Bijou made it so that Gaara would fall softly onto the ground rather than becoming a red smudge on the dirt. It was pretty much a standstill moment as Naruto was healing himself thanks to the Kyuubi's chakra flowing through him, and the Ichibi was patching the lung of Gaara back up. The moment that Gaara was patched up enough so that he could still breathe properly, the Sand Bijou decided that it was time for me to have some fun. "Ha ha ha, I'm finally out!" The Shikaku shouted as it was about to go destroy a whole lot of the surrounding area, especially that place which had all of those ninjas in it. For Naruto, who could only lift himself up via a push-up method, he was shocked with what he had just witnessed. Gaara was getting back up. It was as if all of the work that he had done previously to subdue the one-tailed Jinchuriki was all in vain. The first thing that happened right in Naruto's viewpoint was that Gaara turned into his miniature Shikaku form. The difference though this time around was that this miniature Shikaku was much more energetic than the previous one. If that wasn't bad enough, all of the sand that was around him from the previous transformation started to build up around the base where his feet were. From there, all of the sand had the one goal in mind. That was to return to the omnipotent full form of the one-tailed Bijou. Not only was Naruto a witness to this transformation, but Manda was as well. If he was going to get the chance to go up against one of the 9 demons of legend, then he wouldn't hold it against Naruto much. He could have nipped everything in the bud then, and thereby eating Gaara before he could turn into his full form and let him rot in his stomach acids. Yet he had to factor in that Naruto was still healing, and if he dove for Gaara, it could result in Naruto falling off and dying. That, and he wanted a fight. This was of course in conjunction with his summoned partner Naruto Uzumaki, as the boy had started fighting the beast. He wasn't about to ninja the fight away from the boy. He had some sense of morals. In the end though, it was clear to Manda that he would just have to wait. Naruto was quickly healing the injuries that he had suffered judging by the movements that he made. The contrasting factor to this though was that the miniature Shikaku was getting bigger and bigger as time went on. It was having a hard time putting itself back together. This was what Naruto managed to notice as he was getting up from his injury-induced haze. Seeing the rising Gaara, Naruto only had one thing on his mind. It was clear to the Jinchuriki that this fight had only just begun. Chapter 12. The two giants stared one another down. Giant snake against giant sand dog/raccoon. One of these behemoths was going to lose, and each one was confident that it was going to be the other that lost. They both had a respective human nearby for the cause. Manda had Naruto, who was riding atop of him full in his Jinchuriki cloak, whilst Gaara was inside of the protective sand healing the injuries that he had suffered at the hands of the blonde-haired boy. It was a single genin soldier, and a summon to go up against one of the Bijou. On paper this was a high mismatch. Like a lot of things though, plans and judgment go out the window once the first kunai is thrown. "Use one of your futon techniques, Naruto," Manda called out in an authoritative tone of voice as he prepared his own technique. Producing a substance different from saliva in his mouth, Manda waited a second so that Naruto could go through the hand seals before spitting out poison. "Ninja arts, poison mist jutsu. Wind release, violent wind palm," Naruto called out as it made using the technique easier in his mind. The combination of the wind and the poison made the attack impossible to dodge as it was so widespread. It would have been almost impossible anyway due to the size of Shikaku and its immobile nature. Angry at having to take the hit, Shikaku launched out with his own technique. That was the wind release, drilling air bullet jutsu. Having the same jutsu in his bag of tricks as well as the backing of the Kyuubi in this fight, It meant that Naruto was able to go toe-to-toe with the attack and prevent it from hitting either himself or Manda. Naruto was really thanking his training and making his hand seals combinations that much faster. Getting angrier and angrier as time went by, the Ichibi launched its tail towards the two in the hopes of wrapping them up and performing such a large-scale sand release. Sand waterfall funeral. Thanks to the agile nature of his body type, Manda was able to dodge the incoming attack. Not only was he able to do that, he was also able to dodge it in a way that allowed him to wrap his grand size around the tail in a constricting fashion most pythons. Jumping off of the head of Manda, Naruto launched himself as he ran along the tail that was wrapped by the king of the jungle. Going through the hand seals, Naruto launched the most powerful jutsu that he had in his arsenal at the Ichibi. With the backing of the Kyuubi behind him, it allowed Naruto to fully realize the jutsu's potential as it was now classified as a high A-ranked wind ninjutsu. Wind release, pressure damage! Naruto yelled out as the wind created from this jutsu were enough to rip through the softer sand of Shikaku's front left foot. Howling in pain as it was something that he definitely did not like one bit, Shikaku tried a different method to defeat his opponents as the ones he was currently using were clearly not working. Reverting his tail to the form without chakra, Shikaku then quickly tried to rewrap it around the form of Manda and crush his internals through his Jinchuriki's favorite technique. Being someone who was able to react quickly in hard situations, Manda did his own counterattack. Using the Snake Clan secret jutsu, Shedding Skin Jutsu, Manda dodged the attack by burrowing himself underground. Not stopping there, Manda plowed his way through the ground and popped his tail right in front of Shikaku as bait. As the bijou was focused on the appendage in front of him, the real Manda came up from out of the ground, wrapped his body around Shikaku. As this was happening, Manda once again breathed the substance out of his mouth onto the Ichibi. Unlike the first time, which was done via the usage of poison, this time it was done by using his acidic glands. These were designed to deal large amounts of fast-acting damage to opponents who had even the toughest of defenses. For someone like Shikaku who had the ultimate defense, things like this were not wants, they were needs. Seeping through the sand, which essentially was his skin for the near foreseeable future, Shikaku raged at the pain that he was feeling as he was someone who did not like the feeling at all. The one-tailed demon was getting increasingly frustrated with this turn of events. He expected the fight between himself and his two opponents to be much more of a one-sided contest in his favor. Instead of that, it was going in the complete opposite direction. The sand demon wasn't even trading blows with Manda. He was instead just receiving them and hoping for an opportunity to strike. With the sand that was around him, the Ichibi no Shikaku, who was getting angrier and angrier as the fight dragged on, decided that it was time to switch from predator to all-out berserker. Using the sand that made up his body, the Ichibi tried to wrap Manda, who was already wrapping him up with the snake's body in a constricting fashion. Sensing the danger that he was in, Manda did his best to escape unharmed. That was not to be, however, as the sand demon was just too quick for the giant purple snake. Using the coarse sand at his disposal, Shikaku managed to land a severe grazing on the skin of the Snake Clan leader. This was enough to draw a substantial amount of blue blood from the reptile. Grunting in anger from having taken the injury, Manda went back to where Naruto was via the underground and popped up to help out his summoner. Looking ahead to where his opponent was, Manda wanted to know what the next attack that the Ichibi was going to use. Eyes widening in surprise as even the king of the jungle could not hold back his fear when he saw which jutsu the sand demon was preparing on using. It was none other than the tailed beast ball. Knowing what was to come if he even got hit by a fraction of what the sphere contained, Manda quickly set about telling Naruto about the situation he was in. Naruto, in terms of ranking jutsus, the one that the Ichibi is just about to use would be a rank above S-class if there ever was one. There is no way to defend against the raw brutality that the menacing ball provides. All you can do is slow it down and get out of the way. If you try anything other than that, you will no doubt be reduced to the mere molecules that make up your body. Taking that news into consideration, Naruto though knew that he had to at least give it his all when it came to defending his village against the threat in front of him. Manda-sama, dive underground and appear behind the bijou. I'm going to use a jutsu that you taught me, which I know that you never planned on me using anytime soon. Seeing the look on the face of his clan leader, Naruto flinched as he knew that he was not going to hear the end of this conversation. Whilst Manda cared about Naruto, he did not care about the village hidden in the leaves one bit. He wouldn't have cared if it burnt to the ground the very next day. To Naruto, though, it was his home. He would do anything to protect the place that gave birth to him from invaders. In the mind of the Snake Clan leader, Manda thought that Naruto was still suffering some of the Stockholm Syndrome that he had been suffering from when he first offered the boy the opportunity to join the Snake Clan. With a sigh at how stubborn Naruto was, Manda dived down into the ground to protect himself from the incoming jutsu, as he knew that no matter what he said, Naruto would not listen. The blonde-haired boy was using instincts rather than logical thought at the moment. It was something that he would have to break the boy from doing. Ino, watching on, could see the raw chakra that the one tail was producing. She could even feel it. Her senses were on fire. "Naruto! Get out of the way!" she shouted in hysterics. It fell on deaf ears though, as Naruto was so engrossed in his fight with Shikaku. Exhaustion was running through his body, and Naruto knew that he didn't have much more to give at his current level. The pain that was coursing through his body was enough to make a civilian drop to the ground and pass out. The blonde-haired boy though knew that he would have to step it up a notch if he even wanted a hope in saving this battle. "I have to protect everyone. I have to protect Ino." As her name came in his mind, her image popped up and gave him the drive to draw on even more chakra from the Kyuubi, causing him to grow a second tail. The influx of power that he was feeling from this was amazing. The feelings of hatred, power, and wanting to cause destruction almost blindsided Naruto into releasing more power than he could safely handle. Even the level that he was at right now was a little too much, but some boundaries had to be pushed if the outcome outweighed the risk. Crouching down even lower as he was getting into a stance that would make it easier for him to transfer into a four-tailed state, Naruto started going through hand seals so that he could unleash his ultimate defensive jutsu. The power of the Kyuubi was not only affecting Naruto's physical state as his raw power, speed, and chakra reserves shot up dramatically, but it also affected his voice as he spoke in a low, guttural tone of voice. "Snake Clan Secret Jutsu, Triple Rashomon!" the Snake Summoner called out as he pushed just about all of his chakra into the jutsu. It was a battle between the jutsu of Naruto and the jutsu of the Shikaku to see which would rise first. Gate 1 popped up. Gate 2 popped up. The same time that gate number 2 popped up, the Ichibi swallowed the giant mass of chakra. Finally, as gate 3 was coming out of the ground, Naruto jumped to the side as fast as he could. It was a good thing too, as the Uzumaki-born boy narrowly saved himself from getting killed. What Naruto did not stop though was sustaining yet another injury due to the enemy. This time it was getting a chunk of his calf muscle completely blown apart by the strongest attack of the Bijou. A massive scream ruptured through the air as Naruto was now hobbling on one leg. Not even the ever-proud boy could prevent himself from letting loose a few tears due to the pain that he was in at that very point in time. With the amount of pain that he was in at the moment, the blonde-haired boy didn't dare look back to see how much damage Konoha had suffered. Whatever had happened would only be images that would wreck his brain and make him lose focus. "Naruto!" Ino screamed at the top of her lungs. Tears were forming down her face. She had seen the damage the jutsu caused and how he did his best to try and save the village by blocking the attack. She knew he could have easily dodged the attack but chose not to, as that would have left Konoha wide open and vulnerable. Seeing the devastation of what that jutsu had caused filled her with fear and dread for Naruto's life. Subconsciously, she projected her chakra, which carried her emotions along with it, to Naruto. "Please, Naruto, get up. Please. I hope you're okay." It was these words that gave Naruto the strength to manage to stand back up, albeit resting up against a tree. He could feel the emotions Ino was feeling, and the last thing he wanted to do was make her worry. It was an odd feeling, legitimately feeling the emotions of someone else. It was the rawest form of acknowledgement, seeing how much she cared for him. Mustering up some of the remaining strength that was remaining in his body, Naruto made several clones of himself to act as decoys. As this was happening, Naruto hid behind a tree and let the magic of the Kyuubi's chakra heal his injuries. The mind of Naruto was going at 100 miles a second, trying to conjure up a plan that would end this bloodshed and destruction. It was then that there was an idea that started snowballing into something that he could work with. Yes, Naruto was confident that this was a plan that would definitely produce an outcome. The only question was whether or not if it would be in the blonde-haired boy's favor. Thanking the fact that he was much smaller in size compared to his summon partner, this gave him the time to not only prepare his next move, but it also gave him the time to heal from all of the injuries he had sustained up until this point. The healing power of the Kyuubi no Kitsune was truly remarkable. Due to having 2 tails of the Vile chakra running through his body, Naruto was able to heal bodily parts in times that other could only dream of. What was a potential career-ending injury for some, it was only taken 1.5 minutes for Naruto's leg to reattach the muscle to the tendon. The harder part was recreating all of the muscle fibers from scratch. Without those meaty cords, Naruto would not be able to push off with any kind of force whatsoever. All that the blonde-haired boy could do was hope that Manda was able to hold off the Shikaku for long enough that he could surprise the bastard with an attack that would spell the end for the one-tailed beast. The way how the Serpent King was doing this was by burrowing underground, pooping up and firing his acids, and then once again going underground. It was a clear stall tactic, and there was not that much that the Shikaku could do about it. If he moved so that he could go and attack the Kyuubi brat, then the damned pesky snake would pop up and get a clear shot on him. Despite him being one of the tailed beasts that had a great defense, Not even he could defend himself against the acids of Manda all that well. If Manda was able to get a direct hit on the Ichibi, then it would seriously set the beast back some time as it recovered. The other problem was that unlike some of the other Bijou, the Ichibi was one that did not have any sensory powers like say the Kyuubi. It had to rely on its eyesight and its hearing, both of which weren't all that special. The constant vibrations that were felt through the ground weren't helping at all. It was too bad for Shikaku that Manda was the one directly responsible for those miniature shockwaves going through the ground. These were a form of defense mechanism employed by the giant snake, as it did this to disable any Doton-based sensory. Manda didn't know whether or not the Ichibi was capable of such feats, but Manda did not want to risk it. If there was anyone more grateful for what the Serpent King was doing than Naruto, then the blonde-haired boy definitely wanted to meet them. Said boy was sitting down inside a nearby bush as best as his surroundings would allow him. Pulling on the dregs of the energy running through his body, Naruto had a grimace on his face as he ran at the underbelly of the Ichibi no Shikaku. Manda wasn't a great sensor by any means. He was only just as good as the hardened Chunin at the skill. Because though that Naruto was flaring so much of the Kyuubi's chakra, the giant purple snake knew where Naruto had positioned himself. Even in the small amount of time that he knew Naruto on a personal level, Manda knew that Naruto was capable of producing brilliantly thought-out plans on the spot. Even on occasion were these better than some of the plans that the best strategists from the clan could produce with time to think things through. Thanks to the efforts of Manda and his acid spitting, Naruto was able to run undetected and get into the best position possible for his plan. That was right underneath the belly of the beast. Not even Manda could believe that Naruto would do something as stupid as stand beneath one of the tailed beasts. Maybe the bloodlust of the Kyuubi's chakra going through him had affected the boy more than he had first thought. Using nearly all of the chakra that Naruto had going through his pathways at the time, he was hopefully going to end this fight with this jutsu. Futon Natsugai. Wind release, pressure damage. Thanks to all of the chakra passing through, Naruto was able to supercharge the winds that were generated from this jutsu. Using one tail of the Kyuubi's chakra allowed Naruto to produce a mid-A rank jutsu. This was in comparison to when he used only his own chakra and managed to create a B-rank jutsu. If only he had better control over his element. However, when Naruto made the jutsu with two tails of chakra running through him, the results of such jutsu had not been tested yet. The rule involving jutsus that haven't been tested out yet was to never use them in battle. There is a slight exception though when it came to Jinchuriki. If all you were doing was just increasing the power of the jutsu, then you could possibly get away with it as long as it wasn't a jutsu that you exhaled through the mouth. Only time would tell in seeing just how effective that Naruto was just about to use. Luckily there was very little to no waiting time at all. Thrusting his hands from his chest after gathering all of the chakra that he had available to him at the time, Naruto unleashed the jutsu. The damage was instant, so too was the pain that the Ichibi felt. The tearing winds collided with softer underbelly of the demon. Normally these winds were white, but thanks to the type of chakra that was powering it as well as the fact that it was being overloaded, there was now a slight tint of red marring each of the blades of wind. Not even something that was as feared as the Shikakus would be able to defend against the attack well. Chunks of sand started falling from the beast as Naruto had to dodge with his still injured leg, which was harder than he wished for it to be. Since Naruto did not have great control over the jutsu, it was not a controlled and directed attack. It turned out to be a widespread damage jutsu that destroyed anything that it came into contact with. The legs of the Ichibi no Shikaku were arguably the beast's strongest points of defense. They held up better than the stomach but still could not support the incredible weight as well as sustain the damage from Naruto Uzumaki. What this meant was that as time went by and despite the fact that the winds were dying down, more and more chakra-compressed sand was falling down above Naruto. Being in the position that it was in thanks its host being so weak from injuries, the sand demon did its best to preserve its chance in living in the outside world for as long as possible. To do this, it kept Gaara as far down as possible in the sand while still allowing him a pocket of air to travel to his unconscious body, allowing him to breathe. The place in which the body of the red-haired boy had been placed was in the center of Shikaku's stomach. Due to the great amount of sand that was falling off of the body of the Ichibi, Gaara's position was becoming more and more compromised as he started sinking in the sand. This was happening because of the lack of density that was once there to support his weight. It eventually got to the point where the lower part of his left leg was sticking out of the sand, allowing it to be seen. Whilst there was still some wind going around at the time, it was only a large gust of wind, nothing that would be able to cause any damage unless it was freezing cold. Snakes in general do not have good eyesight. That was why Manda, the king of all serpents, was not able to see the small legs sticking out of the body of sand from how far away he was at the time. However, humans by comparison have much better eyesight than reptiles, and this compounded with his position allowed Naruto to spot the leg. Knowing what had to be done, Naruto lifted his hand onto the hilt of his Shijikuto and jumped up into the air. The blonde-haired boy was fueled by all of the Kyuubi's chakra that was still running inside of him. Pulling out his blade and channeling wind chakra through it to make his job even easier, Naruto used both hands to generate even more force. Instead of what a lot of other shinobi would do in his position, Naruto did not simply just attack the leg that was visible. He did not even attack around the body for a potential kill shot. Instead, what the blonde-haired boy did was cut a large enough rectangle around the area that Gaara could potentially encompass from the position that his leg was in. Naruto was rewarded when the severe lack in pressure resulted in all of the sand that was inside the cut lines fell to the ground. As gravity was taking him back down to the ground, Naruto put his sword back in its sheath. The last thing that Naruto did was that he pulled on the leg of Gaara with enough force to make the red-haired boy get released from the grasp of the chakra-controlled sand. Then there was a single thought that entered the mind of Manda. What if Naruto did not know what it was that kept the Shikaku out in the open for so long? He wasn't going to take any chances. Despite not wanting to admit it, Manda was a bit rusty because he had not had to fight such a large-scale battle in such a long time. Going from doing nothing to then fighting one of the Bijus was certainly not one of the easiest tasks in the world of shinobis. Manda did not want to have to fight for any longer, as his body was aching all over. What the giant snake wanted was rest and lots of it. Naruto! Wake the boy up! The reason why the Ichibi no Shikaku is dominant over that boy is because said boy is unconscious, so wake him up. As he was shaking Gaara, nothing was working. Nothing he did would work. Crap. What do I do? It was then in that moment the blonde couldn't help but chuckle. If this works, he muttered, lubing up one finger before shoving it in the ear of Gaara. It was the only place Gaara did not have sand armor. It was super effective. Slowly, due to the uncomfortable feeling of something wet inside his ear, Gaara started coming to the real world. As this was happening, all the red-haired boy could hear were the screams of the Ichibi no Shikaku. Said beast was obviously not at all happy with the fact that his time in the free world was cut short by something as degrading as a wet willy. The first thing that Gaara noticed was that he couldn't move his body at all. All of his chakra supply was depleted, and the Sunigakure shinobi had a severe case of chakra exhaustion. For the first time in his life, Gaara was truly afraid. Without his chakra supply, he wasn't able to control any forms of his defense apart from the automatic part. That didn't work though, as Gaara did not have his gourd anywhere nearby. Without his defense mechanisms, Gaara was afraid that people would come and try to hurt him, just like what happened when he was younger. Panicking because of the predicament that he now found himself waking up to, Gaara instantly opened his eyes and was met with the face of his biggest enemy at this current point of time. That was Naruto Uzumaki, who had his sword drawn and pointing directly at his heart. If all that wasn't bad enough, the sound of the sand that made up Shikaku crumpling to the ground now that it had no chakra to support it made Gaara know that he had lost his first ever fight. With the panic and hyperventilation evident in his voice, Naruto listened to what Gaara had to say. No! My existence will never be extinguished. It can't. There is no way that I will let it disappear. Hearing what the defeated shinobi had to say, it was painful for Naruto as it brought up memories that he wished he didn't have to remember once again. The pain of being alone isn't an easy thing to deal with, is it? The bittersweet smile that was on the face of Naruto didn't reassure Gaara one bit that his existence wasn't going to end soon. It's so soul-destroying seeing all of the people having friends and a caring family and wondering why is it that the things that you want the most, you can't have. Now I am not sure what the circumstances were surrounding you being forced into having this burden, but I do know that there are ways that you can escape the pain. That is what I did. When Naruto had finished saying what he had, Gaara couldn't help but face Naruto with all of his attention. He had gone through enough struggles in his life. Now normally, Gaara wouldn't have listened to the words of someone else with a grain of salt. This was because Gaara believed that people who were trying to teach him life lessons hadn't gone through all of the struggles that he had, thus not becoming as strong as him. It was only through battle that allowed for the psyche of Gaara to open up to other possible ways of getting stronger. There is only one thing that can cure the pain that we Jinchurikis feel. Only the love of others can make you feel whole. You need to find people that see you as Gaara, not as Shikaku. And when you find someone like that, only then will you gain the true strength in protecting what is important to you. As Naruto said this, the image of Ino was fresh in his mind. So too were her emotions. I will even be the first person who will look past that and become friends with the real Gaara, and I bet your brother and sister have always been there for you. I heard the way Temari spoke of you, wanting to protect you even if she is weaker than you. As Naruto said this, he pulled his sword back and allowed it to slide into its sheath. The next thing that he did was Naruto allowed for the demonic chakra running through him to subside. Before he reverted to his initial Jinchuriki form, Naruto noticed the telltale sign of a massive plume of smoke going off in the distance. Manda obviously knew that Naruto now had this fight under control and was going to heal his acquired injuries. With him not needed around any longer, the giant purple snake headed off home. The old Naruto might have been showing through, but it didn't matter to the blonde-haired boy. It could have also been the fact that he felt a ton of empathy for Gaara because he had been through the same type of upbringing. Manda would probably berate him for being so trusting and letting his guard down, but honestly, Naruto didn't care. In the words of Ino, it's not wrong to feel. He had been through so much as a Jinchuriki that when he saw another struggling through tough times, all he wanted to do was help out. All this put together meant that when Naruto dropped down to his initial Jinchuriki mode and without the adrenaline boost that it provided, Naruto was unable to hold on to consciousness as he fell flat on his stomach into the ground right next to Gaara. Before the unconscious body of Naruto fell down to the ground, he was gracefully caught. "I am so proud of you," Ino whispered and enveloped her arms around her favorite blonde. Surprising herself, she even bent down and kissed him on his forehead protector. Had he been awake she would never have done it, but for some reason, it just felt right. With Sakura. If there was one person who was embarrassed the most with their performance in the short attack on Konoha, then it was the pink-haired girl that was a part of Team 7. At least someone like her former rival Ino could boast about doing something for the village in its time of need. What could she say? When her Sasuke-kun needed her most, she yet again failed to even do anything remotely helpful. What didn't help the situation was that Sasuke had indeed suffered injuries from his fight with Gaara, none more so than the chakra exhaustion from having to use the Chidori often. There was nobody more shocked in the Battle of Konoha to see the large summoned King Manda out in the flesh. For an instant, the purple-haired Kunoichi believed that it was Orochimaru who was the person that had summoned Manda. If she was brutally honest with herself, she was terrified. For all of the confidence that she portrayed as a special jonin that wanted to kill her former sensei, Anko knew that she had a long way to go if she ever wanted to reach the same skill level of the snake Sannin. To even contemplate going up against her former sensei, which was something that she no doubt wanted to do as well as fight Manda at the same time, it was quite daunting to put the situation lightly. However, Anko soon came to the realization that Orochimaru was not the person who was summoning Manda, as she could tell from the curse mark on her shoulder that he was in a totally different direction. This made Anko mad and jealous all at once. Mad that someone was so stupid enough to fall for the lies that Orochimaru had obviously fed them to join his quest for power. The jealousy came from the fact that even though she hated the man with a passion, there was quite a substantial point of her life was dedicated to nothing more than making the man happy. Hearing that there was someone else capable of summoning Manda made those feelings of inadequacy come back to the surface. "Was I not good enough for you to teach me?" What twisted words had Orochimaru used towards this person to make them so willing to attack Konoha with the use of a snake that demanded 100 sacrifices every time they were summoned? Just how screwed in the head were they that they would even turn to Orochimaru? Despite the fact that she had a job to do and that she had to protect all of the children who attended the Shinobi Academy, the purple-haired snake mistress couldn't help but look over her shoulder as she felt the most horrific chakra that she had ever felt before. To see that lining up against Manda was one of the bloody-tailed beasts was definitely not something that she expected to see. This was no more a fight between shinobi. It was now a fight between monsters of the largest scale that were going to go head-to-head with one another. The sounds of fighting going on in the background were enough to bring the woman back to reality and that there was a job that she needed to complete. The lives of children were resting on her shoulders and she didn't want to make them see the horrors that she had seen in her life. Getting her mind back on track, Anko noticed that her former classmate in the academy Ira Kayumino was busily directing the kids into the safety zones inside the Hokage mountain. It was time for Anko Mitarashi to step up and complete the task that was assigned to her. Hopefully if she could put down a good performance, then she would be able to slightly change the opinions of the Konoha residents in that she wasn't just the snake bitch, she was Anko fucking Mitarashi. Knowing how her former sensei liked to coordinate his attacks, the special jonin instinctively knew that there was going to be a group that was going to attack the people who could not defend themselves. It was a strategy to bring out the Konoha shinobi so that the real attack could get the ninjas trying to protect the civilians. She was not disappointed as Anko spotted the group of shinobi attempting to ambush the unsuspecting academy protection unit. It seemed as if the ninjas that Orochimaru had picked out were quite weak and were pretty much just making up the numbers in the eyes of Anko as they did not notice her when she hid with her chakra signature masked. Anyone who had a few years' experience would be able to figure this out. There should be at least one person in each patrol group who had some form of tracking and sensory ability. Coming up behind the enemy with them none the wiser, Anko threw 3-4 kunai at the 4-man group. 2 of them connected with their targets, which was the back of the neck. This instantly killed them without any hope of survival. This was even before they managed to turn around and try and defend themselves. It seemed that the other two were actually semi-competent shinobi as they heard the sound of the incoming metal of death and managed to dodge the attack. What they did not expect though was for there to be a follow-up attack. Silently, Enko went through the hand signs and breathed out fire release, great fireball jutsu. The mental incantation helped out the purple-haired lady got her jutsu off in the general direction of where the enemy should be landing. Enko had predicted correctly as her jutsu connected directly with the face of the Otogekyu ninja and burned his face severely. When the fire connected, the worst thing that the sound shinobi could have done, he did. That was that he panicked. He might have had a chance of escaping had he not panicked, but because he did, his life was already forfeit. Panicking in such a situation meant that what little oxygen was in his lungs was forced out his mouth. With fire needing oxygen to not only sustain life but also to thrive in it, it was as if the sound shinobi was adding fuel to the fire, literally. Like fire falling on oil or gasoline, the flame raced down the path of the oxygen and into the inner workings of the man's lungs. Burning the inside of the lungs was definitely one of the worst ways to go. It was akin to swallowing sulfuric acid which, once ingested, disintegrates the lungs to the point of no return. If all that was bad enough, then it was just adding insult into the large injuries that he had sustained when he couldn't even move. This was due to the muscles getting heated up so much that they would simply not move. Seeing the death of all three of his comrades, the sound shinobi turned around to start going through a sequence of hand seals so that he could launch some thinly bottled retaliation. Unfortunately for him, Enko had already beat him to finishing the hand sign sequence as she released her arm in an outward direction right in his direction. Snake Clan Secret Jutsu, Hidden Shadow Snake Hands. The flying snake went straight for one of weakest point in the human body. It went straight for the jugular vein in the neck. With purple-tipped fangs, it was no surprise when the moment that the fangs sank into the enemy's neck, there was an instant reaction. This was through the form of rapid convulsion before no movement at all. Waiting 5 seconds as the snake held the bite on for added effect, Enko desummoned the animal so that she could go about her mission. Catching up with a group of civilian women that she saw, Enko silently followed them in case they needed any form of protection. Luckily for their sake, they did not have anything that they had to deal with. When the group reached the safe zone, Enko made herself known to the terrified civilians. With their rather misguided view on ninjas, they thought that Enko had done all of the work from the shadows to protect them. The slight blush that accompanied the smile was hope for Enko and that she could maybe change the view of Konoha. Meeting up with Irika, someone who she had known since the academy, there was a look between the two as they silently questioned whether each other were ready for what was about to come. This was not so much personally if they were mentally ready, but more so if there were no more survivors outside that they had to search for. A slight twitch was all that was done, but it was enough of a communication between the two to allow the other to know their thoughts. Everything was okay and the second phase of the plan was ready to be commenced. Before that could happen though, there was an untimely interruption as Konoha Maru, who was running through the narrow corridors, bumped into Enko. With a strained smile on her face, the purple-haired lady waited until the kid scampered away before she did anything that she regretted. Finally, once all of the shinobi and kunoichi that were going to take part were ready, Irika set up a barrier seal so that it would take just that little bit extra for an Otogekyu shinobi to break in and have a field day. The moment the counter-attack started and they were running out of the Hokage mountain, there was a question directed straight at her. So Enko, why the hell did you allow the Kubigaki to sign the snake summoning contract? I thought you had more brains than to let the bastard even more powerful so he can turn on us. Shaken to her core as she pieced together what was thrown at her, she wondered how in the hell that Naruto had been the person to summon Manda. The last time that she remembered seeing the brat was when he did that amusing prank on the Hokage monument. To imagine someone like Manda who had a massive stick shoved up his arse, it was just laughable. Through past experience, the reason why Enko was never considered a full member of the Snake Clan was for one, she never received the tattoo, but more importantly, she did not have the personality that they demanded for her to have. They would have wanted for her to be the carbon copy of her sensei but in female form, and there was no way in hell of that happening. She had been betrayed by that man, and she wanted to be as different from him as was physically possible. What the fucking hell makes you think that Naruto is the one who summoned Manda? Enko bewilderedly shouted as there was the small fact that the Naruto that she knew was the polar opposite of her former sensei. There was more chance of a snowflake surviving a Bijidama than there was of the Sandaime Hokage's pseudo-grandson joining the most hated traitor in the history of Konoha. It was just simply impossible for Enko to imagine Naruto being someone who would sign the snake contract. It was then that the dam broke on the emotions of Enko as she heard something that instantly made the woman fear for the future of Konoha. You might not remember it since you are much younger than what I am, but I clearly remember the feeling of the Kyuubi when it hit. Since I am able to sense chakra signatures, I can sense he too coming from over there. It was at this point that the older man pointed in the direction of where the fight between Manda and Naruto against the Ichibi no Shikaku. There are 3 massive chakra signatures in that area, and only one of them is one that I remember. Easily, the most distinctive one is the one the giant sand thing. There is another big one coming from the giant snake, and finally, one that I will never ever forget sensing is the one coming from the Kyuubi. That means that the little demon is using its powers finally. Not even caring that she had a mission to do, Enko was rooted to the spot as she struggled to process the information going through her brain right at that point in time. The possibilities that this single statement could allow people to snowball their thoughts in an echo chamber. The only positive was that Naruto was fighting in between Konoha and the One Tail. Enko was not someone who was void of prejudging people. This was especially apparent when it concerned anything to do with her former sensei. She was going to get down to the bottom of this and find out how the fuck Naruto managed to sign the snake contract. Trauma had one hell of a way of affecting thought process and inserting bias into opinions. If Naruto was in connection with her former sensei, then she would kill him in the most painful way possible. Consequences of killing the Kyuubi Jinchuriki be damned. She was going to do that so that she could prevent the world from having to experience something even worse than her sensei. It would be fucking idiotic for allowing Orochimaru to poison the minds of the Kyuubi Jinchuriki and get Naruto to do his bidding for him. It would spell the end for Konoha as she knew it, and she wasn't going to let that happen. She would give her everything until the threat of Orochimaru was defeated, even her life. It was not something that he liked to admit, but Neji Hyuga was feeling very alone right now. None of the people that he was in frequent contact with were here to even say hello. The white walls of the Konoha General Shinobi Hospital were a drab place that only served to remind the genin of what his life was like back at the Hyuga compound. Sure, Neji knew that there was a war going on, but using his Byakugan, he knew that the fight had been over for quite some time, and yet there was still no one who was willing to come say hello. The injuries that he had suffered at the hands of Naruto Uzumaki meant that he was not going to be leaving this place anytime soon. He was injured enough so that he was not allowed to move out into home care, but Neji was not injured enough that he required a medical ninja to heal him up quickly. It was obvious to the black-haired boy that there were people who had more important injuries for the medical ninjas to attend to. Speaking of the injuries that he had sustained, Neji was in a severe amount of pain as there were some quite decent-sized holes in his body. This was not to mention all of the cuts that he had acquired due to all of the wind chakra manipulation as well as futon ninjutsus. Crutches were necessary for the member of the Hyuga clan, but he was able to move around in his private ward. Being the nephew of the head of arguably Konoha's most powerful clan certainly had its benefits. The only place that Neji was able to walk to at a very slow pace was the toilet. Still, it was something that greatly reduced there being any loss in pride for the teenager. Before the prodigal genin could go into retrospective thoughts about the fight that he had just been, were brought to a halt as there was someone knocking on his door. Still with the war fresh on his memory, before he even bothered to open his mouth to speak, Neji used his clan's trademark dojutsu to see who it was behind the door. The black-haired boy did not instantly recognize the person who is. It was certainly not Gai-sensei, or even the small possibility of it being his uncle. The only redeeming quality was the fact that the man had a Konoha forehead protector with the symbol of their village etched onto it. Curious but also prepared for anything that could possibly go wrong, Neji was apprehensive when he spoke up. Thanks to his emotional control, it was not something that was projected through his voice. "Yes, you can come in." Stepping through the door, there was a man, roughly in his mid-20s, who had brown hair and black, slanted eyes. The forehead protector the man was wearing was one that Neji reckoned looked very similar to the one worn by the Nidaime Hokage during his reigning years. Apart from the forehead protector, there wasn't anything that was out of the ordinary for the man, as he was wearing the standard Konoha shinobi uniform with the Chunin flak jacket on top. All in all, he seemed like he was a very standard ninja. That was the image that Tenzu liked to portray. He didn't like being someone who stood out in a crowd. Knowing what should be done in a situation like this, Tenzu spoke up. "Hello Neji, my name is Tenzu and I hope that you are recovering well from the injuries that you have at the moment." Having been around enough high-ranking officials in the Hyuga clan, Neji knew that this was in essence a customary statement that was meant to break the ice on the conversation. Cordially, Neji replied with an emotionless face. He still did not know anything about the person in front of him, and wasn't willing to give away any information. "Thank you for your concern. I am fine as of the moment, but it will still be a little while before I am able to return to home. May I ask why you wanted to see me?" With a slight smile on his face, the brown-haired man replied in kind to the genin. "I am proud to say that there were not as many casualties on Konoha's side as was first feared. Unfortunately, there was still a large number of casualties on the shinobi side due to Otogekure and Sunagekure's initiation on us." Whilst this did not answer the question that Neji had asked, it did answer one that he had on his mind. As I am sure you know, bless his soul, one of the people to die in the invasion was the Sandaime Hokage. It was only due to the conditioning required to get to Anbu Captain that Tenzu managed to keep his expression and tone neutral. He was the person who encouraged him to join the Shinobi Academy, and it was a choice that would pay dividends in allowing the orphan a way back into society. The bow of the head from his position in his bed from Neji was more formality rather than out of pure sorrow. Sure, he was saddened for the village, but because he did not know the man on a personal level. With his death, Konoha has been put into a state of severe precaution, and we need to increase the number of shinobi we have back up to the amount we lost very quickly. That is the reason as to why I am here. There was a slight widening of the eyes that the Anbu captain noticed before they once again settled into their normal look. Now Neji, you might not want to hear this, but from the performances that you displayed during your fight, they were not ones that would merit promotion to the rank of Chunin. Hearing those words, Neji couldn't help but frown and internally criticize fate for having a hand in him not getting his promotion to the next level. Before you get depressed about that, thanks to the rather unique situation that we have been put in due to this fight, Konoha as a whole are going to have to lower their standards for Chunin. This is so that we can hopefully recover as fast as possible. This means that you are still in contention for receiving a promotion to the rank of Chunin. The smile that was on the boy's face was one that was small but still managed to convey all of his thoughts to the Anbu captain, who was an expert in reading people through solely their facial expression. It certainly did not hurt that Tenzu had Hayashi Hyuga as his Jonin sensei. The wood user was contemplating on what it was that he should say next. Thankfully, Neji was the person who spoke next. How far away am I from getting that promotion? Am I really that far that behind what is required for Chunin? The questions that were coming out of the Hyuga prodigy were all valid in the eyes of Tenzu. To be honest, you are worthy of becoming a Chunin rank in terms of your combat abilities. It is the fact that when you are in a tough situation and you believe that it is fate that is against you, you believe that there is no hope and give up to fate. That is what is holding you back from becoming a Chunin. You need to have that belief in that whatever situation you are in, no matter how dire it looks at that point, that you are willing to fight all the way to the death to complete your objective. Hearing the words from this person in front of him, who was obviously a shinobi stronger than he himself was, it made Neji think. The first thing that came to his mind was the fact that Naruto, someone who he had pegged as a person who would be overcome by fate, had defied it and then gone on to beat him in a fight. Knowing that Sasuke Uchiha was the Rookie of the Year, and the way how teams were formed at the top end of the scale, Neji could easily deduct that Naruto was the dead last of his class. Judging by the others from that year's graduating class, Naruto had managed to improve at a rapid rate, which he knew was not due to him being a genius. It was through hard work and determination. Just like his sensei and Rock Lee. I failed the graduation process a total of 3 times on my way to becoming a ninja, but you know what, the one thing that stuck with me through this whole time? It was my determination to make a change for the better. That is what you lack. Nothing in life ever comes easy, and the things that you want the most are the things that you have to work the hardest to achieve. The statement from Naruto that he was willing to call Neji his friend was something that made Neji quite surprised. Even Rock Lee was not as forthcoming as wanting to call him a friend when he turned on cunt mode. Thinking about the words that came from both Naruto and this Tenzu person, Neji was starting to think that maybe fate wasn't the be-all and all that he made it out to be. Maybe there was a chance for him to be able to find a way to get out of the place that fate had put him in and have a life outside of being a branch member. Just like the epiphany that he had during his fight against Naruto, Neji was having another big moment in his life as he decided that he could finally be his own person and not the whipping boy of the main branch. Seeing all of the thoughts that were going through the mind of Neji thanks to his facial expressions, the brown-haired man couldn't help but have a small smile on his face. The realization that Neji was coming to was one that Tenzu felt needed to happen before the next phase of his plan could begin. It seems to me that you are finally realizing what it means to hold the rank of Chunin, Neji. This statement alone was enough for the Byakugan user to dislodge himself from his thoughts and turn his attention back to his guest. I am not sure whether you know about all of the possible ways for a genin to get promoted to the rank of Chunin. What I will tell you though is there is one way that affects you personally. A pin drop could have broken the silence between these two shinobi as the Hyuga prodigy was listening on intently as to what it was that he would have to do get the rank. Pride was most certainly on the line at this point in time. For a genin to get promoted to Chunin outside of the Chunin exams, a jonin will have to put in a formal application for one of the Anbu captains to personally look into said genin's skills. The Anbu captain would then decide on whether or not they were worthy of the rank of Chunin by accompanying them on a mission from the shadows. The other way is for an Anbu captain to personally endorse a promotion of a genin, where they will have to get the written consent from the genin's jonin sensei. All from what Neji was hearing, his instincts were telling him that the man in front of him was a member of the special forces and was a captain at that. It was never normal for a mere genin to be in contact with someone so high up unless they knew them before the position. It went to show just how much faith Tenzu was putting in the Hyuga clan member right at this point in time. Now Neji, I am good friends with Gai-senpai, and since the invasion we have had a chat about your future. It might surprise you, but when it comes to serious issues like this, but your sensei can be as serious to talk to as your uncle. In the end of that conversation, he agreed that if I could get a change in your opinion to one that was acceptable, then he would fully support your promotion to the rank of Chunin. From what I have seen just now, I know that you are a changed person and that you will do Konoha proud. Knowing exactly where this was leading to, the black-haired boy allowed for there to be a large smile on his face as he was confident that he was about to receive a promotion to the rank of Chunin. Indeed he was, as the Anbu captain in front of him spoke up. Neji, I am happy to announce I believe that you are qualified enough to have the rank of Chunin bestowed upon you. It wasn't necessarily the situation or the place that he thought that he would achieve the rank, but Neji could not deny for even 1 second that it didn't make the occasion any less special. Truth be told, being quite an antisocial person as he was, large events were simply not the type of situation he liked finding himself in. The taijutsu-based ninja could only imagine what it would be like if all of the attention was focused onto him. There was only one thing that was missing. That was that his team was not around to congratulate him in achieving this milestone. Just thinking of his team made Neji frown. Whilst he did not admit it ever, Team Guy was a constant in his life that he had become accustomed to having by his side. Guy-sensei and Rock Lee certainly did not have the greatest of personalities in anyone's eyes, but spending time with them, they had the personalities that grow on you and make you miss them when they are not around. Then there was Tenten. She was the only presence on the team that he was able to speak to for more than 10 minutes without getting some form of headache. Before any more thoughts could be pondered on, Tenzu spoke up as he had more pressing matters to attend to due to the state of the city. Now Neji, I would not have bothered to announce my presence if all I was doing was simply promoting you to the rank of Chunin. Konoha is in dire straits at the moment. I will not lie, things are looking pretty dire and serious, if not unrecoverable damage could happen to Konoha if one of the other hidden great shinobi villages were willing to attack us. The village hidden in the leaves as a whole needs to rebuild fast. That is why I am going to offer you an opportunity that will allow you to serve your country as best as possible. I am willing to give you a 6-month trial of the training and being a Chunin before you join the Anbu. During this time you will be trained by me personally as well as some off-the-side training from some of the other Anbu operatives. You will be going on tougher missions more regularly, and you will have a very substantial increase in your wages. Enough that you could work in the Anbu for 3 or so years and go back to being a Chunin, and you could live the rest of your life quite comfortably. It took a while for Neji to digest all of this. It took even longer for him to think through everything that was presented to him. What would happen to my teammates if I did decide to do this? Will my team get disbanded? Whilst he was quite an arrogant arsehole at times, Neji did come to care for his teammates, and didn't want to just abandon them. There was a smile on the face of Tenzu. Neji was displaying the true characteristics of being a Konoha shinobi. He was putting the needs of others before his own. Again, this is not something that you will want to hear, Neji, but I am going to have to be brutally honest with you. At this current point in time there is little to no chance of Rock Lee ever becoming a shinobi again despite all of the progress that he has made in this last year and a half. According to Guy-senpai, if he does not get the treatment that he needs within the next 2 months, then his career as a ninja will be officially over due to unfixable damage to his spine. It was a truly unfortunate injury to fall on someone who was so optimistic. There was a pause as Tenzu assumed that Neji was still dealing with the fact that his teammate was nowhere near the same in terms of personality. He was right. Then there is your female teammate's Tenten. You might think that she is good now, which she is, but with her style of fighting, Tenten will start to stagnate in the coming months, and if she does not add anything extra into her arsenal, she will completely stagnate in around about 3 to 5 years. There is only so much that you can do with ranged weaponry. In terms of potential, you are the only one at the moment who can go on to becoming someone who is a Jonin. That is of course unless Lee manages to recover from his injuries, but as of the state we are in right now, we do not get the time to wait and see. We must act decisively to ensure the best possible outcome for Konoha is attained. Neji, you have a lot of potential inside of you, and as harsh as it is, your teammates are only going to hold you back. Konoha needs all of the strong shinobi that it can get its hands on at the moment. With the training ending in 6 months' time, I can assure you that you will be at Anbu combat level. Tenzu knew that it was a dick move saying that Konohagakure needed him to do this, but the fact of the matter was that the Mokutan ninja was not lying one bit with what he was saying. Konoha definitely needed a bolstering of their ninja forces, and talented shinobi who have the Byakugan were always needed. Finally, the one factor that could not be ignored was the money that being in the Anbu granted oneself. A genin received enough money so that it was the equivalent for a part-time job for a civilian. It was enough to live off with having to make sacrifices when going out a necessity, but it was doable. That was in contrast to the pay of a member of the Anbu's special forces. The Black Ops provided enough of an income to compare that to a full-time civilian who had gotten a tertiary degree and had a high-paying job. It was enough that if you did not spend much of your money, within a year, you could have enough money to put down for a deposit on a small apartment. That was something that Neji was seriously considering. Despite the fact that he had had a recent change of beliefs, Neji still hated the fact that he had to live among the main house. If he ended up taking the position, then he would immediately be able to start renting once his first paycheck came in, and he would be able to live off of his own. Thinking about it a bit more, Tenza said that he would be able to decline the Anbu when the time come if his heart was still not into it by that stage. With that the last though going through his mind, Neji knew that whilst there was a little that he could potentially lose, there was so much more that he could possibly gain from this, and that made it too good to refuse. Okay, I have decided. I will take you up on your offer, Tenza-sensei.